So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you're listening to this, whether it be May 4th or December 25th or even January 1st. This is another episode of Beers, Beats and Bailey, the epic Star Wars podcast that I've been promising for a while back. So I am Matthew Bailey, the one and only. Alongside me is Ricardo Medina.
Hello.
And we have brought back our special guest from the Crimson Peak podcast, which is good old buddy of mine, Claude Lilford.
Alright, thank you for having me.
Right. And in today's episode, we're just going to basically be talking all things Star Wars. So we're going to run through the original trilogy, why it worked, why it still holds up. Even Return of the Jedi, for better or for worse.
Yeah. Hey, my favorite.
Whoa.
Yeah, we'll get to
that. Start wild, dude.
Yeah.
Shots fired. Phasers fired. Blasters fired.
Just be careful before I pull out a lightsaber on both of you.
Yeah, no,
we're also gonna talk about the prequels, what didn't work about them, and what did work, even though it was like a
what
little,
worked, what didn't, the impact they've had on the franchise as a whole.
Right. Yeah. Also the TV shows, the animated series,
video
games, and of course episode 7, which we're gonna do a spoiler-free review first, and then we're gonna go into the spoiler-heavy version where we just talk about stuff
and then the overall cultural impact and nature of Star Wars and the nature of the film industry right now in terms of why Star Wars was the way it is, and the nature of reboots and comebacks and the state of the film industry, and basically our very love-hate relationship with Disney.
Talk about love-hate.
Yeah, seriously. So we're gonna start. We'll start with episode 4.
A New Hope.
A New Hope. This young, character called Luke Starkiller. What?
Well, Skywalker.
What? Starkiller? That was in the script? I think so.
I think it
Skywalker,
was.
come on.
Starkiller? The weird thing
yes, the original name of the character in the first draft of the script, or earlier drafts in the script was Luke Starkiller. That's where the Starkiller
weird
name
thing
comes
about
from.
Star Wars, and this is something I've come from watching, looking at some of Lucas's stuff, is that Star Wars began in about several different ways. He wanted to do an adaptation. Of the hero's journey story arc.
Right.
He wanted to make a Flash Gordon movie.
He was inspired a lot by.
He was also very inspired by Kurosawa. So he began throwing a whole bunch of ideas together, writing things, dragging things, trying to get rights to this, that, and the other, and dropping this, that, and the other. There's a lot. If you look at some of the behind-the-scenes work, some of the production stills, some of the early script drafts, it's amazing how weird some of those were. I mean, at one point, I think recently, someone took draft 3 of the script and turned it into a comic series just to see kind of a what if called The Star Wars, which is interesting, a little weird.
I think on the set the project was the Blue Harvest.
Blue Harvest.
But that was the original name of the film?
On the cover, on the set. So the original project name, I think this is where the member Family Guy made up fun of it, and that's what they call it.
Oh, that's what they call it?
That's what they call it, Harvest, yes. That's the original name. The thing is, Star Wars is something that, for me, aesthetically, it was kind of mind-blowing.
It was.
Because when that came on screen for the first time, and...
Hey, you weren't alive, huh?
No, I wasn't alive. When I saw it...
You called up back in 1977.
Back when we had to walk
10 years old.
Listen, when we had to walk to the cinema and it was snowing. And it was...
I had to wait a long line for like 3 hours.
No, we had to walk uphill both ways.
Yeah.
So that's how hard it was. Star Wars, it was one of those things that was, special effects-wise, had to be mind-blowing.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't see it in theaters, of course. I wasn't born then. Yeah. But when I did see it, I didn't see anything like that before. And it wasn't, it used to show... First time I ever saw it, anyone knows? AVM. Anyone knows?
Me too! I saw it on AVM. I saw the original version before the special edition version came out in 1997.
No, here's the thing. By then, I was... Let's see. I would have been 7 or 8 or something like that. And I was already... I'm not a Star Wars fan. I'm a Star Trek fan.
And also Channel 2, which was the not the rival station of Channel 4 at the time, but they showed like Star Trek: The Next Generation. Yeah. And every once in a while they would show a Star Trek movie, like Generations episode. Part 4, Part 5.
No, they used to show all this stuff. Anyway, but the thing is with Star Trek for me, just the look of TNG was clearly newer than what Star Wars was. But when I was watching Star Wars, I was like, wait, this had a really good sense of movement with everything. Stuff like this. They just that opening sequence when they escaped from Mos Eisley. And, they just see the Millennium Falcon pick up and blast off.
Right.
We get to see.
And I was like, whoa, this is pretty damn awesome though. Like in just the look of it. I mean,
Yeah.
so I can imagine back when that came out, it had a whole generation of people who never see anything like that.
Well, even today,
Yeah.
it still holds up remarkably.
Yes,
it does,
I
yeah.
think I'm a huge fantasy and sci-fi buff,
Right.
personally. So
Yeah.
I've actually watched a lot of the fantasy and sci-fi movies that came out in the wake of Star Wars trying to
Yeah.
cash in.
No.
Whether it was
Yeah.
Flash Gordon
Nothing was
movie,
close enough.
Space Hunters,
Yeah.
Adventure in the Forbidden Zone,
Yeah.
all that weirdness. And even though a lot of them are good in their own right, or they had
Yeah.
merit,
They couldn't-
very few of them match Star
Yeah.
Wars.
Couldn't hold a
Exactly.
candle.
It was
Couldn't
just
hold
the
a candle.
energy
All
and
just
just
kind
the,
of
you know.
fall short. Either it's whether it's they can't quite get the tone balance right, whether they can't
Yeah,
quite get the
and
heroic
culturally-
influence
Yeah,
right, or the
culturally,
effects.
yeah, culturally, Star Wars had that winner take all Matthew effect nature to it in terms of the culture. It just totally dominated everything for a whole generation.
Oh yeah, well it was one of the very first
Yeah.
marketing.
Yes,
movies.
Yeah.
it was
Marketing
just
insane.
it was just that was it. Everybody read like
with the toys, the comics,
yeah,
the
that's,
novels.
just from that standpoint, I was like, wow, this completely control everything.
Dominated.
Total cultural
Pop-
domination.
pop culture
And
to an
it
extent.
wasn't, and I'll say, well, again, Star Trek fan kind of boasting a little bit. I won't say that it's not the first big fandom. Star Trek
Yeah.
holds that,
Star
but
Trek. Even Batman to a degree.
no, but Star Trek in terms of just this idea of
Star-
a show that is dead, and then people.
Yeah,
still-
just brought it back to life.
right, yeah,
Right.
that kind of thing. But the thing is,
Long live Firefly.
yeah,
Yeah, long live Firefly. Yeah.
Serenity. Yeah, no, that's
So
awesome.
good.
Yeah, but the thing is a franchise that just it was a good movie. It was just a good adventure story. Just a
Oh, yeah.
simple hero's journey. Just look, you have your Joseph Campbell. You tell that story. You tell that monomyth, and you're good. And
Yeah.
you just did it perfectly.
All right. Well,
Okay.
for me.
And A New Hope they just did that.
All right.
So-
Well, for me, like, along with Ricardo, I don't know if we saw it at the same time.
No.
I also saw it on EVM as well too. I wasn't really too aware of Star Wars. Actually, I just knew about it from this blanket that my mom gave me, like, years ago when I was a wee little lad and stuff. But I didn't know about how influential and just how impactful it was until I actually saw it. So for me, just from a film history perspective, what stood out is just that it was able to take different genres and merge them together into one cohesive film. So you took the samurai elements of Akira Kurosawa, you took the elements of Western films, Errol Flynn films like The Adventures of Robin Hood from 1938, just that sort of swashbuckling adventure stuff. I just managed to merge all that into this great universe, in which it was just different possibilities. Just you could literally go anywhere. You could go to different planets and just have different experiences. That's
Right.
that's how it felt like to me.
Yeah.
And also too, just in terms of how it influenced film. Of course, everyone knows Jaws being the first true summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
Which came out 2 years ago, and then Star Wars just more or less beat that out of the water, literally, and just the use of special effects. You could see it with like movies that came out years afterwards, like say Superman.
It's a total paradigm shift in filmmaking.
It also
Exactly.
had very
Yeah, that's film
interesting-
culture,
It also
yeah.
had a very interesting influence on science fiction, because science
course,
fiction
yeah.
for the longest time was all about thinking, or we have to have a message or a moral
Right.
or things.
Exactly.
Even the B movies of the 50s, they had to have a moral or a
Right.
message and stuff. But Star Wars was one of the first, I think, probably the first sci-fi movie that was more about adventure and fun. Basically,
Right.
a fantasy movie that had
Right.
blasters and
Right.
spaceships.
And they did just a straight good and evil story. It's not.
Oh, yeah.
We just know, hey, these are the bad guys. We're not too clear on what they're doing exactly, or why they're
Yeah.
bad guys, or how they develop, or how they evolve. It's not too clear. It's unclear. We just know they're bad. Hey, this guy is dressed in all black, and he's louding up the little cute girl in all white.
Yes.
You just get these quick, film visual
Yeah.
language quick.
It sucks you in so quickly.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I love about it. And my experience, personally, was I was maybe 10. I was living in Uganda at the time.
Right.
A little camp. It was Uganda Christian University, a little campus, mixture of expatriates and other people. There was
Right.
one family that had this massive DVD library. And one of the things that we borrowed, which some friends of ours recommended, was Star Wars. And at the time, I'm just a big fan of all that is strange, whether it's fantasy or sci-fi, and mostly books. Star Wars was probably the first movie I ever saw that, in my opinion, matched any of the books I'd ever read. It was just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, I ran back, got the next movie, borrowed, watched it the very next day, and then because of the ending to that one, which we'll get to in a moment, I immediately ran back and got the next one and watched that one the same day. Watched the very same day. And what I've come to appreciate about it is what you were saying, it's such a universal story despite the setting.
Yeah.
I mean, now that I've read Edgar Rice Burroughs and a couple older fantasy authors, you can see the influence, and I certainly blame Star Wars for why the John Carter of Mars movie didn't work, because it used so many John Carter elements.
Yeah, that's the sad part.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate tragedy of a lot of fantasy where something is so influential in itself, but it as a franchise can't take on because everybody, from just a cultural perspective,
I mean, everyone says,
hey,
Star Wars
this rips off.
first.
Yeah, like,
And more people know more about Star Wars. Like, if you ask anybody about John Carter, it's like, who? John?
Yeah,
that was the point of the market. That was the problem with the marketing campaign. Because the guy who made that was the director of Brave.
Yeah.
And he's a huge fan of the books. He read them growing up. He was an influential fan. And he thought, all I have to do with the marketing is this kind of vague, just John Carter.
No.
People say, oh, John Carter!
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
No.
And
No.
then, it was just a universal cry of, who?
Yeah.
Like, it's the galaxy
I
moment.
see what you did. That was clever.
No, he's kind of living in that bubble in a way.
I mean, I love it to bits, and there are other John Carter fans who love it, but most audiences didn't work, which means that the planned trilogy is.
It was one of those, though, it's a classic case of suffering from, if anybody familiar with the website TV Tropes, funny website, but it's
I love that website.
Yeah, anyway, it
led me to
has,
some great stuff.
you learn a lot of stuff, but it has this one great article called Science Marches On. And that's a perfect example of Science Marches On. Because I couldn't take the movie seriously because it's
because it's on Mars.
Thank you. It was like, I know exactly what Mars looked like. Come on. It's like, it would be just as ridiculous as saying, well, deepest, darkest Africa. Come on.
That's what the new Tarzan movie's doing.
It has to,
good.
exactly.
That looks good.
But it has to do.
I'm excited. Edgar Rice Burroughs, though.
Exactly, but you have to do that whole period of the past that doesn't exist, and it's a fantasy world, and you have to buy that.
If you're doing adventure fiction, you have to do it, not nowadays anyway, with satellites and exploring every corner, but you have to do it in a way that will last.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing just how many adventure works, whether it's books or movies, are so dated now.
Yeah.
Because
I could just
more,
like stuff within.
Sensibilities have
I forget
changed.
what it was. I had a friend who wrote. We kind of diverted for a second. I had a friend who he wrote a great science fiction about the famous God particle they found the other day.
The God particle.
Yeah, no, the Higgs boson particle.
Didn't hear about that.
And he had a whole plot. His whole plot was bounded on the Higgs boson. And this was before it was found. People was like, well, the Higgs boson, and he it's way in the future. We never found the Higgs boson. And that's like 6 months later, oh yeah, we found the Higgs boson. We find out by experiment.
It's like,
that was the end of that. Like he had to recall his whole story because he would look like an idiot.
And adventure fiction, which I love adventure fiction, but it's particularly rooted in whatever the unknown is of the time.
Right.
And Star Wars, which coming back to Star Wars, that's why it worked, because at the time it's space.
Yeah.
And space is so unknown.
But
We're just trying to get a man on the moon.
But the thing and the thing with Star Wars, what's smart about it? Okay, so I'll say if you're going to do stuff that's science fiction, you're going to try to get away with it. You have to do stuff that you really think, just not only from a concept standpoint, but from an engineering standpoint, is not even close. So warp drive, you could get away with it, and you could explain the quote-unquote science if anybody know the familiarity.
Like the Never computer.
Well, like the Albuquerque.
Flying into space, like dusting crops, boy.
Like the Albuquerque, what you call the Albuquerque drive. Totally fictional drive. It's what people think is the real version of what the warp drive could be. But it's a warp drive. That's the real aspect of it. But so you get a sense that nobody's going to invent this for years, so you could get away with it now. But with a lot of modern science, like no, sorry, that stuff going to get away. But with Star Wars, what Star Wars does it very intelligently. It doesn't explain the mechanisms of anything in that universe.
It doesn't want to.
It doesn't need
it's not
to.
interested
It doesn't
in
need
explaining
to.
it because they're too busy in the story.
Yeah.
How does the Navicomputer? How does the? I mean, the few times they do kind of roughly explain things, like the Navicomputer explaining how they don't fly straight through suns and stuff when they fly. I love that detail. That's a detail I grew to appreciate.
No, but lots of things like how lightsabers work, or how.
Well, being as big a Star Wars fan as I am, and I'm just going to put this on the record, I'm a fan. Star Wars is my favorite franchise, period. Whether it's the favorite fictional universe, I have so many of the reference novels, all the movies, see most of the series. I'm just a huge fan.
Well, for me personally, it's Dune. Love that universe, awesome. But no, but it does a great world building of it. You don't have to care about the mechanisms of work. And that is right there. It split sci-fi audiences. So you have a whole bunch of sci-fi audiences who want stuff explained to them in terms of the engineering.
Mm-hmm. And that's when
that's where Star Trek comes in.
And Star Trek.
That's where Star Trek comes in. Then you have Star Wars, where they get it, they know how it works. They have a bunch of engineers who know how the stuff works. It's about good and versus evil.
Yeah,
that's
it.
That's my camp.
That's it. You don't have to care about the story. You don't have to explain any big political or highfalutin philosophical concept. Nope. this guy's bad, this guy's good, and we're gonna explain why.
Yeah.
And you don't need to
Over
break
time.
you don't need to break it down or turn it into microscopic organisms, midichlorians.
We'll get to it.
Anyone,
to that.
anyone, whatever. My
Yeah.
point is, it does that straightforward story, and that totally appeals to you. That's what you're into. That's it. It works. That is much more universal. That's why Star Wars is super famous. That's why you can have such a generic name called Star Wars.
Exactly.
But no one
Wars.
thinks of it as generic.
Exactly.
Oh, Star Wars. I've done.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
100 Star Wars.
Like if Star Wars never existed, then somebody just try to just put that as a script. Like what?
Star
Come up with a clever name.
What's
Yeah,
this?
yeah, exactly. But it existed in the right place in the right time, and yeah.
Nowadays, no one would think of it as generic because everyone
Exactly.
thinks Star Wars. Oh, Wookiees,
Exactly.
lightsabers, cool.
Yeah,
And
but as you brought up, just sorry to interrupt, but people didn't actually think that this movie, well, Star Wars Episode 4 would have actually would work or be successful.
Alex Guinness hated the script.
A lot of people was really fighting them.
Guinness was like, this is
This is
space.
dumb.
This is space nonsense, and it's because of him the movie worked. I mean, in my opinion, I
Yeah.
thought he was by far the best actor in it.
No, but just the dialogue that he gives, though,
Exactly.
just the dialogue
Yeah.
in general, like feel the force, Luke.
No,
and all that
everybody.
kind
I
of
think
stuff.
almost everybody on the set will include. I think Carrie Fisher at the time was like, "Yeah, we have no idea what's going on here." Like they couldn't piece together, but they didn't get. And again, that is a big paradigm shift in filmmaking.
Exactly.
Because before that, you could have followed as an actor. You knew what you were going to see. You had a sense with what you were going to see. With this movie, when they went to theaters, seeing the movie, they were like, "What?" They were totally blown away by what it was
And-
because you couldn't tell what was going on.
And as you brought up that,
Yeah.
like actually, there was a documentary that I saw about that same thing, about
Yeah.
just the reception and the
Yeah.
making and behind the scenes of the first film.
Yeah.
The first test screening of the film, like for the cast and crew, they were just like speechless. They didn't really know what to make of it. They
had no
dismissed
idea what
it
they were
altogether.
part of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
But only one person, which was Steven Spielberg,
Right.
who I
Yeah.
feel in retrospect
Yeah.
probably
Has
wished
a
that
great
that he could have just directed
Yeah.
at least one film in
He
the
was
franchise.
going to.
He was
going to direct Return of the Jedi, but
Right.
then Lucas had a falling out with the Writers Guild, and because
Okay.
Steven Spielberg was on good terms with the Writers Guild,
Right.
he couldn't
Oh,
afford. He
okay.
couldn't afford to be associated with Lucas at that
Right.
time.
Okay.
But the two
Yeah.
of them had planned for him to direct Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Yeah, but Spielberg believed in the vision. Fortunately, so they went back to work on the visuals because the visuals really needed a lot of polishing. And there's one particular scene that really sold audiences. Just one simple little shot, and that's in the whole Death Star sequence,
Yeah.
where they're trying to blow it up.
Yeah.
There's that one shot where the two missiles go into that little
Right.
chamber thing
Yeah.
to blow up. That was what sold people. People never
like,
saw that before.
Again, I know somebody could have just put a damn hatch door on that damn thing. Come on.
But it still
Well,
stands
that's
out
the
though, that whole
metaphor of the
sequence.
Empire. That's
Yeah.
the whole metaphor of the
Yeah.
Empire. Right?
Yeah.
They're
There's
so
one
arrogant. 'Cause
yeah,
that's
there's
the
one
thing with-
little weakness.
That is the one point, the one overarching
Yeah.
thing of the Empire is arrogance, which
Yeah.
of course comes to a head in Return of the Jedi, but we'll get
Yes.
to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of things we'll get to in a bit.
Yeah, but anyway, so the first Star Wars is a film that really, it was truly groundbreaking. It is, you have the attitude of really that good. Is this really that good?
Is it,
Doesn't
I've
live up.
heard a lot of people say, but is it really that good?
And it is.
And
It is.
Well,
Yeah,
okay,
it is.
okay.
No, it
To a
truly
degree,
is.
yes.
No,
To a
it truly
degree,
is.
to a
It's one of
degree.
those that totally lives up to it totally holds up with time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although I will say, Lucas is a better director than he is writer.
Of course.
Yes,
That's
yes,
not
yes,
even
yes.
a-
That comes
Obviously.
off in the prequels much more, but I think
Yeah.
in New Hope you kind of see little
Yeah.
hints that he's not the best.
Yeah,
writer.
just some of the
Just
cheesy
little-
dialogue, like, "Oh, we just need to get some power converters,"
Or even,
"Oh,
even bits where
Yeah.
the dialogue doesn't quite mesh, like the one scene when they're in the garbage compactor
Right.
and they're fuming one another. The character says, "Could be worse."
Right.
And they hear the growling, and Han Solo says, "It's worse." But then the immediate next line, Luke says, "Something alive in here," and Han, who just said it's worse, said, "Oh, that's just your imagination."
Right.
That
Yeah.
just a bit odd
Yeah.
to me. It doesn't quite
Little
gel very
tonal
well.
shifts, yeah.
And
Like-
I want to say something right now.
Go ahead, say it.
The Obi-Wan Vader duel.
Weak.
So bad.
Yeah,
So it's not,
terrible.
not weak, it's bad.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And you can't use the excuse of
What symbolism? Or you gonna say, he was supposed to die or something?
look,
Obi-Wan?
or even not that it's not like dueling was that uncommon in Hollywood. I mean, all those
Exactly. Like I said,
all the other.
I think the problem was Alex Guinness. And then who's the actor who's inside Darth Vader's suit?
Or David
David
Prowse.
Strauss.
Right.
No,
Prowse.
Prowse, yeah.
He was a hammer actor.
Prowse, Prowse.
Yes,
W.
a hammer
Yeah,
actor.
really
Okay,
tall,
One
big
of
dude.
the
Right,
two
anyway.
hammer actors who was on set aside from Peter Cushing.
Right.
Okay.
So he, for what I understand, the suit was a problem, if I remember
Oh,
correctly.
yeah.
So it was like, if anybody wanted, you're not gonna get Darth Maul until anytime soon. That
Yeah.
stuff
Oh,
with that fluidity, no.
But
So what was it? A problem with what moving? In
Yeah,
the
no,
suit?
it was
just
heavy. It was
yeah,
clunky.
heavy,
In fact,
hot.
the novel. There's one novel which I've read, which is about Vader as a character, Anakin, recovering from the events of Revenge of the Sith and trying to get used to, because he in the events of Revenge of the Sith he was this young Jedi, so powerful, and he was able to do flips and stuff. But then now that he's having been reborn as a cyborg, he's having to adjust to this huge clunky suit. And the author actually interviewed David Prowse, asking him what it was like wearing the suit to get inspiration
really
for Vader's
cool,
character, which adds a lot of credibility to the novel. Pity I can't remember the name, But one thing and they actually kind of admit the dueling isn't the best, because that's why for the next two movies, Bob Anderson, who's the duelist behind Princess Bride, was brought in to not only coordinate the fights but also wear the Vader suit for the duels, which is why they go up a lot more. I think he may have returned for the prequels as well.
And Empire was excellent.
Empire was so
and even Returning Jedi, that duel between Vader and Skywalker.
Vader was the dynamic, but of course, the other upgrade I think to the next two movies is a little screenwriter named Lawrence Kasdan, who we brought in for Empire and Return of the Jedi
and Force Awakens.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Empire Strikes Back.
Right, and so
because of course the question you must ask yourself when watching with obviously such a monumental movie is, how do you follow that up?
Right.
And I think Empire Strikes Back is the textbook example of how
to do
you make it better.
You make it darker.
Because Lucas gave directing duties over to someone else. I can't remember the guy's name, but I think, unless I'm confusing him with the other guy, with the guy who did Return of the Jedi, he's also the guy who directed, I think, RoboCop 2, which is a decent sequel, in my opinion, and a couple other good movies. And he gave over directing to him. He had a rough story draft, which he then handed over to Lawrence Kasdan, and a woman who was involved in writing for The Big Sleep as well. And the two of them went over the script, changed the dialogue, which is why the dialogue is much snappier, sharper, wittier. Of course, I think, because the first movie was pretty much made with, because I think some people were honestly expecting it to bomb horribly.
Right.
So it was made as it could work as a standalone feature. That's why it was called Star Wars, not Star Wars Episode, whatever.
Right. I think Empire was the first time you saw that Episode 5. Right?
No. Actually, in the first Star Wars, you saw Episode 4. You saw Episode 4 on New Hope, but the reason why is because he wanted to emulate the serial of the Flash Gordon
thing that inspired
Flash Gordon serials. So he wanted to feel like, okay, you're in the middle of the story already. This is something that's been going on for a while, and you'll just smack dab into it.
I recently watched rewatched the original version, and it just says Star Wars. So
it always opens with the Star Wars, but the crawl.
The crawl.
It's always episode 4, episode 5.
Did I say episode 4? What I remember about that's why I remember.
It only says in the remastered version.
Right, that's why I know. When they did it back, when its first theatrical release, you didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
Because the whole point was just to sell them, and then with Empire, you saw Episode 5.
They had made such money, it said, okay, well,
we could do what we want.
Now we can go. But whereas some filmmakers, that might encourage them to be lazier, because, we've made so much money, we can throw anything at this case, they actually upped their game a little bit. So the movie is darker, the script is better, the fights are better. You go a bit more into the mythology of the universe, I think. Which I think, especially with the Jedi and Sith and the introduction of Yoda. And I think for the first movie, to cut costs, because Lucas pitched the effects he wanted to do to all the sorts of different effects people, and they all gave him quotes that he could master. So he just said, we're going to do our own effects.
Right.
And they did all costumes and ships and stuff. And then I think for the next movie, I think they may have brought in Jim Henson's Creature Shop, which is why we had Frank Oz and the Yoda.
As Yoda. Yeah. One of the most iconic characters in the entire franchise. Never. But just, all right, well, before we get into Empire Strikes Back, just one thing about the sequels I want to mention. I don't want to, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that The Godfather Part 2, which came out in 1974, I think that was the one that really set the standard of how to make a great sequel, which is where you take everything that was memorable, that stood out the most from the first film, and just delve deeper into it, really ask questions, really challenge it.
But I think Godfather...
Mad Max Road Warrior.
But I think with Godfather 1 is a much more iconic movie. In terms of memory, you remember Cannoli and Horse in the Bed, and all of that stuff.
But Part 2 was just so dark.
Flow so well as a film.
And it took this risk with telling two stories at the same time, but it all ties back to what the first one was about, which is really about family and holding on to that family. So in this case, with The Empire Strikes Back well, I would say there's a lot of different themes, of course, like the Force just being part of it and really understanding what it's about and just being able to
and
sacrifice
and then because of the big reveals in that movie, they made everything grey.
Yeah.
They started to make everything grey. So the first one is clearly good versus evil.
Yeah,
Second
but now it's
one,
like...
the big spoiler. So the big spoiler in
If you haven't seen these movies, first of all, go and watch them.
the big spoiler in Empire.
or just block your ears for the next minute.
And the huge spoiler in Empire Strikes Back, which is Snape kills Dumbledore. Wait, no, sorry. It's Darth Vader's Luke's father. That was a big thing.
And that was a very powerful scene. Like,
Very
I actually
powerful
watched
scene. Really
that last weekend, and it
So-
still gripped me.
Very, very powerful scene, really quick. I remember as a kid, I was like, what? How? You know? And in your head is like, how that happened? How, you know, how did that happen? How did that play
It's
out?
a testament to the movie because even though we had friends where I kind of knew this already, going into the movie watching it for the first time, I was still blown away by it.
Yeah.
Because
Me
it's so
too,
well
me too.
acted
Yeah.
And scored.
Yeah.
Beautifully
Yeah.
scored.
John Williams score. This John Williams in general. It doesn't matter what Star Wars film you watch. He always comes through with a powerful score. But
Yeah.
in this case with Empire Strikes Back, that Imperial March, that dun, dun,
Yeah, yeah.
dun, dun,
And you get to
dun,
the
dun.
Emperor
And then in
first
that
time.
particular scene, he just slows it down. So it's like dun, dun,
This
dun.
big ominous booming
dun, dun.
menacing.
And then they introduced the only black guy in the galaxy, Lando Calrissian.
And
Yeah,
he's
played by
Billy Dee Williams selling, so he wasn't selling any more liquor, but
he wasn't in Miami Vice yet.
yeah, but it was a good character. It worked,
Batman Returns.
and they did it again.
Batman Returns.
And they did a great job of the whole. Yeah, they built the world. They built the universe a lot
You saw
better.
Cloud City,
Cloud
you
City is
saw
pretty awesome.
Dagobah,
Yeah.
you saw Hut,
And then
the
they
Ice
introduced,
Planet.
and
We got to see more of the inner
Yeah.
workings of the Empire as
And
well.
the thing
Yeah.
is, what I liked about it, they did a lot of like nice little misdirection with Yoda. Yoda's character, when you introduced him, silly.
Yeah.
First time I saw Empire Strikes Back was at a buddy's house. I was a kid, again, quite young, and I was like, I hate this Yoda guy. He's so annoying. And then later on, it's like, wait, he's the strongest Jedi ever? What?
Getting
That
up.
is so awesome.
He goes from getting in a fight with R2 over
Exactly.
something
Yeah.
he got out
Over
of
some
Luke's
silly-
What the mine?
Yeah,
exactly.
He just reminded me way too much like a Muppet, like from Sesame Street.
Yeah.
That's how they move.
And of course,
then
Frank
realize
Oz
he's
is
also
doing-
wise and
Yeah.
so sage.
And
Like,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And Frank Oz, can I just say, Frank Oz is a phenomenal
No,
actor.
voice actor, yeah.
Actor, period, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Because I also saw him in American Werewolf in London recently. He's brilliant in
Great
that
movie, yeah.
That's a great movie. And he's able to pull off both Yoda. He's able to pull off Yoda as this kind of
Grover.
this sort of Grover, but
Grover.
just sort of senile Grover. Let's put it that way.
Well,
just
and
don't,
then goes from
don't try.
and then
You're
it goes
too
from
much.
the. And, but even when he's babbling, he's actually saying some smart stuff. Like when Luke says, "I'm looking for a great warrior." Great warrior. Or it's not make one great. But
Yeah.
because he's doddering, you just
Yeah.
assume he's talking
Yeah,
nonsense.
exactly. Then it's a great misdirection of
So
the whole
great.
whole idea of what the wise sage should be like.
Yeah.
The wise sage wouldn't be a distant figure. It would be somebody that's just so smart that they don't need to look.
More like Alex Guinness from the first movie.
Thank you. Right,
Exactly.
exactly. And he's beyond that. And they did such a good job. And you really get a sense of how strong this guy is.
And how the whole thing is a test to see how ready Luke is, to see whether
Thank you.
Luke
Exactly.
can look past
And then, yeah.
outward appearances
Right,
and actually see.
yeah.
And then, because I love the bit where you see the whole thing, and Luke's getting more and more impatient, and finally he just sighs, I cannot teach him.
Yeah.
The boy has no patience.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, Luke has just failed his first test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that,
he actually
that
fails
kind
a
of
lot
stuff
of
is-
tests in this movie.
Can
actually.
I just say, I love Luke as a character in the series overall. He's probably my favorite character,
Yeah.
but in this movie in particular, because the first movie is kind of the whiny farm boy who finds himself in the big world. This movie, he's
he's a perfect template of that monomyth. Right? Comes
Yeah.
from nothing, goes through the cycle perfectly.
and rises in its
Yeah,
strength.
perfect.
But
But,
this
but the thing is, I hated him as an actor at the time.
Oh, Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill, totally.
I mean,
hated
no.
him
Well,
as-
in
as-
retrospect,
as-
he's not a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
You know,
No. Have you seen Body Bags?
Listen,
We're not allowed
No.
to say that.
Listen.
He plays. That movie's brilliant. It's an anthology movie.
Trickster.
That's a collaboration between John
Alright.
Carpenter and Toby Hooper, and he plays a baseball player whose eye gets damaged in an accident, and
which happened in real life.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
what?
it's actually an interesting fact. We'll get to in a moment.
Yeah.
But what happens is his eye gets damaged, and so he has a This is the Toby Hooper directed segment of the anthology movie,
Right.
and the surgeon, played by Roger Corman, actually weirdly enough, comes up with an experimental treatment to replace his eye with one they happen to have on ice. except he starts having to have all kinds of weird delusions. You know, he sees things, but they trigger
it's not
different chains of thought than what he's normally expecting, and it turns out the eye actually belonged to a serial killer.
Right. Yeah, because science.
That's real bad though.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, it's a classic with the serial killer's hand, and you know we see that whole blood.
Well, the eye makes more sense because the eye is the window to the soul. So I mean, and certain things trigger certain chains of like I look at this cup, I think Christmas because of the designs and colors, but. The idea of an eye, someone else's eye, triggering a different chain of events and emotions in your head is a really creepy one. I think and of course this is Toby Hooper. He executes it brilliantly. Yeah. But Mark Hamill, I actually like. I like him as an actor. I think he's brilliant as a voice actor, as Joker.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course.
As an actor, I mean, the
Trickster from the Flash series, both Flash series. Trickster.
He was?
Yeah, in both. In both Flash series. He was in the original and he plays the Trickster.
The original, the very
first. All right. In the live action, the new one. Yes, I remember that. Great, that was a great cameo.
He plays both Tricksters.
That cameo, great performance.
Yeah.
And he's a great actor, I think. And he's certainly seasoned as an actor because obviously in his early days he's a bit rougher. Yeah. But as he's grown older and he's dealt with the fact that just because you're in Star Wars does not mean you instantly have a career. He has kind of worked harder for his roles.
He was in Comic-Con.
I also forget Wing Commander. He was okay in Wing Commander.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
I have seen it.
So he was in the movie, and then he was in the live action sequences in the video game.
Right.
He's in those as well. So
I knew that.
Wasn't bad.
So is that guy who's in Caligula, Clockwork Orange,
Malcolm McDowell.
Thank you. I think he's also in Wing Commander. I know very little about games. Period.
No.
But one thing about Mark Hamill, just a weird little tidbit here, was he was in an accident, I think, in between New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. His face kind of got all scarred up.
Yeah, and he thought his career was over.
Which pretty much mean that's actually why I think that's why the Wampa subplot where he meets the Wampa and he gets dragged to the cave and has to escape and then
that's what they did. They reshot it.
They remade that so they could explain why his face is all scarred. I think it gives him a more grizzled, seasoned look, which matches his character.
Exactly. These scars have to happen to him over time.
Oh yeah.
So they have to do that.
I love his progression in the movie because he starts off kind of rough around the edges. He's kind of got an idea about the Force, but he doesn't know. Yeah. He's not quite aware of the finer aspects of it. He's still impulsive, and through Yoda's training, he's able to harness it, but still not entirely, which is what I love about the movie and his training and stuff.
And he loses his fapping hand.
What I really like is that you think because, all right, this is a narrative. You know, he's a hero. You're following the hero. He's gonna make the right decision. No, not in this movie. I wouldn't say that he makes bad decisions. Is that he thinks for himself.
Yeah, he says, "Look, I have to go see my friends," and the guy tells him, "Nope." Yoda tells him, "No, you're not ready. You don't want to." But
he still goes. Yes, serious consequences, but you know, it makes him human.
Failing his trials trying to learn with Yoda.
Again, the big jump between
the cave,
right?
For example.
Two cool things about it. One, for Empire for me is that you really get a sense of how dangerous Darth Vader is.
Oh,
with the first film, you know he's dangerous because he's big and black, and it's.
But he seems like a Bond henchman.
Right. He was just in the corner and he's not doing anything.
Grand Moff is supposed to be the more
that's the whole thing. You're thinking, and then you realize. Then when this guy goes into play, it's like, whoa, this is trouble.
Yeah. Well, and what I like too is like that. Anytime somebody in the Empire fails and he notices, he will just do that choke. Like, you even ask because it's just like. You feel alright.
Yeah,
you're dead. Bye.
And you're just so expendable, and you get a real sense of menace from Vader.
Oh, so much.
Yeah. And what I like about Vader, I'm going to talk about his comparison to when he being villains in Force Awakens. Right. We'll talk about his character. The thing with Vader is that from the get go, you see him block lasers with his hands and shit like that. Like, yeah, this guy real damn strong though. Like, he's in real trouble.
I have no idea. I cannot convey to you.
A classic line I love is when.
My mind was blown when I was little, and he shows up on the spoiler alert on the Cloud City, and Han shoots him, and he just catches my brain just explodes.
I love that scene. I love that scene.
No, but when he started talking to
Lando,
and he was like, you know, I have altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it. He just barking orders, and you get a sense of this man is the boss. There's only one other person seems to be above him. It's not all of these dumb suits.
Not all those.
Not them suits. Grand Moff talking all these losers. It's him. He is the dude.
Except the Emperor.
Right. There's only one guy. There's only one guy above him.
I'm going to say something blasphemous. Of all the original trilogy, Empire Strikes Back is the one that I think the remastering actually improves.
I agree
for me because it was the least amount of tampering.
Yeah. Right.
And it affects
the
things.
Wampa scene is extended, and
Yeah.
I love the Wampa.
Yeah.
It's a cool creature,
Mhm.
and the Emperor is
Yeah,
brought
they
back
changed,
because
yeah.
before because before I think they changed actors in between movies.
Wait, did they change the actor?
Yeah,
they
they
had to.
changed
So
actor,
what
and
did they do where they took the guy from the prequels and
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
because
what
when
they did.
he
Right.
was shooting
Yeah.
Right.
Revenge of the Sith, they actually
Right.
got him to redo that
Oh,
whole
okay.
sequence, and
Okay.
it's so because I
Much
actually
better.
the first I have to admit. The first version of the original trilogy I watched was the remastered ones because they're the ones
Right.
that people have. So I saw that Emperor first, and that
Right.
scene
It's
gave
better.
me goosebumps. Like
Yeah.
I just when the scene ended, I could have let out a breath. I didn't know I was
Yeah.
holding in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
because it is so atmospheric.
Yes.
And it's just the way how the Emperor talks to is like, feel
There is
the
a
power
great
of the dark
disturbance
side.
of Force.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah, he has this really kind of
Yeah.
Because with
snake-like voice.
with Grand Moff gone, Vader just seems to be running the show.
Yeah,
And all
but no,
the
at no
people
point.
him.
But when you think about it in retrospect, you realize, wait, no, but Vader's the boss the entire time because the whole thing is that what makes him dangerous is that everyone does not believe in the Force.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
whole point. That's how dangerous
the
he
whole
is.
point from the first movie.
Exactly. No, he's still
Don't
trying to.
frighten
He's
us
saying
with
that
your
this
sorcerer's ways, Vader.
yeah, he's saying that this space station is nothing in comparison to the power of the Force. He just does that to remind them. But he's still pretty quiet about what's going on. He still is trying to sell the point. Look, you guys are still plebs compared to the real battle that's going on here.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's what I like about Star Wars.
But
It's a
something-
simple story, but again, it has layers to it that you could read
Which is
into,
actually something-
and it's not ridiculous for you to read into.
Another thing which I like is a recurring motif in Star Wars, and something you see in a lot of other fantasy work. The idea that there's a big battle going on, but underneath it there is a longer battle
yes,
yes.
going on for longer.
I love
with
that, yeah.
people who we don't because we got the rebellion and the
Yeah.
Empire. Underneath that, we got the Jedi and the Sith who have been
Yeah.
going at this for millennium
Yeah.
and all that stuff. That is
Yeah.
great stuff in my opinion.
But the end of it ended off pretty dark. It was Han Solo got captured from Boba Fett. Boba Fett is a slightly, this is going to be blasphemous on my part, Boba Fett's slightly overrated character.
He is, but here's the thing: is like people
Because he
like
doesn't
when it
do
came out.
anything when you think about it.
Yeah, but like
Okay.
when it came out though, people did not expect that he would have been so popular, and I blame that on the
Right.
costume.
Yeah.
Because that costume is awesome, but still,
That's
he's
actually one
just
of the
there to just do.
That's actually
you
one of
know?
the aspects of Star Wars that I think this is where the expanded universe helps.
Yeah.
Because with Star Wars, Star Wars is the kind of movies that create a universe and invite you to come up with your own theories.
Right.
And that's why the expanded universe, so many different
There's so-
writers
right, and
and
so well
authors
done.
and artists stepped in
Yeah.
and
And
gave
build it, fill it
backstories
up,
and
yeah.
stuff to these characters. That's why Boba Fett is as big as he is.
Right.
Because of course we got to
Because
see
the fans.
Because in between
But if you were to judge by the films only, just
yeah,
watch,
by the only he's just a cool looking character.
Right, he's
He is,
great,
yeah, yeah.
great character design, but it's one of those like fan characters. But
He's a fan character.
what happened to him in
admittedly,
Jedi?
But I love him to bits.
Yeah, which we'll get to.
Yeah,
which
no,
we'll
but
get to.
so just to see what happened to the character, eventually it's like, oh, that's it. He didn't do much again. All right.
Yeah, in Jedi. That is
Yeah.
why. That's one of the things. That's one of the things about the EU not being canon that
Right.
hurts me the most.
Yeah.
Boba Fett is dead.
Well, I heard they're gonna do some Boba Fett stuff.
They're gonna do a Boba Fett
something,
prequel movie.
right? And well, I know we're
A
gonna.
prequel movie.
I mean,
series.
Yeah, that's because the idea is with the new movies,
And they're gonna
they're going to continue the series proper with
Right.
8, 9,
10,
but
but we're
in
gonna get some,
between
yeah.
those, they're
Wait.
going to have a smaller movie, which is going to be a prequel. Like next year, we got Rogue One.
Right, that's prequel.
No, that's basically it's a heist movie that's going into the group of rebels who actually stole the plans for the Death Star.
Okay, cool.
And then we're gonna get 8, and then the next year we're gonna
Right.
get either a Han Solo movie or the
I know
Boba
we
Fett
get a
movie.
Han Solo prequel. I know that's coming.
Okay.
And then we get 9, and then the next year we got. Then they're talking about a Boba Fett movie, but at this stage, anything could change. I
Right.
hope they do a Boba Fett movie because then we actually get to see the Mandalorians on the big screen.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want them to get someone cool to direct and write this thing,
Right.
like Tuhi or Whedon or I mean
Right.
I know not gonna happen probably. They're gonna
Yeah.
get some intern, but
Yeah.
if I could get a Mandalorian movie made by Joss Whedon, I would just
Yeah.
go to fan heaven.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
telling you.
But there's one thing about Empire Strikes Back, something that struck me when I saw it the last time. Right, so when Vader reveals, of course, that he is Luke's father, and
The
he
scene.
does the no. You know, like I always forgot, and I saw it at that moment that he gives up at that very particular moment. It's like he could either join his father or just die.
Yeah.
And he just lets go of that little platform thing that he holding on,
Yeah.
and he falls. He
Yeah.
literally commits. He does that with the intention of killing himself.
You prefer to die
Yeah.
after that
Yeah.
information.
I just find it was very funny that he's falling straight down and somehow he's able to curve and go into that sort of slot.
Yeah.
And then find himself on that little antenna
Yeah.
thing outside. That was really corny, but
And it,
Yeah,
well, it- and it was,
it's the piping of this.
yeah, and it's another big reveal that Leia is connected.
yes.
Yeah,
Although-
they only hint at that. Movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a very funny, very funny thing in Returning Jedi. Look it up on the internet where this is when Han and Leia about to get together at the end, and she reveals that Luke is her brother. And then Han now like so confused, but then they cut it. They do a nice cut of him, of her kissing Luke in the beginning. And they play that that track from that same track from you see Tarantino movies on
the red lights.
I forget the name of the track, and that was so funny. But it builds the world very well.
But before I forget to bring up that scene with where in Empire Strikes Back where where Leia kisses Luke.
Yeah.
I always love that shot, that scene. Like she does this, of course, to spite Han. Because there's this argument going on between Han and Leia. Han. Right. So see, the premise basically is that Han wants Leia to really miss him. So he's going out there and he really wants her to really feel for him when he steps out now, Because he kind of wants to really come out and say, yes, I love you, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's one shot where, Leia kisses Luke in the mouth and Han's partner, more or less Chewbacca, one of my favorite characters of all time, stands up and he just does this. I don't know what he says. Well, of course, we don't know what he says, but that's how he delivers it. It's just so hilarious.
So moving on to the third in the trilogy.
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, which was
my favorite.
It was supposed to be called originally Revenge of the Jedi, but they
it was.
It's a little too dark, and the idea that Jedi revenge is not a thing. So
okay, well, my favorite in the franchise and my second favorite movie of all time, actually. My favorite.
No.
Yes, I love it that much. No, I do.
That is blasphemy.
Okay, for me,
please.
There are so many elements of the movie that I absolutely adore. First of all, the whole opening sequence where they rescue Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt. For me, I just adore that scene.
There's one part that
went on too long.
When I watch the movie, sometimes I will just go after I'm done watching. I'll just go back and rewatch that whole sequence. I just love it.
All right, Claude. If I get this subject for a bit, you could argue, Ricardo, that it's kind of like how the Battle of Hutt was in the Empire Strikes Back, which was like about a third of the film.
No, but that was fine.
And for me,
with in the case of Jabba was because they spent too much time on it.
It's like an elaborate Mission Impossible. And another thing is, it serves several purposes. First of all, it's also Lucas getting to show off the origins of Star Wars with all that older John Carter adventure fiction.
Yeah.
And I always get that rousing sense watching it, like this building up, and it's like with the Yoda thing from the second movie. It fools the audience several times into thinking that whatever plan Luke's going for has gone wrong until the end when he's on the planet and you hear the music going done.
Yeah.
Done. And Luke cutting to him, nodding to everyone as if saying, "Yep, we're about to get to moving people." And then he jumps.
R2D2.
And then R2D2 shoots him lightsaber. He jumps off the plane, grabs it, and then the score starts. And my blood always just starts rushing at that.
No, but Luke was a badass in that scene, though.
No,
Luke was a badass in that movie.
No, he was like
Luke was a
seasoned Jedi. No,
and Luke was a badass in that whole movie. Period.
Yeah, he was.
For me, it's the culmination of Luke's arc as a character.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I love about it is that the scene also serves as Luke proving to the galaxy at large, even if he has his own demons to battle later, it's him proving to the galaxy the Jedi have returned. Because the whole scene, he shows up, I am Luke Skywalker, I'm Jedi Knight, and he's no Jedi. And all that stuff, and they're all laughing at him the whole time. And then he pretty much takes out his lightsaber and starts slashing Luke. He goes, shut up. The Jedi have returned. Which is why I love that sequence. And I love, it's a combination of Luke's arc and Vader's arc as well.
Yes, coming together.
Vader, it beautifully. For Vader's arc comes to a culmination for the reason that this is one of the reasons I love the movie so much. It is the ultimate tale of redemption.
Yeah.
No one thinks Vader can be redeemed. Everyone.
Listen, that's the strongest part of
everyone. Everyone, Vader is a lost cause.
Right.
To Vader himself, the Emperor, Obi-Wan, Yoda. I mean, to Obi-Wan and Yoda, there's not even a compromise in this. Vader has to be destroyed.
And just the things that he did in the first and second film, blow up a planet.
I mean, even
mess up the resistance.
This is one of the reasons why I think the prequels actually, for me, it resounds even more when you see what he does in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
When you see all that stuff, it makes the movie just that little bit stronger, in my opinion, and that's why.
But there's a serious argument about that. But remind me, I'll
get to that. And a lot of the back and forth between Luke, because Luke is the only one who thinks Vader can be redeemed, and he fights so hard for it, and and a lot of the dialogue with Vader. I love those sequences. It's just the bits when he's going back and forth, him trying to convince Vader to let go of his hate. They're still good. Him trying to him spending the whole movie trying to convince every single character until finally Vader realizes it himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's an amazing scene, and the amazing part of the scene when he cuts Vader's hand off in the final duel.
Yeah.
And he sees a little visual reminder where he sees Vader's hand was also robotic and looks at his own, and you can see he kind of realizing how...
Yeah, if he continues that path, he'll be just like his father.
Yeah, and I think it's also something Vader kind of realizes too, as he's watching all that, because I always like to think of it that, well, I like to think of it, something that's always there, when he's watching Sidious electrocute Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going through his mind, he's kind of remembering everything that's happened to him, all the promises, all the killing, all the merciless act, and he finally decides he's going to do the one good thing in his whole life. Yeah. And we get that, and he kills the Emperor, saves Luke. In fact, ultimately, okay, and this is something I'll get to in the prequels, ultimately he fulfills the prophecy.
Of course.
Balance and force, yeah.
But, and then of course, that final scene with him and Luke always moves me. Every time
it's beautiful.
I watch this, so... amazingly brilliant. There's that final scene with the
it's so simple
and
too.
The last words.
Okay, counterpoint, Ewoks.
Yes.
No. But Claudia made a fantastic case there. I think all of that stuff is also my favorite aspect of that film.
And also, Luke proving both the Emperor and actually the Jedi wrong, because the Jedi telling him that their way is uncompromisable, it was uncompromisable, and the final battle where he lashes out against Vader in anger, but still doesn't turn to the dark side, proves that the way forward is not to embrace the dark side or the Jedi, it's to find a balance between the two, which is another thing I absolutely love. So for me, Revenge of the Sith, I mean, and there's enough, and then everything I love about the rest of the series, Kasdan is still back for the script, and there's still plenty of witty moments, and Ewoks. And it's especially disappointing when you consider that in the original draft of the script, the Ewoks were supposed to be Wookiees. The
and it could have been.
Should have been that.
They were supposed to go to Chewbacca's home planet.
What happened?
Lucas stepped in his first brilliant Lucas decision, stepped in and said that he wanted Chewbacca's species to be a little bit more technologically advanced than they were, so they had to scrap it. That's Ewok Wookiee. So they had to change that.
Right.
And
kind of clever.
And they turned, and for some reason they made them midgets, but I don't.
That's the thing, because what I would have done. Okay, so I don't know. Like at the time, I remember watching Return of the Jedi. In my head, I was like, why didn't they have where they made it where Jabba could be the one helping against the Empire, because the Empire doing something.
Oh, because he introduced them.
Right, and then they could have something with that where, he was kind of working with, because of Boba Fett and trying to get Han Solo. But they could have done something where they could have had the Empire kind of trying to turn on Jabba, and Jabba said, look, I'm not really with the Empire, I'm bad. Yeah. But he would have helped out, even though he's a bad guy. And again, the grey aspect of the situation. And that's why I thought it was. I don't know, this is long before you knew any behind-the-scenes stuff. But then finding out it was going to be Wookiees, like later on, I knew about this. I was like, why didn't they do that?
Well, I don't. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the Ewoks. The Ewoks don't. I mean, I know there are fans out there who, before there was Jar Jar Binks, people raged about the Ewoks. I don't
hate them as much as
the Ewoks. The Ewoks are much more disturbing than we think they are, because several things, they clearly eat people.
They were about to eat Han.
They were about.
Quick question. Where does Leia get that dress from?
And the hairdo.
Right.
Did the hair?
I don't know.
No, but question, where did she get the dress from?
I don't know.
It's someone's dress they ate. It has to.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
No, so it's not to say that they but the thing is, it was supposed. I get the idea that you do the whole nature versus tech thing. That kind of
and
works.
Of course, again, going back to classic adventure fiction, it's the natives.
Right, exactly.
Which they kind of actually, you know what? I'm going to say this. I prefer the Ewoks to the Na'vi. I'm going to say that. No. Ewoks. I like the Ewoks better than the Na'vi.
No, but it's the
Ewoks don't preach at us.
But Na'vi are badasses.
I don't really care about the Na'vi because they're so non-entity as a franchise. Don't care about that side of the franchise. Moving on. But no. So, roughly 15 years passed.
Wait, you forgot something. You forgot the holiday special.
No, we don't need to talk about that.
Hold on, before we get to the holiday special, that stuff. Return of the Jedi. Let's get back to it for a bit, right? So, Jabba. Favorite character in that whole thing. Just his appearance, it's the way he talks. I just love this one little scene. It's just the little scenes that stand out to me the most. When Luke comes in for the first time, when you see him in person.
Yeah.
And
I get bad.
Alright, so
choking the two Gamorreans. I love it.
And Jabba's associate.
Oh, yeah,
the guy, the white face guy.
Bib Fortuna. I know his name.
Yeah.
I'm that much of a nerd. I know his name.
And he's like waking up Jabba because I don't know. For me, all through that sequence, all through that 1:30 movie, I swear that guy was high.
Yeah.
He had like this, he was just high off of weed or some kind of thing. So he just had like a
smoking up.
Yeah, smoke. So he's like sleeping. His eyes are like barely awake.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and is like, oh.
Yeah.
And then he tells him, okay,
Fool, I told
a
you
Jedi
to let
Luke,
him in.
there's a Jedi here to see you. And the translation goes like, I told you not to let any Jedi here. But how Jabba says like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know, every time I see it, it's so hilarious. And then there's this freeloader character that's always like sitting right next to him.
Yeah, the
He's
guy
always
with
like laughing.
Again,
Yeah.
Jim Henson's
Yeah.
Creature Shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I swear that guy is just there to just smoke
Yeah,
weed and just eat.
he's basically flavor without the clock.
Yeah. and,
just the hype man.
and stay at dancing guilds,
Yeah.
dancing shit. That's why I think it's
Girls,
so popular.
all the multitude of associates.
Yeah,
and
but that's
so
the
then-
one thing.
fans.
But
So
that's the
cool.
alright. But that's one last thing, special edition wise, and this is the one thing I hated about the special edition. They just had to add that stupid little sequence with
The
these
dancing,
three
the dancing,
aliens
the
and
dance
stuff.
sequence and
I didn't mind. Some people hated it.
yeah.
No, I thought I didn't. I personally didn't like it because I remember when watching the original version of Jedi, it looked a lot more sleazy back with there. So you get a sense of wait, this Jedi guy, this
Hot
hot guy is like, ugh, the Jabba guy kind of.
Well, he's a kind of pimp kind of
yeah,
thing,
exactly.
yeah.
But with the dancing sequences, is more funny and silly and a lot more childish. So whatever.
Yeah.
It's a lot less dark.
I watched the originals first, and I honestly prefer the remastered a little bit because they changed that goofy Ewok song at the end.
Right.
Oh, yes.
No,
Something
no.
instrumental, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And there was also this really cool scene, and we'll get to your part, Ricardo, don't worry. Near the end, where you actually see like all the planets from the
Oh yeah, celebrating.
original,
Yeah, yeah.
from the
Yeah.
new trilogy
all celebrated.
No,
celebrated.
here's the thing. There's one planet I was always confused by. I was like, wait, is this Earth?
Was that Coruscant?
No, it's not Coruscant. It
Naboo?
looked it looked like Earth in the final run sequence, but this was in the remake.
Okay.
And I was like, but I swear watching a city that looked like New York City. But I was like, no, it can't be Earth because it have no mention or
Yeah.
references to it at all.
And then there was this very controversial decision to place
Oh yes,
Hayden's-
Hayden Christensen
Christensen's
is the
face
ghost as he
over-
as a
over
ghost.
the old guy that
Yes.
played that bit.
That was a terrible
Yes.
idea.
It makes no sense.
That was
Yeah, I
a bad
saw
move.
like, come on,
That was a bad
come
move.
on.
I don't mind it too much
Come
because I
on,
love those
really?
movies so much.
I thought that was a bad move.
And maybe two other things I would say we must also agree we like about the movie. The final battle is great with the
Yeah.
Luke versus Vader space battle.
It
drills,
validates
Lando. in
Yeah, it
charge.
validates Lando a little bit. Oh, anybody ever see that Robot Chicken bit?
Which one?
Robot Chicken. TV
Yeah,
show.
great
Anyway,
show.
there's a very funny sequence where Billy D. Williams comes back to defend Lando Calrissian and ask Lando Calrissian, and he has like, "Come on, man! I destroyed the second Death Star," so and so, because he's vilified so much because of
Yeah,
betrayal.
because of what happened in
because
Empire.
of the betrayal. It's very funny. By the way, like this
need to
guy,
check
Seth Green,
Yeah,
is a
Seth
massive
Green,
Star
yeah,
Wars
he
fan.
loves Star Wars.
Yeah, he's a super Star Wars fan. So that whole bit is hilarious. Anyway, no.
Oh yeah, moving along with the
Moving right. So 15 years and millions of dollars later, we had episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Well, we did technically get those two made-for-TV Ewok movies.
We're gonna talk about that.
Let's mention
Not gonna
please,
talk
for
about
those who
that.
don't know. For
Yeah.
those who
Yes.
don't know, let's mention them. just
Okay, I
quickly.
will. And I'm the only one of the I think I'm the only one of the three of us who've seen them. In between.
Are they on YouTube? Are they on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually
Okay.
Sorry
recommend
about that,
you
but
go check
we're
them
still
out.
eating snacks.
I actually recommend you guys check them out because these things are. I don't know what Lucas was honestly thinking. I honestly think it's kind of testing for Willow, which
Right,
he wrote.
yeah, yeah.
But in between Return of the Jedi and the lull until Phantom Menace, where a lot of expanded universe people stepped in to write stuff to
Yeah.
fill the void,
We had a lot of video
Lucas
games.
made two made-for-TV Ewok movies.
The kids love Ewoks, clearly.
Funded by Huggies, of all people.
Yeah.
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 Of the Ewoks. But
Yeah.
basically what happens in there are two of these movies. In the first one, this family crash lands on Endor.
Oh,
and the little girl, and it's two parents and a little girl and her brother. And then the parents get kidnapped by a giant. And then the girl and brother have to join forces with the Ewoks to go find her parents. And this is all done in live action. It's actually got a decent production design, there's cool effects,
Oh
but
my god, that premise so
it's goofy.
retarded.
It's goofy as hell. And guess what? Burl Ives does
Yeah.
the narration.
What?
Yeah.
Burl Ives
D.
narrates.
Bill Ives.
Yeah.
As in
Burl
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Ives.
Burl narrates it. This
Wow.
movie, this movie is hilariously bad. I mean, you could honestly see this is Lucas kind of practicing for Willow with because the
It's a
Ewoks.
mess.
It's so weird. It's so separate from Star Wars.
Yeah.
In that the Ewoks have magic. There's an Ewok shaman with magical power that he trains the boy to do.
Jesus.
And you're gonna love the sequel. He trains the boy how to be more aware of the magic. I suppose you could say Force, but then again, they go on an epic quest. They encounter fantasy creatures on the way. Eventually, they have a showdown with the Gorax, which is a giant. It's a giant suit, pretty cool. And as I said, the effects in this are weird. I mean, I don't remember the last time I saw a TV special with this high class of budget. I suppose Lucas was behind it, so there again.
Yeah. You know, it's sounding a lot like, the never-ending story meets.
Yeah,
It's
Willow. It's Willow.
If
you know Willow,
it's Willow. Willow's great, by the way.
It's
I love
Willow.
Willow. But and this is it's interesting enough. It's a great little so bad it's good movie, and it's I find it fun. I think just talking about it, I start smiling. The sequel goes in a peculiar direction because what happened was the guy right behind it, I think his daughter recently read Heidi.
Okay.
And he was very interested in that. So in the opening, we now learn that there's another species living on Endor.
What?
The EU backstory is that this group of ape-like aliens crash landed here, and they've been living. They're called the Marauders in the movie. They're actually called the Sannyasins. And they basically just travel around Endor on these big things, kidnapping Ewoks for, I don't know, meat, slavery. I don't know. We never actually see it in the movie.
Idiots.
And they are idiots. That's the amazing thing. We actually no, they're literally idiots. We see a bunch of them because they also find spaceships that have crashed and rip them apart and stuff. At one point, a whole bunch of them are sitting around a motherboard and pouring water on it to watch sparks fly. It's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And so the opening of this movie, the Sannyasins attack the Ewok village, and the girl's family are all killed. The older brother, the parents just shot with lasers, and then she has to run off into the woods with the Ewoks, but they get captured. And then she and Wicket, the who you may remember from Return of the Jedi, who was a bigger character in the series, played by notable dwarf actor Warwick Davis, who's been in
Leprechaun.
the Leprechaun, Harry Potter films. So awesome.
Yep.
So they meet this grumpy old man who lives out in the middle of the wilderness, and he's just been living by himself with this other sort of Ewokish creature called a tweak, which is really fast. Peculiarly enough, sort of if an Ewok and a rat and an albino rat had a kind of crossbreed creature, it's very odd to look at. And
I imagine that was like scary for kids or something when they first saw it. Like they got freaked out.
I don't know.
Right.
The weird thing is that the main bad guy. There's actually two main bad guys, and this gets even more surreal. There's the leader of the Marauders, who's this. If you think Grievous has a cold, this guy is worse. He's got this very hoarse voice that he keeps up the entire movie. And
smoking habit.
And helping him is this human witch who can turn into a raven with a magic ring.
Jesus.
I love it.
Yeah.
And of course, the movie, there's a big fight at the end between the Ewoks and the Marauders. There's all sorts of action sequence. The movie ends with the little girl and the man getting on the old man's spaceship. And eventually, because her ship, she keeps the power source from her family's ship, and the old man's ship doesn't have a power source. They get together and they fly off at the end. Clearly, the weird thing is that the impact this had on the expanded universe is that clearly it's set after the events of Return of the Jedi. But for some reason, the EU decided to try and tie it in before.
Okay.
Which is weird because in the second movie, Wicket has learned how to speak English. So they've tried to bend over backwards trying to explain how that works. I mean, someone's saying that they speak a different language or whatever. But whatever. These Ewok movies, I actually think they're more watchable than the Holiday Special. The Holiday Special, which is
that was just always out there.
I love the Holiday Special as well because I love bad movies as well as everything else. But separate from good movies. I'm not saying I think Return of the Jedi is a bad movie. That's why I love it. I'm saying
it's not. Even when it's flaws, it's still a great movie.
Right. It's an amazing movie. It's my second favorite of all time. But I would actually recommend giving these movies at least a little watch because they're so strange. It's amazing just how quickly they disappeared. They're on DVD. You can both of them are on a 2-pack on DVD. You can check them out, and you're not wasting your time. The Holiday Special is a bit more of a slog. These are a bit more fun. They're definitely laughable.
Yeah.
And then,
I'll be laughing.
And then we head into the gap in between movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing is, the gap is an interesting gap because a lot of video games were made. I was a big fan of Rogue Squadron.
Yes, great game.
Fantastic game.
Came out.
A lot of great Star Wars games.
Late 90s it came out, right? Yeah.
That I remember first playing that when I got Windows 95. Whoa! Cutting edge tech. It started to build up, and then I saw the trailer for Star Wars Episode 1. And my gosh, I was blown away. I'll admit it.
Everyone was.
Everyone was. It was.
Yeah.
It was the first. Again, you get the sense of how big Star Wars is. No other movie ever did this, where you had movies made money simply because people went to just see the trailer. Remember, we didn't have the internet at the time. Well, not in any grand, useful way compared to how it is now. The only way you could have seen a trailer at the time was reliable.
Movies.
Was right when you went to see other movies, and Star Wars It played with a bunch of other movies. I remember a movie that shouldn't have made that much money. There was an old Brad Pitt film called Meet Joe Black.
Yeah, that was in 98.
Oh yeah, we plays the devil, right?
No, he was death. He was death.
It was death, right?
Death fell in love with some chick and blah blah blah.
It was terrible. No one cares. Point is, it was Star Wars was playing during that. The Star Wars Episode 1 trailer.
So
that movie made way more money than it should. It made like double the money it should. It was like
wasn't the Austin Powers trailer also making fun?
That was the second Austin Powers movie did that.
Yeah, which came out same year.
So they played one movie this year. It should be Phantom Menace. But if you see two movies this year, then it should be Austin Powers.
Yeah,
that was a great
Austin
trailer.
Yeah.
And also, Lucas literally had to beat off the fans because he banned pre-order because he wanted families to be able to get in.
Yeah.
So they didn't do what they did for the recent movie, which is to allow pre-ordering.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea, the most recent movie broke pre-order tickets.
Yeah.
Records all across the planet.
Yeah.
So Lucas had to do that, and then they saw the movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, but it's the first time you get a sense of, again, who would do this for other movies? Waiting in line for about how long it was? A month?
Yeah, about 3 weeks or even more.
Yeah, people was doing that stuff, and I was like, that was really a big control impact. And I was, and then the trailers was brilliant because stuff in the trailer that everything was looking awesome. The big selling point for the trailers was the lightsabers. It's like, whoa, people fight like
double lightsaber.
Lightsaber.
People fight like that with lightsabers. See how fast they were moving, and then you got to see that double lightsaber. Where you see Darth Maul introduced. We don't know who he was at the time. This guy in red, and
maybe he was the titular Phantom Menace.
We don't know what he was
we
doing.
assumed he was.
Yeah, and we just see him just put on his first lightsaber come out, and then the second lightsaber comes out, and it's like,
That was a great shot.
And I was like, whoa, this kind of mind blowing. This is gonna be great.
Yeah.
Awesome, right?
Right.
Right, guys?
Okay.
Well, not so much.
A little before note, if I end up playing devil's advocate to this movie, it's mainly because I don't hate it as much as everyone else because I didn't see it the way everyone else did. I was still living in Uganda at the time.
Right.
Fresh off watching the original trilogy, I wanted more. I was absolutely hungry for more Star Wars.
Right,
and there wasn't any, but the one of the local bookstores had the visual dictionary for Revenge of the Sith, which was coming out around that time. So I got that and I bought it and I read it and I was hyped because I loved the universe. I loved reading about all these characters, all these little tidbits, which I later learned were from the cartoon from the Samurai Jack guy.
Yeah.
And all this inside information. It was written by James Luceno, who's
Jenny
an author
Tartakovsky,
I love. When I get into this, I'm going to explain why I love James Luceno. But he was allowed to write the Revenge of the Sith visual dictionary, and he gave the whole thing this cool tone to it. Even though it's a visual dictionary, it's a reference book, but it has a nice tone to it that fits with the tone of the movie very well. And one of the things he was allowed to do was come up with a backstory for General Grievous, who was just a character who appeared out of nowhere. When he was writing the visual dictionary, he got all these inside pictures. He said, can I just make up something? And they said, oh, sure, go ahead. And so he made up this backstory where Grievous was this alien warlord who was hand-selected to be in an accident so that he could be reborn as a cyborg, which simply humiliated him, and he hated Jedi from his backstory as a warlord, all that cool stuff. So, and I watched that, and then I watched Revenge of the Sith, and then I got the novels of the first two while on a trip to South Africa, and I read those. And so I'd already, and then I eventually bought prequel trilogy and the originals. And it took me, I was actually surprised when I kind of got my first computer and read more about the prequels and heard that there was this universal hatred for them. I was genuinely surprised at the time.
Becoming Star Wars, man.
And I love the movies. I love the movies. But then actually listening to some of the arguments, I began to look back and realize.
No, okay, so for me, because I wasn't invested in Star Wars, I was a Star Trek fan. I was invested in Star Wars. I was like, when I first saw episode 1, I was like, yeah, this was kind of cool. I enjoyed it because I didn't think about it. I didn't have my brain on. I didn't think about it that much. Right, and it was just about the flashing colors. I was 14 at the time. Flashing colors, lightsaber battles were badass. All right, I thought that we call them the black stereotype wasn't too funny and kind of annoying.
Everyone's favorite character, Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks was kind of annoying, but again,
you joke. in the pre-production, Lucas really thought Jar Jar was
Was
going to be
brave.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's so surreal watching
Yeah.
saying, people, we need to make sure Jar Jar is in frame in this shot because
Yeah.
people want to see more of Jar Jar. Just
Yeah.
sitting back going, oh,
Yeah,
no.
Like he is going to be the comic relief of the
Yeah.
film, and like
And then
no,
you see compared
people just hate it.
to C-3PO and R2-D2, that which do the comic relief, they actually push the story forward.
Exactly.
You understand why, and they actually are good, useful tools. Whilst with Jar Jar, that didn't really work that well.
Yeah,
He
every time
was
they give
connected
him
to
something
the,
to do, he just messes
yeah,
things
he was
up.
connected to the guns, blah blah blah.
That's
but
why
it
it
just
is-
didn't work.
That's why there's this fan theory, because the thing is, the thing what annoyed people about him is that he
Oh.
also blunders through the movie,
That Jar Jar.
but
Yeah.
he
That
blunders
Jar Jar,
through the
yeah.
movie, and it just somehow manages to help out in certain
Yeah.
scenes. That's why
Which
the
was-
fan theory is that he's some kind of drunken food Jedi
Right?
master.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, no,
He's
there's
your
a-
drunken
no,
massacre.
there's two theories. It's
No.
either that or he's we call Darth Jar Jar. He's secretly a Sith.
So basically, he's secretly a Sith Lord, but a Sith Lord who employs a kind of drunken
Drunken
master
master,
style
yeah.
of the Force using,
Yeah.
which is why he seems to clumsy his way through
Yeah.
the movies and still get things done.
Yeah, that was.
You know,
That's a bit of a
yeah,
stretch, I saw.
that would have been a little clever if
No.
they
No.
thought about it.
If it had a good payoff, then it could work. But
Yeah.
no, but yeah. The thing is, the film was again, it was an entertaining film when it comes to storytelling. Not storytelling. Sorry, when it comes to just the action and just
and the visuals, of course.
Visuals, yeah, it
Visuals
looked
for its time.
yeah, it looked good.
Cause,
Sorry.
Yeah, because now you might look at it and be like,
CG
yeah, some of this stuff
Yeah,
just
you
looks
know,
a
it
little...
looked like no simple stuff like the ship,
Okay.
like that shiny ship they had.
Okay.
Awesome.
But, okay.
Darth Maul character design. Awesome.
Of course, yes.
Oh, so bad.
Yeah, it's so well done.
I just love Darth Maul. Before I even seen the movie, I just saw him and
Yeah,
everything. And
awesome.
Every
Yeah.
minute he's on
By
screen
the way,
is a treat.
we need to establish ourselves. Even at the time of Force Awakens, he's technically still alive.
Yes, because he comes back in the series.
Exactly, he is still alive. That's pretty awesome.
Which series?
The
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars. The Clone Wars.
Yeah,
Well, I haven't watched this series. I
Yeah,
only
he's in
saw
Clone
the
Wars.
movie and
His brother
it didn't
dies.
motivate me to see
Because what
watch the
happens
series.
is there's a whole story arc where
Yeah,
what happens.
it's an
and
awesome
it's
story
a
arc.
badass story arc
Against
where
Sidious, yeah.
where
He and his brother
where-
versus Sidious.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
what happens is Savage Opress, who's his brother,
Yeah.
is sent by the Dathomir witches to go track down his brother, and it turns out he survived being cut in half due
Yeah.
to just
These
evil Sith
lightsaber
powers.
And then the lightsaber
Wow.
kind of like
And he's basically he's gone mad. He's
Yeah.
on this junk planet. He's created a lower half for himself out of parts, which looks like a kind of spider.
Yeah.
And he's muttering to himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And his
you
horns have
get
grown
chopped in half and
freakishly
see
long.
how your mind
Yeah.
turns
Vader,
out.
yeah,
and Vader more or less replaces him at this point. It's great.
So he has to, and so they go and he comes back, and there's a story arc where he wants to get revenge on Sidious for abandoning him, and
Yeah.
he gets the Mandalorians involved, and there's culminating in this amazing thing when Sidious actually confronts him and Savage, and you are no longer my apprentice.
Yeah.
You have become a rival.
Alright, well, I will say this much though about Darth Maul. Great character.
Ray Park.
Yeah,
Ray Park.
Ray Park, of course, yeah, great fight choreographer,
Yeah.
and yeah, but when he's on screen and he's just probably there for alright, there's like one small scene when he's there with the
Yeah,
cloak on.
you fought Qui-Gon. He does that.
Yeah.
that.
Right,
And
and then-
you fought Qui-Gon on
Right.
on Tatooine.
Most
Yes.
movies a silent tracker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
works. That works.
right?
Yeah.
And then of course the
The one-
fight scene between him
Actually,
and Qui-Gon.
a sad fact, the one scene where he does talk, that's not Ray Park. He was dubbed over because
really?
they thought his voice didn't sound menacing.
Right.
It's kind of David Strauss's Darth Vader all over
So
again. but
who is it? Who's it?
I don't know who does the dub, but it's done by
Okay.
someone else because they thought Ray Park's voice wasn't menacing enough. He
Okay.
does have a bit of a heavy British accent.
So they could just do the voice and then do some little audio or something with it.
No, I don't
Yes,
know.
they-
Because
double
clearly
over.
they
dubbed
just
over
didn't have the
someone
technology
else.
to do that, I guess.
No, there you go. I can
They
do that. I
actually
can do that
dubbed
in
over by a
audition.
black guy.
Okay.
A black guy dubbed over the voice.
So
So
which happens second time.
Yeah, but about that fight scene, it introduced me to, and I forgot the name of the song, to probably one of John Williams' best songs.
Duel of the Fates.
Duel of
Yes.
the Fates, yes. I
Dun,
love
dun,
that
dun,
song,
dun, dun,
and he used it to a
Awesome.
great degree in
Yeah.
episode 3, which I'll get into as well. But what I like though is that what was different compared to the last trilogy is that he brought this operatic element to it. You
Yeah.
had these
I love
opera
it.
vocals
Yeah.
now, and it just made things
Yeah.
feel so
Epic.
dark and tense and epic. Yeah.
There's a grand
Yeah.
scale to the
Yeah.
thing where it's big. I mean, this is people complain about the politics, which never bothered me. Even when I was little,
Me neither.
my attention span didn't say, "Oh, politics, I can't watch this." I was actually
No,
a
it
little
just-
bit
it just
invested in
dragged
it.
the film. That's what it did.
reminds me
Politics,
of- It's
no,
like
okay.
it's like machinations, like Roman
Exactly.
Empire and stuff.
That's the thing. So my attitude about it is that the problem is that he tried to make it smarter, but it's not that much smarter, and it misses the point of Star Wars in the sense that Star Wars is just about good and evil. We don't need to know the politics. Much like how don't need to know how the hyperdrive works or how the lightsaber works. We don't need to know the politics, and that was a problem.
Well, the thing is, I think Lucas said he was inspired by Palpatine's arc, by people like Julius Caesar and Napoleon.
Right.
And people like
No,
that.
that's fine. That's fine, but you don't
Except
need to
it's less like
spend
that.
so much time on that.
I know that. I mean,
That's the issue.
I mean,
and again,
I mean,
because of what's her name? Natalie Portman's character,
Padme.
Amidala. Right, Padme. The character was like, oh well.
So
thank you.
weak.
Yeah.
And then think about it too. I mean, George himself confessed that he, like, for this new trilogy, that he made specifically for kids.
Yeah.
Which is why you have all these
that was
these
bad.
grand aliens and of course Jar Jar Binks and stuff. So why have them sit through all this drab conversations about politics and the empire and starting this new thing, you know? It drags the story along. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, and may I point out that what you were saying about the Jabba the Hutt scene from Return of the Jedi feeling like
too long.
Yeah.
What
about the Tatooine sequence in Phantom
Boy,
Menace?
that
takes
that takes forever
that's
to
a
get
good
out.
third of the movie.
That felt like a half to me.
No,
Close to
yeah,
half
it was
of the
way
movie.
too much.
Way too much. I mean, and I don't mind.
No, but what they had to do was establish. The whole point was try to quote unquote establish Anakin, and they had to spend a lot of time on Anakin. But here's the problem: two things. Again, what I foreshadowed, because we do not a lot of foreshadowing in this podcast. Midi-chlorians. You had to establish that.
Yeah, this midi-chlorian bullshit.
You had to establish this.
They made them up just so they could establish how awesome Anakin is.
And yeah, he's so powerful, and they quantified it. That's a serious problem. You see, not again. Star Trek, you quantify. Star Wars is about qualification.
And you can't see the Force is a bit more like magic. You can't measure the fantastic.
No, exactly. It's what you call measuring the marigolds. You don't.
However,
no, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. A lot of people defend the midichlorians by saying, well, it's just one step between midichlorians and humans, but still. The whole point is that we have a direct connection.
Measure Force sensitivity, that's the problem.
Yeah.
But I will admit,
and he has more than Yoda. Look how powerful he is.
Yeah, no, you'll have people asking where these midichlorians came from. Why did they
it's another intelligent alien. They do explain them as far as I understand.
A little bit.
Yeah, but
a little bit.
If you watch the riff tracks of the movie, the whole time Qui-Gon is doing the whole thing explaining.
Oh, Liam Neeson, right.
Yeah, Liam Neeson's character. How come I remember character names? You remember actors.
I remember.
It's what I do. Come on.
I remember.
Neither.
You remember? Huh? Oh, Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if you watch that whole sequence he's explaining, if you watch the riff tracks for it,
right?
With the female Gillette shaver.
Kevin Murphy spends Kevin Murphy from Mystery Science Theater spends the whole thing going.
Yeah. It was a problem. You don't try to explain things. Star Trek, get away with it. Totally explain it. Totally embrace it.
I hated midichlorians for the longest time until James Luceno again. You need to read a novel called Darth Plagueis,
right?
Which is an amazing. I don't think it's canon anymore, but technically they're not going to mess with it because it's prequel. It's related to the prequels.
Here's the thing. This is a spoiler,
forward.
not for Force Awakens, but it might be a spoiler for episode 8 and 9. I heard they might be doing that, like a kind of snowcast kind of thing there.
Say what?
Yeah, we'll talk. That'll come later.
Okay, that'll be the one way these new movies can cheese me off. If Plagueis is not canon anymore because of Snoke's, I am going to be furious.
No, but because of Kylo Ren, that Revan is no longer canon-ish. There's a whole thing there.
Thankfully, they were able to save Darth Bane before the Clone Wars was cancelled because he shows up. He's just canon. They wanted him to appear in an episode where Luke Anakin confronts the personification of the different aspects of the Force. They wanted Revan and Bane to appear to talk to the Son, who's supposed to be the element of the dark side, but Lucas stepped in again and said, "No, we can't have these guys in it because that isn't how the Force works."
Yeah, that's a problem.
George just likes to do that, right? He just shows up, he just leaves his Skywalker ranch. Once a month and just comes and says, "No, you're not going to do that. Do this instead.
Yeah.
It'll make money."
Look at the changes he's made. He's the guy who he banned Wookiee Jedi. Because he thought, Wookiee Jedi looks silly. No Wookiee Jedi.
No.
Just that's the only reason he banned it.
Yeah.
Why? And then he said Yoda's species are not allowed to be named ever.
Why?
Maybe mystery. I don't know.
Why?
He banned what was it? Oh yeah, he renamed Obi-Wan's home planet from what had been established in the thing, naming it after a friend of his.
Okay. Well,
What?
He renamed the Sith homeworld of Korriban, which has been established in the expanded universe as Korriban, their homeworld. He changed it to Morriban.
Why?
When asked why, he said because it sounded better.
Yeah, that's pure
Korriban-
ego. Pure ego.
And here's where people like to demonize Lucas, and I've got to the point where I don't think I can anymore, because what I heard someone point out is that Lucas was given a lot of praise for the prequels, even though he relegated a lot of work to other people.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wonder whether that may have got to his head in between the movies, and that's why he decided, well, if they praised me all that for that, well, I have to prove myself
Right.
now. So now with these new movies, I'm going to handle everything.
Yeah.
And dialogue, Phantom Menace, back to Phantom Menace,
Yeah.
that Lucas dialogue creeps on
Yeah.
back
That was
in. I
horrible.
mean,
Yeah.
people, if there were elements of New Hope script you didn't like too much,
Yeah.
oh,
Right,
boy.
it didn't work out.
angel.
Yeah, stuff like that.
I'll feel you.
Yeah.
Afraid, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Master, you
Let's
can't
talk
defy
about
the
the
council,
people
not
who
again.
were in this film. Well, Samuel L. Jackson was in this.
Yeah.
Cool.
As
I think it was
Mace
supposed
Windu.
Yeah, I think it was supposed Tupac auditioned for this, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the rapper Tupac Shakur. What happened to that?
He said
Climb up on that
he
plot.
said
Oh,
that
he died.
No,
what
but
happened
he
to
was
Mace
he was
Windu-
talking about it. Yeah,
What Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson said.
was on set with Juice with him.
What he said was he approached George Lucas saying, "I want to be in these movies. I don't care if I'm just a clone trooper.
Right.
I want to be in these movies at least once." And he said, "I'll think of something." And he wrote him in as Mace Windu.
Right.
And then also that Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
That's why his lightsaber's purple, because
Yeah.
he said, "I want something to be able to recognize myself out of
Yeah.
the crowd. Can I have a purple lightsaber?" And Lucas said, "Okay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how that happened.
Yeah, but I know Tupac Shakur was supposed to be role. It have something along those lines.
Alright,
So
well,
it have a lot of
that's
I mean,
new. I
Mace
never
Windu,
heard
the
that
character, had
before.
actually been around since the early drafts of New Hope.
right. Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
all these
No, but I
themes-
think what
these
is
details that
one of the
people get-
characters was supposed to be called Windu.
Yeah.
Early on, yeah. It
Well,
was-
his original name was in the one of the very early drafts was Mace Windy.
right, something like that. Yeah, it
Mace
was-
Windu,
Yeah.
okay.
So they.
And who else was in it? Of course,
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor as
the young
Obi-Wan, a very
And
young
good
Obi-Wan.
casting choice.
Yeah, no, that's a
Yeah. He
very
was
good
great.
choice. And he was
Throughout
good.
the
Liam
whole trilogy, he
Neeson
was
as
very good.
Qui-Gon, as
Pretty
Master
good.
Qui-Gon Jinn. I like that too.
Yeah.
There are some people who say he's bland. I don't think it.
No, I thought
Yeah.
that's fine.
And Natalie Portman as she was.
I thought she couldn't act until I saw
Right.
V for Vendetta and Leon the Professional. I was convinced Natalie
Right.
Portman couldn't act, and then I saw.
But that's the thing. I know her from Leon the Professional before. I knew
Yeah.
that because as a kid.
child actor.
I was a
amazing.
kid. I was a kid, but I knew that movie. I was like, my
Yeah,
friend,
that was a great
because I'm
movie,
older
so-
cousins. Because I'm older cousins, like, boy, this movie real bad, and I was watching Leon and this character's young girl. I'm like, oh, that's she from that same movie. Awesome.
What I also find annoying about Padme is that we have Keira Knightley
Mm-hmm.
on set, literally just a few steps away, playing one of her body doubles.
Yeah.
Yes.
She
Yes.
would have made such a better part.
Yeah. No. Do you?
Although in retrospect, I'll say I prefer Natalie Portman. over
Right.
Keira
No.
Knightley.
No. Do you guys? Do you
We're gonna
guys?
get into a fight about Keira
Yes,
Knightley.
we probably have to
So,
get to that fight.
wait.
Hold
Now,
the podcast. Ah!
right. Now, do you guys know the name of the actor who played Anakin?
Hayden Christensen.
No.
No.
the
Oops,
boy one.
Sorry, the boy who
Sorry.
played it.
I forget.
Do.
I completely forget. Oh God,
His name is Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd.
Don't ask me how I know it.
No.
I just know
He was a
actor
popular kid. No, unfortunately, in retrospect, his life has more or less been ruined by Star Wars.
I
Unfortunately.
mean,
Yeah.
and
But
I
what-
like-
It has been no, but
Here's the thing.
you really get to see with him. You get to see the dark side of Star Wars fandom because people were stalking him.
Oh God!
Yeah, it was disturbing.
It was bad.
Yeah.
You want the dark side of the Star Wars fandom?
Yeah, that's the dark side of the Force.
Lucas recently confessed he sold it to Disney because he was exhausted creatively and emotionally from
Yeah.
getting the hate mail
Yeah.
and the angry letters and all the Lucas raped my childhood.
Yeah, that's
business.
nonsense.
All
Yeah.
that.
Have you ever
And
seen- no,
with Red Letter Media leading the charge? I'm
Yeah.
pointing my finger at you,
Yeah.
idiots.
No, I know.
Hear me? Hear me?
No, the thing is, I love those guys. Mike Stocklaster and I think it's Jay and Mike. Love those guys.
And they made great videos.
Exactly. I love those
yeah,
two.
I love
No.
it.
I love those, but they did
Great
they did-
analysis.
No, but here's the thing.
It was not
No.
announced. It's called nitpicking.
No. Here's the thing. What they did was it was a case of and I'll say they're probably more representative of my generation. What they did was it was just catharsis. That's what it was. Clearly, no. Here's the kicker. If you're going to do stuff like that, you need to be funny. You need to be entertaining on its own. That's what it was. It was clearly very black humor.
Yeah.
Done as a catharsis for a lot of people who hated those films.
Yeah.
Now, if those were too mean, it didn't come across as too mean spirited because they understood the industry.
I'm sorry, it did to me.
Oh no, for me, like the kind of humor. No, you haven't seen truly mean spirited reviews.
I've seen some of those mean-spirited reviews, but
those guys,
they led the charge on some of the dumbest arguments in that franchise. Like, the fights are over-choreographed. They're soulless. These amazingly choreographed, well done.
That is what
combining sort of basically if you took all the fights from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with the dueling of the Princess Bride, and people loved them at first, and then regular media made it cool to say,
no. It came after, regular media brought arguments that it was all arguments by then, By the time they brought out their video with Star Wars Episode 1, it was all arguments. Like, all of that stuff, if you ever have been on the bile-infested internet of the early 2000s, like I have, you would totally understand where they're coming from in terms of that argument.
So it's collected all the arguments
against but a lot of it is not their argument so much, I'll admit that. What they did, however, is that they put a lot of humor into it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fine. Again, I prefer dark humor.
Even right down to how the guy was talking, this guy, why is this like this?
Right, exactly. He's playing this stupid role.
He said the character was inspired by kind of a drunken Bill Murphy.
Exactly.
But I'm sorry, it just comes off as
I
like dark humor. Love.
Here's the thing. I don't mind if it was truly mean-spirited in the sense that they think George Lucas owed them something. Now, have you ever seen? There's a documentary.
People versus George Lucas.
Thank you. That was a novel.
I've not seen that one.
Dude, that is the worst thing you'll ever see.
What's the name of the documentary?
People versus
George Lucas.
Which goes.
I've heard of that. Yes,
I've heard of it. It's
sad.
Definitive documentary for explaining how that all went wrong.
Yeah, no, that is pathetic. Just to see how these people, like, the sense of entitlement and it's like, in the end of the day, it is not your franchise.
Exactly.
I don't care how much you hate it or how much it's this, that, or the other. It is not your franchise. You don't own it.
But
Sorry.
I think the problem is because Star Wars became such a cultural phenomenon,
Yes,
people
they think
thought
it's
it was theirs. And people used to love Lucas. When people said Lucas was coming back and he's handling it, he's making the movies, everyone was cheering. And then after Phantom Menace, people started with the
They
hate.
just turn on the man.
Yeah.
And it was a classic. I mean, this is the ultimate example of death of the author. I mean, jeez, like, they were like,
Good Lord.
yeah, these people just jump on the man back. Now, here's the thing. I still on the side of Relative Media and the gang in terms of the explanations behind things. They explain stuff. To me, it was a little nitpicky on the side, but
but they made valid points.
Some of the points, I'm not disputing that, but
Yeah.
but a lot of the nitpickiest fan arguments.
No, they did that. Nobody wanted the choreography one. I kind of understood that one because you get a sense of, because Lucas just did it straight. It didn't get a sense of emotion. Like, just compared to how Jedi was, where you get a real sense of emotion.
Okay, something else I have to talk
But no,
they established in the original trilogy that good Force users don't make it look like effort.
Right.
That's the whole point of the sequence where Luke tries to raise the X-Wing out of the swamp and then Yoda just comes, closes his eyes and raises it.
Right.
So I don't know why everyone was saying we want Jedi to be gritting their teeth and sweating when they're in the middle of the duels.
Right.
If they're Jedi in their prime, why would they look like they're exerting themselves in this duel?
Well,
Good point. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, okay. So
And
this is probably going to take up a lot of time in the podcast because I'm going to try to argue for it. Not so much, again, it's just me playing devil's advocate for the people who are too bile driven in their critiques and where they're coming from.
Oh, I can understand.
Here's the thing. It's a culture. Here's the thing. It's a culture. What I would say about this kind of bile driven anger culture, righteous indignation attitude. It's a culture of basically ignorance of the film industry.
Right.
That's what it is. It's something that I don't think you have any excuse for now. Being like this, because by now, if you still complaining about how a movie should be and you don't get what kind of hoops filmmakers have to jump through this to get something, or in the case of Lucas because he's in charge of everything, it's the opposite effect. You are either an idiot or you're intellectually dishonest. Now, I don't think Mike and Jay are like that. I think they just come from a time where it had a lot more creative freedom.
No comment.
That's it. So there's that. Anyway, we're gonna jump to
episode dos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before we move on, there's actually a point. I am not saying I love Phantom Menace. Let me just make sure that no one thinks that. I do not think it's a good movie. I think the script is bad. I think it runs into all sorts of plot cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
And the pacing is awful.
The pacing is awful. And something that I actually get personally upset about, which no one else complains about. I've always been a fan of the Star Wars aliens and the creation and stuff. That stuff's great. In the prequels, sure, they got a lot of CG aliens. I'm not complaining about that. I'm objecting to the fact that the few practical aliens they have are done garbage.
Yeah.
Which ones are done practical, to be
Here's
honest?
the thing: if you look at the pod racing scene, there's
Right.
little crowd shots. You go, woo!
Yeah.
And then if you pause at those, you
You'll
actually
see-
get to
you'll know
look
who's
at
on.
some of those things.
Yeah.
Some of those are pullover masks. Some of those
Yeah.
things look like they're
Lazy.
shitting on the edges. It's the beneath the Planet of the Apes effect.
Yeah.
What
Oh
you,
my
what, you,
God.
what you do is if you have a lot of creatures in an effect.
Just throw somebody back.
And basically, what you do is you put all the ape suits, which you took a lot of time making sure everything was in
In
front,
front, yeah.
and then all the pullover ape masks go behind.
Exactly right.
Again,
Unfortunately,
how to fix that is you rack focus. That's how you fix that. So you put everything in the
Which
form.
works-
You don't.
which
But
works.
the problem is that Lucas.
this works until Blu-ray.
No. You can still have your rack focus. Here's the problem. Lucas loves to shoot deep focus. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Where everything in focus. They're like,
And some of
He
those
just wants to show off.
and the
that.
Exactly.
alien, and the alien designs are also wildly inconsistent. You got
Yeah.
aliens from the originals, but they've changed the number of fingers
Yeah.
they have. Some of them look
Yeah.
all bad.
Yeah.
The production design for
But-
Phantom Menace is
Yeah,
actually, in my
it's
opinion,
like a kind of post Men in Black kind of
Yeah.
thing. Like, you know, with Men in Black, of course, the first 1997, where it was always about how imaginative and wild these creatures look like.
Like
And and you got that with
Yeah.
Phantom Menace, just all these wide assortment of aliens, but it just felt like,
the problem is, but the
you
problem,
know,
and I hate the
there's no distinct really qualities about them. They're just there.
I hate the cheapness. I hate the cheapness about it because if you go back
Yeah.
if you go back to some of the production stills of New Hope, there are some aliens you don't even get to see properly that look fantastic. So
Yeah.
the idea of taking a few pullover alien masks with oven mitt hands and sticking them in the background
Right.
is actually something I really get annoyed about.
But no, just quick before we move on to episode 2, I just want to say this is one thing, and I'll defend you on this point with respect to just the critique of involving Mike Stocklaster. What I would say is that I hate the fact that they did separate the generations of the fandom. In that sense, they really drew. I'll admit, they are the ones who, not them so much, but it had a whole culture. They kind of, in a sense, spearheaded that culture, but that bile-driven culture of drawing a line by saying, look, if you like this, stay on that side. They split the culture in that, and I thought that is
Which is a problem.
incredibly toxic.
It is still a problem as a Star Wars fan.
And
It is
because-
a problem today.
No, but because for me personally, again, I didn't get that feeling because I'm not that big of a Star Wars fan.
Right.
Like, so I didn't have any big emotional investment in it. But as a Star Trek fan, I kind of see a little bit of it. I understood where they're coming from, and it's totally a generational thing. It's my childhood versus your childhood, and the idea that your childhood doesn't count.
Right.
That's the attitude, and that is very toxic. I'll admit.
It's
I still
very-
like those two guys. I think they're hilarious. But the thing is, they're very self-aware. That's the important point. There are a lot of people out there who is totally not self-aware at all.
They're just going at it because.
Exactly. It's about Schadenfreude and making fun of that kind of culture. And I totally think if you do that right, it's funny.
Right.
And I think they did it right, frankly. But it have a whole bunch of goons out there, a whole bunch of guys.
They all latched onto the.
Dude,
review
they have
as
a bunch of
well.
dudes, mid 40s, out there that the attitude is, hey, if you like this in any way, shape or form, you are the devil. And you're working for the spawn of Satan. That's the attitude.
You're working for Lucas. You must.
Yeah,
be
exactly.
evil.
Yeah. And it is ridiculous. And in the end of the day, it's like, sorry kids, move on. Guys,
Exactly.
move on.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's just a movie at the end of the day, people. Come on.
However, still need to apply all righteous indignation to Lucas himself, and let's talk about episode 2, which in my opinion is the worst.
Attack
I'm
of
with you
the
there.
Clones.
Yeah.
Attack
it's
of the Clones
worst
is
of
the worst
prequel.
in my opinion.
Worst of the
Yes, it is.
prequel.
and I will say why in one simple sentence. Why
Sure.
I think Attack of the Clones is the worst. The whole thing, the whole plot hinges on a romance.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do that movie, fine, but make your romance believable.
Yeah.
Yes.
If it doesn't work,
Yeah.
then your movie falls like a
Yeah.
house of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not just-
you don't buy the relationship between
Hayden
Padme
Christensen-
and Anakin.
you really get to see bad acting.
But
because
here's the thing. This
Really, and
but,
bad script.
Hayden Christensen was horrible in
yeah.
this movie.
But guys, before we get to Hayden, one thing that was kind of weird, maybe you could kind of clear this up for me, is that in the first film, right?
Right?
Yes, it came out 3 years ago, okay? So Anakin was like a little boy. Let's just say he was about 11 or 12,
How
right?
fast he grew up.
And then you have
He's a
Padme,
totally
who
different-
apparently is supposed to be like about 16 or 17,
Yeah.
and now
She doesn't look at the front.
I don't know how much years span
And he
between
looks
the first
way
and second
different.
film, but like they look pretty much about the same age, but you still buy the fact that she is older
Like
than
10
him.
years older, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
I like one
where's
that's also
this-
not naturally a very tall person.
Right.
No, she looks a lot younger than her age. So she, like, okay, how much older she is to him is what, 5 years, 6 years?
So
Right. So
guess so.
it came across really weird. And
it's
here's
a
the
problem.
problem.
It's a problem that
weird.
Problem that Jake Lloyd-
even the expanded universe has not been able to explain.
Yeah,
this
Lloyd,
one.
he had the problem that Lloyd didn't grow up well at all. He grew up
No.
pretty damn ugly and kind of fat. So it's like, yeah, we can't have any fat Jedi running around. And they're not going to throw him in a gym and tell him, well, by contract you have to do this and
Yeah, yeah.
Because if
Part of the reason I don't think he wanted to come back either.
No. By then his life was destroyed, in my opinion. From what I understand, he couldn't go. Like people was camping out in front of his house, like some disturbing shit.
What you're talking about? He was in Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, that's what people didn't know who it was.
It's a movie I kind of like.
Yeah, I kind of like the movie. It's dumb, but it's a fun movie.
But by then they were like, yeah, we're not gonna put this kid in through the ringer when it comes to the gym, man. You know, when actors have to lose a ton of weight and things. Them days,
like Henry Cavill to get the Superman
right?
look,
The Superman look.
Steel,
well, for Christian Bale or somebody like that now who lose a bunch of weight and
he can build back.
Machinist and then Batman, right? No, but
even Chris Hemsworth more recently with you've seen some of the Twitter pictures he posted of himself having lost a lot of weight for In the Heart of the Sea.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
thin as a rake.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing. Actors like that don't exist. That didn't exist then. That whole idea where you have to sit down and make yourself. No.
Well, to be fair, a few years before Raging Bull, I mean, Robert De Niro did go on a crash spaghetti diet in order to pull off the kind of so it wasn't unheard of.
Okay. But for
Orson Welles for Touch of Evil.
For Lloyd, yeah, he wasn't going to do that, and it would have been really cool if he came to be a young Anakin and he's still looking the part, and he's looking like a grown Anakin, and you could tell some time passed. How much years passed between episode 1 and 2 exactly?
I know it's usually like about a 10 or 20 or 15. It's always
but
around that
even
time.
I'm a Star Wars fan. I've read all the EU stuff.
Even
I don't know.
It's unclear to me.
Exactly.
By the way, it doesn't matter. And this movie hinged on a couple of things. A set of bad CG.
Oh Lord!
The love didn't work. The love sequences didn't work. It was again dumb, boring politics that didn't make any sense.
Except they're dumber than the Phantom
Menace. Yeah, they're dumber than the Phantom Menace somehow. And then they hinge it on the big gimmicky selling point of Yoda having been in combat. So they have Mace Windu doing combat. They introduced Boba and Jango Fett, which I actually like. I like the actor of Jango Fett. And the whole
but the kid who played Boba on the other hand,
terrible. I hated that kid. I like, wait, this is Boba Fett? Alright.
God. Yeah.
I kind of get the part they have him as basically a young...
They're kind of solving the problem you had, where Boba Fett is just a quiet, independent... They're trying to give him some...
Yeah, but he's just
push him out a little bit.
Well, they made him a young sociopath, which kind of worked, but he was like, get him, Dad! Stop it, shut up.
But Django, the guy who played Django...
Yeah, I thought he was a great actor.
Cool
actor. I think he had a cool look and everything. Anyway.
Although the suit is much shinier than it is in the original, which is something that I think is a running motif. A lot of people got cheesed off with the prequels versus the originals.
No.
In the prequels, a lot of things look shinier and newer.
I thought they got that right.
Which I suppose it's not a problem I have. It's another one of the many things I've heard.
I don't understand why that was a problem. That made perfect sense to me. If everything is good, everything would look shiny. Who cares? If you have to rehaul a set of technology that destroyed from a war, it'll look like crap. That makes sense. Duh. That's just my thing. I don't understand that complaint. Anyway, then they had the big gimmick, Yoda in combat, and boy, was this one of those love-hate moments to me, because it was incredibly stupid and didn't make any sense to me, but it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, but I actually remember, like, the first time I saw episode 2 in cinema, that moment where Yoda is doing the whole Force thing, he's fighting against Dooku, and then it's like, oh, we can't match our powers with the Force, so now we must use our sabers,
which is stupid.
And then he pulls out a lightsaber, and the audience just go crazy. I went crazy too, but like when I watched it, I was just like,
here's the stupid part.
Yeah,
here's the stupid part. You say we cannot match our wits with the Force, and we must match with our skills with the lightsaber. No, not with Yoda. Yoda is going to just wreck you with the Force.
Exactly. That was
here's the thing.
They can't establish in the EU that Dooku has always been more of a duelist. That's why his saber is curved.
I know.
Because
I get all of that.
He's a duelist. And
let him
say, Christopher Lee.
No, listen. Love all of that too.
Icon.
Right, that great character.
R.I.P. man.
Yeah, great Datarina. So
rest in peace, by the way.
Rest in peace, Christopher Lee.
But here's the thing: if they could have had him kick ass as Datarina, beat down Anakin, beat down Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah.
Great, and then he just gets wrecked with the Force. Full stop. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, but we had that with Maul.
Us how great the Force is.
We had that with Maul. We couldn't do it again because then we'd lose another villain.
But no. He doesn't die, He just gets wrecked with the Force.
Yeah, you could still have your lightsabers, but you saber battles, but just not.
Here's another thing. At no point. So in my head, I remember when they was hyping Yoda going to be fighting in the film. We knew it was coming because they were saying that. They say, we're going to have.
Well, I didn't know that was.
No, we're going to have Yoda in combat. That was all the E Entertainment Television and all the little hype crap. And you see the crappy interview. Anyway, in my head I was like, wait, all right, if Yoda gonna fight, that means he can't fight with one lightsaber. And in my head, I had it being the telekinetic version of what's his name? Who's the villain in 3 name?
Grievous.
Grievous,
General
right?
Grievous.
Right. He's going to be the telekinetic version of General Grievous. You
He
see how-
uses his powers to make 4 lightsabers something.
Yeah, multiple lightsabers just hovering about, and he just floating about and just tearing stuff up.
Well,
and he just pick like, okay, you see how? Remember there was a Clone Wars episode where Sam Jackson character, what my name is, my brain is dropping.
Mace Windu.
Windu, right? Where Windu is just using pure telekinesis by ripping stuff apart.
Yeah.
Oh,
With-
that
with-
one. Oh,
yeah.
God,
Yes,
that was
yes,
awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's what we're supposed to be getting. It's like Yoda just rushing through. You're not actually using lightsabers. He have lightsabers
I know.
that floating around,
Yeah.
tearing everything up, and he just tearing up stuff with the
Just
force.
him with his eyes closed.
Yes, that's
waving
it.
his
Yeah.
hands.
Thank you. That
while
is
you
what
watch
you were
4
supposed to-
lightsabers going crazy all
That is
over.
what we're supposed to be saying. That is what I had in my head. And we got him just hopping about the place. And it looked
And then going,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, and it looked cool. It looked cool. I'm not denying that. It looked kind of cool. But I was like, yeah, this is not... Sorry.
This
Dude,
is
there's
not
a
like-
tall dude fighting a midget. Come on.
And Yoda looks weird in that movie.
He looked
Yoda,
weird.
I mean, first of all, the CG Yoda, I'm not
Yeah,
a huge
not
fan
a fan
of.
of that.
But yeah, another weird
But
thing.
he looked worse in Phantom Menace.
It's a puppet. The
As a puppet?
version
No, he's
of
a puppet.
Phantom
Yeah, it
Menace.
still look kind of...
He looked a bit
Off.
Off, yeah.
But well,
Obviously,
I still prefer Puppet Lula by far.
Yeah.
By far.
Well, another weird thing I think is I don't like how. I mean, I suppose it's part of one of the overall themes of the series, but there is a bit when Dooku brings debris down on Yoda's head, and he visibly
Right.
looks like he's struggling to keep
I-
it.
Yes, yes,
That
yes.
makes no sense.
Yeah,
That
I
is-
mean, what? How?
Even in the originals, he's a standard for power in the Jedi Order. He was Dooku's master. He shouldn't be struggling with
Yeah, that
3
was
rocks.
tripping. Dude, that didn't make... I had problems with that.
Yeah.
The film ended pretty terribly, and they had
Yeah.
this whole...
But the
And then also too...
yeah.
And then also too, it was like the longest film in the whole series.
Yeah,
Like
it was
2 hours.
long,
Yeah,
yeah.
2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
or,
it felt-
more. Yeah, it felt really long though
Yeah, it's
because
pretty damn long.
of just the long-winded dialogue
the
and stuff.
arena scene.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
may I just say... okay.
Noisy.
Now, there is
No.
a running motif.
No, it looked cool in terms of this. Listen, I'm very impressed with this from
An
from a
army.
technical standpoint, you know.
Right.
When I first saw it, I was like, yeah, this is impressive, but this is noisy. This is a noisy
There's a
mess.
lot going on.
Too much. And I was like, nah, this is not working.
And the weird thing is, I know, because one of the things they kind of established in the prequels, and a lot of people don't pick up on this and they complain, but something I picked up on, maybe it's just my EU experience, but there's something that they tried to establish, is that the Jedi Order have lost their way.
Right.
The Jedi Order have become all caught up in all the Republic
politics, right, exactly, thank
and
you.
they're all way down, and so they're not as powerful as they are in the original.
But
They,
they're not
they become
focused.
like puppets more or less.
Yeah,
for
but
the-
and they're not
Exactly.
focused. They're
And
not
that's
focused
what,
on the real deal.
and that's what the Sith take advantage of to
Right.
take them down in the end.
Yeah.
But it's still a bit off to see an army of Jedi moving against an army of droids and being beaten. It's even with that taken into account.
Well,
it's still, I mean,
yeah.
and there's so much less force powers. They're all using lightsabers.
Yeah.
The only time maybe we get Kit Fisto, another badass by
awesome.
the way.
Yeah.
It was this one bit where he force pushes
I was like-
3PO's head off. Man, I just say that whole 3PO sequence with him on the droid was just
Oh, no, dude,
such
that was
a
annoying.
waste
Yeah,
of time.
Yeah. And then, when they had this, another thing about it, had this ridiculous sequence when they were in this factory. This was with Padme.
Yeah.
Yeah, and George actually
Oh,
came up with the idea on the
gosh.
fly before he just came up with it one day. It was like,
And I was-
hey, it'd be cool if we had a scene where
Oh,
Padme is in this
that was just
factory.
going on and
it,
on
yeah,
On,
it didn't work.
on,
No,
on.
this was easily one of the worst movies. It was just gimmicky as hell.
mean,
a lot of
this is,
people, a lot
I
of
just want to
people,
say one thing, but Claude,
Yeah.
you first. You
Sure.
first.
Padme's character annoys me, personally.
Yeah.
There are two
Yes,
things about Padme
yes,
that annoy me.
yes,
First
yes.
of all, she is so clearly, at least in the first 2 movies, one of the things I like about Revenge of the Sith, but I'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah.
One of the things that annoy me about her in the first 2 movies is that they are so clearly trying to make her, Leia. They're so, because
Right.
she's supposed to be Leia's mom, so they're trying to make her...
action girl.
And it doesn't work, because
Yeah,
Natalie Portman is not an action
star.
girl.
Yeah,
even
she's action girl.
even Leon the Professional, the point was, it was kind of her weird little
Exactly.
girl cutiness.
Exactly.
Using all the assassin tech and stuff.
Right.
That was the joke. You can't make her tough. And so her saying all the tough dialogue doesn't
Yeah,
work.
and even
I
have
call it
her
aggressive
dressed in white near the end with the blaster and all
I
that
call it
stuff.
aggressive negotiations.
Yeah,
no,
come
no,
on.
no.
Lucas, the dialogue.
Yeah, it didn't work.
But for me, what turned me off the most was just the dialogue, especially from Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, he was
I
horrible.
killed him, every single one of them,
yeah.
and not just the men,
Yeah.
but the women and the children too. And then of course, and then of course, Padme's now legendary line: "I truly, deeply love you."
Yeah.
Come on.
Or the even more infamous, I don't like sand. It's coarse, it's rough.
Yeah,
It gets
what
everywhere.
the hell is that?
I mean, I just say Hayden Christensen's voice sounds weird. I don't. It sounds.
him
it's-
himself.
His voice was breaking.
It actually
Yeah.
sounds like it because those kind of awkward first attempts at acting where you
Yeah,
see
just
some
make
actors they're a bit stiff. They're not sure what they're supposed to be doing. And the thing with Hayden Christensen is whenever he's supposed to be giving dialogue, he always seems just a little bit stiff and ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Yeah.
It always comes off as just
It was.
Yeah, and just the premise alone, like, all right, Anakin has to protect Padme from, this assassin that tried to kill her when she was sleeping. And you go into her homeland, okay, no problem. And then you have moments where they're just out in the field, in the open, where a sniper could just come and, attack them. But no, they're just rolling around in grass and talking about love this and I love that.
That was,
come on.
could defend that a little bit. They were supposed to be in a place where nobody knows. So.
Yeah, and then also too...
I think
go on.
if Lawrence Kasdan had returned for the script, some of those scenes actually were shot nice enough that if they actually had some nice romantic dialogue, like what we had between Han and Leia in the original,
But something convincing
we
at
would
least,
have had
yeah.
something better.
And it was incredibly, and just the parts that should have been better was incredibly unpolished. So they had this stupid part where he cut a piece of mango or something like that. It was clearly a mango they used it, but it was, alien fruit.
Right.
And he erased it with the telekinesis. And I was like, yeah, this is
that was the
terrible.
the dinner scene, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
And it's this lazy, and it's the CG looking horrible, and I was like, yeah, what's the point of this? It didn't work. We're not going to jump to, so we have to talk about the Jenny Tartakovsky's Clone War film.
Yes.
So those are these great sci-fi shorts.
About 5 minutes long.
5 minutes long,
yeah.
and they
The
just
whole
run.
series adds up to about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could find that on YouTube.
I remember
Crash watch it.
Right, I remember it was roughly 40 episodes or so. You got to see the first part, and then time passed through during the summer, and then we get to see the second part. And boy, those were impressive.
They
Yes,
were
they were.
so good.
Really well done. They started off kind of weak and slow, but then they got really good, and then you got to see some good combat. It mixed good emotion and combat, and it actually made you care.
And it told so much in a short space of time, which is what the movies can do.
Yeah,
with very little dialogue.
Yes,
too.
with very little
That's an
dialogue.
important point.
And we got to see some cool. There's some badass Jedi.
Yeah.
Like we got. even background. We got to
Fisto.
see.
We got Fisto
we get Kid Fisto actually in action. We get to see Sassy Tin in action as well. We even got to introduce a couple new people who get killed off, which complete badass looking, like Volvif Mon, who was this one, the one who looks like a wolf, kind of wolfish looking guy. He was a contest. What happened was they asked Jedi to vote. They wanted people to vote on what alien from the cantina they wanted to see as a Jedi.
Right.
So they
okay.
Yeah, so they had Shista Vanan, the wolfish looking alien, an Ithorian and a Tals.
Right.
And the Ithorian and the Tals ended up in the final scene where they're trying to keep Palpatine away from Grievous.
Yeah.
And but Volvif Mon ended up being the one who won the contest, and he appeared in a couple episodes. And we also got to see Krook, who is a Whiffid Jedi. He was in the scene where the 5 Jedi try to take on General Grievous.
Right.
We meet General Grievous' introduction.
Awesome.
Yes.
So
Awesome.
good.
And the thing is with it is, who was the character on the bike? Holy crap!
Dirge.
Dirge. Yes.
Dirge.
Good character.
So badass.
They did a good job. Like that whole sequence where they're riding and hearing music, thing line up. And Tartakovsky is a guy who I never appreciated him until the Dexter's Laboratory movie.
That movie was.
That's when I found out how talented he is as a storyteller. Because he always did the Dexter's Laboratory stuff. He never took him that seriously.
The movie you're referring to is when you saw all the alternate realities of Dexter.
Well, it's not that when I was little.
It's not alternate realities. It's Dexter from different times.
Yeah, right.
Different timelines.
That was bad. That was real.
That was interesting. Looking back on it now, because I'm thinking about it for the first time.
And that too, actually.
That's good. Yeah.
I need to give that movie a rewatch.
Yeah, give it a rewatch.
And for me, the series is actually Star Wars at its best. Lucas comes up with a rough idea, hands it over to another creator, and the other creator gets a little creative freedom. That's how the originals work. That's how this series works. It's the series at its finest. And we also get a lot of cool character moments.
Yes.
When they did that whole thing with Anakin just having this weird dream sequence, and they show his hand turning into this big...
And his hand getting big and turning into the Darth Vader.
Yeah, eating everything up. Awesome.
Yeah.
Really well done.
I also like that moment with General Grievous, of course. Yeah.
Bald girl, 2 lightsabers.
I forgot the name.
Asajj Ventress.
Yeah. She was introduced. That was the first time I saw her.
Yeah.
I was introduced to the character in that series. Awesome.
And there was one thing, I think it was like probably the second to last episode with General Grievous, and when Mace Windu confronts him, and Mace uses his Jedi Force to crush his heart,
which explains why he's something coughing.
Not his heart. His breathing apparatus.
Yeah.
Because that is actually, as again, EU nerd here. That whole cavity area, that's where all his organs
it's biological.
are.
Yeah, that's all the biological.
That's where his organs are. So when he crushes,
I
like
kind of piece that together.
Yeah, so that's why in episode 3 he's coughing a lot.
Yeah, I hated that because this is where the character just looked like an idiot in this movie. So if I never watched that, if I never watched Clone Wars, I'd be like, oh, just General Grievous' character is terrible though.
Yeah, and then they never really explain like.
If I never saw that, and that's the sad part.
Yeah.
I end up hating Revenge of the Sith simply because you saw what Genndy Tartakovsky could do with the material.
Right.
It is objectively the best of the prequel trilogy, in my opinion.
In my opinion, and again, heresy, it actually holds up to the originals. In my opinion, it
I
actually
don't know. Okay, here's
holds
why I
up.
didn't like. Okay, so here's why I didn't really care for two things. Because what they did to Grievous, they had to do more Yoda fighting nonsense, which kind of pissed me off.
I don't know. His fight with Sidious, it had its.
They made it look
moments.
epic though, especially
No,
the duality
But
fates
it was a
song.
score. Duel of the
Yes,
Fates
the
again.
duality fates again.
Still epic, but in my head I was like, yeah, Yoda not supposed to be doing this too. Whatever.
Like the moments when he
If it-
you're expecting more of the bit like when he makes the when he and Sidious are just throwing the Senate chairs at each other. That's more what you were expecting.
Thank you.
More like a scanner fight.
Thank you.
Scanners. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. I can
No,
understand.
and the thing is with it is that I lose my train of thought. But the politics was too on the news. It was too obvious because at the time, anyone knows what was going on in the real world. In the real world, we had the Iraq War.
Yeah.
And it was
right.
And you really did see that parallel. You did.
it was too obvious, and basically it was this big Dick Cheney George Bush allegory thing going on there. It was too blatant, and I was like,
Dude, even Roger Ebert and all
it was
mentioned
too
that in his
obvious.
review.
And nobody had
I
to
told you. I
made
saw
it
this
apparent.
complete. I was living in Uganda.
Uganda? Yeah.
Remember, I don't know any of this.
No. It had that culture. No, it came across as really culturally kind of. It didn't. It was too on the nose with it. They had one cool part I liked, which is when and this was from Padme, where she said, "This is how democracy dies."
Yeah, with
Round
Russia
of
close. I love that.
applause.
Like,
I actually love that line at Palpatine when he talks about this will be the first galactic empire.
Yeah.
And the music just raises it.
secure
And then
society.
it
It's
brought,
so
it brought back
theatrical.
another problem I had.
Intercut with Anakin slaughtering the Separatist
No,
council.
here's what I hated as well. Hated that. I hated the Anakin just losing his entire shit from just a short space of time.
Yeah, I would agree.
That didn't make any sense
But
to me.
I would argue this one thing though, and I think it's probably unintentional, but just because of how gullible Anakin is as a character,
No.
you could kind of buy into the way that, this guy could just come through one day and say, okay,
No.
if you want to save Padme, you have to do this.
No.
You really want her
Again,
to survive?
It's a
do this.
Faustian deal.
No,
Yeah.
but here's the kicker. Here's the problem. It's the pacing of it. He spent way too much time with Obi-Wan. Way too much time with Obi-Wan to just fall apart that quickly. If your whole point is that you're a Jedi and you try and tell me that Obi-Wan didn't see that problems in the character, that's a problem. That sync towards evil is way too fast. Now again, there's a guy who he's another one of those old school fans that's a little quote unquote bitter. But I would say it's a guy who said how I would have done it. It's a guy who has this how I would have done it type first, and he basically does his version of episode 3. This was a couple days
So it's
ago.
video, right? So he just cuts up scenes.
No, he just talks about it, and you'll see a
Okay.
lot of panels explaining everything what he's talking about, and he explains the character development of Anakin a lot better in terms of the sync towards evil, and you understand step by step. This is the problem with Anakin in that movie. It's just he jumped from this to this in too short of a time, and it's
Understood, yeah, makes sense.
and that
The thing
was-
is, Anakin's pretty much been a sort of darkening character since the whole point of Attack of the Clones was the whole Tusken Raiders thing. Ever since then, he's supposed to be going on a downward
Right.
spiral.
No,
And
but-
and something that again your guys' series and the recent Clone Wars series both kind of touched on is that throughout the war, Anakin, because the Jedi are all scattered, there's
Yeah.
not much guidance.
Right.
Different Jedi getting slaughtered, people having to do questionable things. A lot of Jedi are going to the dark side and things
Right.
like that. Like the whole Pong Krell story arc
Yeah.
from the new Clone Wars
Mhm.
thing. Yeah. Anakin has been falling. So I suppose if you watch the series, it's a bit less subtle. But then again, I suppose if you have to watch the series to explain something, it does kind of weaken the movie a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
But-
I'm under that impression as well. I'm the kind of guy that I like seeing expanded stuff, but
I love it.
Don't tell me that I have to watch this for me to
Totally agree,
understand
yeah.
something.
And I was going to mention that with
hate when
Grievous
people
as well,
say,
too.
"Well, the comic explained this." Like,
Yeah.
no, I need to watch a movie. Why are
Yeah.
you telling me?
I
the
mean,
comic
I can explain anything because I've read all this stuff.
yeah, but
for most people who
don't
haven't,
force me. You need to
exactly.
put enough in it to say, all right, I can understand from point A to point B. Why is this happening? Why, so and so. And it didn't work.
Yeah, and that was
then-
actually what I was going to mention too with General Grievous, where in the cartoon you saw
Right,
when
you saw it happen.
but in the movie you see him walking and coughing, but
Yeah, like, why-
he never really
And then
explained
he's all
why.
hunched.
Yeah,
And then and it's how he gets beaten. He gets beaten by a blaster. And it's like, really?
yeah, he just gets shot in the
I
same
love that
heart.
scene. I love that because
I like the cockiness of Obi-Wan though.
The Obi-Wan Grievous fight.
The
Obi-Wan Grievous fight. I love the Obi-Wan Grievous fight because I never had any problem with it. The Obi-Wan Grievous fight for me works so well. It starts off and the way it moves around, the way all the running, the fighting.
Well, I like all of that when
I like the creature he was around. That creature was
the weird salamander versus the unicycle.
And then the way he ends up defeating him. The way he ends up defeating him, where the fighting, and then he finally just pulls the. Because he pulls the chest cavity apart and then shoots the blaster. If he just shot the blaster, I'd be with you. But the fact that he has to he pulls this chest thing open so he can actually have a clear shot later, that makes a bit more sense. The fact he loses his lightsaber so he has to think on his feet.
Right.
That is all impressive stuff. For me, there's a lot of things I love about Revenge of the Sith.
I love that opening sequence.
Yes, opening sequence is fantastic.
Very well done. That's how you're supposed to be doing Star Wars movies.
Even the music and all too.
Very well done.
That music from the opening. That boom, boom.
Yeah.
This is boom, 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 and then the music comes in.
Yeah.
I just love that.
And then they fly over the thing, and then suddenly we're in the middle of the battle.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Very well done.
But
then another problem I had with this man. Here's another thing. R2D2 with all these extra abilities. That was kind of throwing me off.
Oh, come on.
Oh, with the flamethrower thing.
Flamethrower, yeah.
The rocket pack.
It's like, wait, R2D2 could fly now? And that's another thing I was pissing off in episode 2. So I was like, wait, what? Okay, whatever. Anyway, episode 3 is, I do agree, it's objectively the best of the prequel trilogy.
And of all the other ones, it's the only one that, in my opinion, holds a candle to the original.
Right, yeah. I agree with that.
It's clearly that. And it actually, for me, it actually does what the prequels were supposed to do. It improves the originals so slightly. Because for me, when you've seen for me, Revenge of the Sith explains a lot. It makes Anakin's character a bit more, and he turns into Vader, it makes him a little bit more irredeemable, which adds to the whole ultimate redemption thing at the very end.
I had a problem with him becoming Vader at the end. He shouldn't have become Vader.
What do you mean?
I don't think we shouldn't have seen him as Vader. Like, because clearly they only did that to the fans. You know?
Nah, I don't think so.
That didn't work for me. I find
the way it's shot. Okay, may I just say something? Revenge of the Sith. We've talked about how the prequels, they're bigger scope, they're operatic, whatever. Mm-hmm. Revenge of the Sith is a gothic movie.
Yeah. It's a dark movie.
No, I mean gothic in the more. I don't mean gothic in just how dark it is, but I mean as far as story structure. Like it's
a form.
One of the only gothic sci-fi movies. I mean, Event Horizon and that section of Memories, Magnetic Rose, those are kind of gothic, but they're haunted house.
Right.
I'm talking gothic in things like the old gothic literature, like The Monk, Wuthering Heights, and there's so much element of that in the way the romance is structured, in the way that. In the way that characters interact, the emotions, the passions. There's very gothic passions running around with Anakin and Padme's relationship.
About dream,
The dream, prophecies.
Yeah.
Basically, if you think about it, there's so many gothic elements. You have a member of a religious order who has breaking his vows against the order. There's a secret pregnancy, a secret marriage.
That's one of the problems. I find they should have.
And also to a sort of transformation from this normal
individual
to somebody evil.
They should have made a lot of that a surprise. In the sense of making the audience be surprised with a lot of that information. I think it just from
they gave up on that.
That's the problem.
From Phantom Menace.
They didn't care.
See the marketing campaign for Phantom Menace where we had little Anakin with the Darth Vader shadow.
No, we knew. We knew that. We knew that. Oh, when he said Anakin's.
But they never really played on it.
Right, but the thing with him having the part with him, you're not knowing that he had an affair, like that, all of that stuff. They should have kept that on the wraps instead of spending time showing a love story. It should have been like you get a little bit of visual language of something going on between Padme and thing,
right,
and then you reveal. So you're not sure, but it could be. But the whole point is you're not supposed to do it. So from your standpoint as the audience member, it'd be like, whoa.
And I love how that's
Anakin,
and that's how
undone.
I like that. I actually personally like that. That's how Sidious
plays him
over. Because if he just fell by himself, I'd be more than happy to agree with you that it feels rushed. But considering the Padme thing is a pressing issue for him, it's something that even when he's hanging out with all the other Jedi and doing meetings and stuff, aside from his own personal ambition, trying to get on the council, which of course Palpatine is also manipulating. Aside from that, it's something that's very pressing on his mind, especially since Padme is going to be less easily able to conceal the whole business.
Yeah, exactly. Right. On top of that, she's pregnant, so she's just getting harder and harder to sell.
Exactly. I mean, even though she's wearing those kind of shapeless dresses and stuff, it's not going to be easy. And I like the fact that they finally given up trying to make Natalie Portman a tough girl, and she's just
Yeah, there's a.
Not a damsel in
love
distress,
interest.
but just
It's
caught up in
it's
this,
not
in
quite
this
a damsel in
situation.
distress character.
No,
And I
Just
know
caught up in
they're-
this big
Yeah.
story.
She doesn't feel like they're trying to make her feisty anymore. And
Right.
honestly, this is where Natalie Portman shines in the series,
Yeah.
in my opinion, because
Yeah.
she acts these bits out very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is one of the big problems with making prequels in general, because we know what's coming. So when you saw this is Anakin, you know it have to be twins. Like little stuff like that. So like imagine if we were to make episode 1, 2, and 3 without us knowing
We never would
what
have got
happens.
past episode 1.
It would have been more of a surprise. of
exactly.
course, yeah.
So but because everything have to fit, that's the problem. And for me, it came across like that.
Yeah.
That everything had to shoehorn itself into episode 4.
Right, so you would understand why 4 is that way and all that kind
I
of
had a
stuff.
problem with that.
Right. Well, I will just see what I have to say, but you finish up.
Like a younger version of Grand Moff Tarkin appearing at the end briefly,
Yeah,
standing
like,
as they're watching
why?
the Death Star being
Yeah,
constructed.
I was like, really?
For
Didn't
me,
need
I
to
didn't
see-
need any of that Death Star foreshadowing.
Yeah, so what?
That
20 years later, the Death Star is now finally completed. Now we could start blowing shit up.
And yet it took them much shorter time to build the one for Return of the Jedi.
I know, right? It did.
Oh, Clerks 1. Remember that old joke?
Which one?
Clerks 1, the movie.
Clerks.
Clerks, the movie.
I haven't
Kevin
seen it.
Smith.
Kevin Smith.
All right, there's this joke about
There's a
all the
great
people
conversation.
that worked on the
Look up-
Death Star
yeah,
and the blue.
they deserved
all
it. Whether or not
died.
they deserved it.
Yeah.
No. The thing with the Death Star, from what I understand, is that I think the Han Solo movie is going to explain this because the Wookiees were enslaved, I think, to
Oh, yeah.
It has a whole thing.
That was,
and
that was
how
one
you-
of the games, right? They mentioned that.
Yeah.
When they start off with the Jedi, with Vader coming and finding so much Jedi who are hiding out with the Wookiees, and they have to kill their way through them. And,
Anyways,
then he finds the one who becomes Star Killer, who becomes his apprentice. And this
Right.
is what game was this again?
I can't remember.
With Vader's secret apprentice.
Oh, that was
Um,
Xbox 360 crap.
came out a few years
Star
ago.
Wars.
I can't
I forget.
remember what it was.
Easter or something?
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I only know a little bit because of its connection to the EU.
But I know Han Solo met. This is where Han Solo met Chewie. He had the whole thing with that.
and why their bond exists, why their bond is so strong.
Why they're friends, yeah.
Right, but yeah, you wrap up.
Anyway, quick wrap up of episode 3 and why episode 3 is the way it is. Some film I should have liked, but I didn't like because I knew this could have been much better. By the way, this is foreshadowing to the Force Awakens.
Really?
Yeah.
One of the things I absolutely love about, I love that it's a gothic sci-fi movie, which you don't see very often. I love the music does help a lot with the emotions and seeing this all, and I love how everything goes catastrophically wrong, and how basically the whole thing, which we've been establishing from the movie 1 and 2, is this elaborate trap for the Jedi, which they don't even see until they walk right into the middle.
I had a problem with the Order 66 thing. That was a little too sad.
That was a great scene. That was fantastic.
No, but it didn't. Again, it's Jedi's like.
It's like there should be a low way of it. Though.
They explained that the Order has gone wrong. That's why it's important in Return of the Jedi that Luke sees you don't need to go either the Jedi way or the Sith way. You can find something in between.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one of the things I liked about it. And I like Order 66. And I like how in the final act of Revenge of the Sith, everything goes wrong, starting with the arrest. And I love the arrest.
Yeah, no, yeah,
the arrest scene is so
That's
cool.
very
And you know, for most casual people,
the
the arrest scene starts out. I would have liked it if it had been a 5-way duel, personally, instead of just killing off the other 3.
Right.
And I suppose, but for a fan, it's a little bit cooler to see. I mean, for a casual observer, it's Mace Windu and these other 3 guys are going to go arrest him. But if you're a fan like us and you've seen the series, it's he's got Kit Fisto and Sassy Tin, and they're this is serious. There's some of these cool guys.
Right.
Yeah. But I love that, and I love how in the final act we got that. We got the slaughter of the Separatist Council, the Order 66 Order 66 with cuts of the temple attack, which is absolutely a devastating scene to watch, and
that music too, that score.
The younglings.
Yeah.
And then the big final fight.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. Yeah. What are we going to do? Ow! Oh no! And all this to Yoda feeling this tremor. I mean, must feel in the Force to just feel this massive, as all these Jedi being slaughtered both at the temple and abroad, and the idea that the war was being played out deliberately to kind of lure the Jedi as far away from the temple as possible, to leave it undefended, so Anakin and his people could just walk in and slaughter everybody. It's a devastating scene.
Yeah.
And then the Separatist attack, and then the bit where he even turns on Padme, which is another very gothic moment, where the very thing that he was trying to do this all for in the first place is what he attacks.
He
and then the final two with Obi-Wan, cut back with Darth Sidious and Yoda, which
the final fight, well, for me it was disappointing, the final fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin. I thought it would have been more epic. It wasn't. It was it felt epic, but it didn't. It was like, oh, why is this practicing again? People hate it. You say you hate the fight, the complaints about this choreographed thing.
I never have any complaints about them.
Now, in episode 1, there was no complaint. But in episode 3, yes. There's this really stupid part where the two of them just
it's like
on the white table and not touching each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
It's like clearly only just showing off. That's all.
That was
show
terrible.
off.
I had some serious problems with
I
that.
have very little problems with the rest of that. Especially since if I watch that scene muted, sure, but the music helps that
Of course.
so much. Any problems I have with the choreography, the music
The
just
music
helps.
made a fit.
And moments like this is why you can see why Hayden Christensen was cast. Not for his acting, but how menacing he can look in the silence. He's just this hooded.
Yeah, no,
grim
he
Yeah, he has
reaper
this
just
really
slicing
sour
his
look. Yeah,
way.
he has a really sour
And
down
even
look.
with the
Yeah.
and the eyes that as his atrocities go on, he are yellowing more and more.
Yeah. All right, but
Actually, I up more like Darth Maul from the first movie.
Yeah,
His eyes
right.
are yellow.
Well, okay, so I didn't say my thoughts on it, because I was just going back and forth, which is fine. So, yes, I enjoyed episode 3 more than the previous two. I like the fact that it really, for me, it just kind of just answered this question that was hovering over our heads since 999. What is the point of this prequel trilogy? What is the story you're trying to tell? Is it, alright, if it's about the genesis of Darth Vader, why did I have to suffer through these first 2 movies? And we got that with episode 3. It was dark, it was rated PG-13, first Star Wars movie ever to get that rating, and
It's like
and
Lucas.
it's
like Lucas completely gave up trying to make it for kids.
Yeah. For me, yeah, because it's like he would just listen to all the hate and all the laughter and stuff. Like, or they were laughing at Jar Jar. Okay, all right. Or they were laughing at the romance thing that I tried to do for the women back in part 2. Okay, all right. How about I just kill kids? Okay, or laughing now. You're laughing now, right? Yeah, bitch. What? Huh? That was it. He just went dark and deep with his story, and
we did.
I do agree with Ricardo. It could have been fleshed out a lot better. Because because we know what happened in 4, 5, and 6. It didn't have to play off of what we knew from then. It really could have added a few surprises. Although I will confess, the Palpatine thing caught me completely off guard at the time.
Okay.
The first time I saw it, I didn't know that Palpatine was the Emperor.
Oh, really?
I didn't know at the time.
Since episode 1?
I only knew.
I didn't know.
I only knew.
Dude, I forgot about what happened in 1 and 2. I pushed those out of my mind. So when I saw how Palpatine turned, I was like,
I only knew because I read the reference book.
Okay.
That's the only reason I knew.
No, it was so obvious to me.
I know, when you watch it now, it's obvious, but at the time, it's just like,
And I watched Revenge of the Sith after.
I don't call you two of you on this.
what?
And I watched Revenge of the Sith before Phantom Menace.
Okay, no, but okay, so you get to record. You don't. No. I remember my cousin. No. I remember my older cousin was like he like tried to be on class. He's a bigger Star Wars fan than I am, and he was like, I think the senator is really, that city. I said, I really think so. And I watched it, I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, he's so obviously the damn villain. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
This is also assuming you're not reading the credits.
Yeah.
I didn't need to. I didn't do that. I just this is clearly him though. Like, come on. I don't know. You see, that's another thing we have to get into in terms of film language and how to fool certain audiences versus others. Like, you have people who fall for that shit completely, and then other people see through that like it's nothing. I don't know.
Right.
I know to look for tropes. I just gain that natural eye over time.
All right.
Whatever.
Well. Let me just. All right. I'll wrap up my
Wrap
right.
up,
So yeah, I love the film score.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. The Order 66 sequence, great. The attack on the Senate, great. The fight scene, the music that they use there, great. I would admit the fight scene was great to look at.
Yeah.
With the music in the background, that dun 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 dun. But it just ran for way too long, though. It looked very good, but it just ran on and on, and I was like, come on. And then, yes, the whole reveal that, how he finally becomes Darth Vader was really shoehorned, but once again, I have to agree with Claude, the music that they used for that, which is the same thing that they used for the Order 66 sequence, made it work, at least for it.
And may I just say that for me, watching Revenge of the Sith, even knowing what was going to happen, Anakin's final destruction for me is, even when I watch it now, is actually devastating to watch.
No, that is well shot in.
When he tries to flip over Obi-Wan, cuts his
legs off,
he slides down the beach and catches
that's
on
boom,
fire, and Obi-Wan is clearly Oh
No,
no,
I love
Ewan
that-
McGregor acts that scene
Yes,
so well.
no, that when he
Yeah.
said you are the chosen one, it's like it was so.
I love you.
I know. I thought that was really well done. I like.
I just love when he says, "I hate you."
I don't.
I love that.
I didn't hate. Yeah, and I thought that was fine. Again, the movie has its points.
I was actually honestly watching Revenge of the Sith and then watching Attack of the Clones, I was actually surprised with Hayden Christensen because when I watched Revenge of the Sith, I thought he was kind of bitter. But then watching Attack of the Clones, when I watched it, I was actually expecting him as I had seen him in Revenge of the Sith, and so when he began, "You fell into that nightmare, Master, and I rescued you." Remember?
But I will say this one last thing, and then we could jump into 7.
Yeah.
Oh boy!
One unforgivable
Oh, yeah.
thing that episode 3 did. You mean to tell me in this day and age, right? Padme died of a broken heart.
Oh no, yeah. Oh,
Gothic again.
Come
yeah, that's a gothic.
on.
That is a
Yo.
gothic
Claude, yeah, hit the nail on the head
Yeah.
there because
That
that's
is
a total gothic thing.
That is a gothic trope.
Yeah, that's a total
dying of
gothic
a
trope.
broken, or dying of heartbreak, or
Yeah,
of a broken
some
heart.
nonsense like that, yeah.
That is.
Oh, I
that
had
is
some heartburn. I will die.
That is a gothic trope.
No,
right?
yeah, no,
With the
you hit
passion
the
of
nail
it.
on the head with that.
Exactly. That's one of the
Yeah.
reasons I love the movie. I mean,
Right.
personally, I love Revenge of the Sith. It's a movie. Of the prequels, it's the one I can rewatch the most.
Yeah,
It's-
same here,
it's-
same
it's-
here.
For me, it's excellent. I mean, I don't have a lot of the complaints you guys have. For me, it doesn't just work as because for me, I could just watch the Clone Wars series, both of them, and then watch
Right.
Revenge of the Sith, and then watch the originals.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
that
think
reminds me. We have to talk about the Clone Wars movie, and then we could jump into.
I don't think we need to.
we do.
Because
We do.
really?
We need to talk about the
Well,
fact- yes, we do.
I don't want to.
We
talk.
can
No,
mention it. We can
that
mention
is
what it's
all-
trying to
but
do.
here's
Let's
the-
mention it.
that's
But go ahead.
all. That is all that fans had in between Revenge of the Sith and Force Awakens. We had
Yeah.
that series, and I actually like.
We had KOTOR. We had games.
Yeah,
like
Knights of the
KOTOR.
Old
And I
Republic,
haven't-
right?
I
We have to
haven't- that is
mention
what- that
games
is the
as well.
only
right?
game I
You know,
play,
okay,
by the
so
way.
just before we mention Clone Wars, just wanted to just touch upon the KOTOR games. The KOTOR games are based thousands of years before the events of
Oh yeah, thousands.
Yes, yes.
thousands
yes.
of years before.
Thousands of years
Yeah,
before all the
the events
events.
of Episode 1. And
A
it
long,
was-
long time before the long time ago.
But I really strongly recommend the first KOTOR game. The
Yes,
second
it's one of the greatest
the
games of
second
all
one-
time.
I've
Hands
seen,
down.
I have an account on the MMO. I'm just gonna say I have an account. If any of you are listening to this, I am Autonok. I'm that badass Darth Maul looking guy
Right.
with the breather thing over my mouth. I haven't played in a while actually. I need to get on that. But
No, like for me, the
Oh.
first KOTOR is excellent. Very good game, and this is where BioWare, game company that I used to love, and I'll explain why I don't love them that much anymore. But BioWare was the one of the greatest efforts, and this is what kind of in a sense got them to spawn one of my favorite science fiction franchises, the Mass Effect franchise. That's what they're going on to do. I really recommend people go play Knights of the Old Republic if you haven't. It is very good. The second one isn't as good in my opinion, mostly because it's one of those sequels that just copy too much on the first one and didn't really do much. It's an okay game, but again, nowhere near as good as the first KOTOR.
Alright, but there was one game in particular I remember playing, but I forgot the title. Something Academy. I know that's where you first got to use the
I think it
lightsaber.
was Jedi Academy.
Jedi Academy.
Yeah,
Jedi Academy.
Jedi
Sorry,
Academy.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's
That was alright.
actually
That was a
that
half
was
bad game.
Yeah.
Wasn't a half bad game.
Played it in that cafe umpteen years ago.
Yeah, the games I had the Star Wars Episode 1 game. Terrible. I give it
Alright,
garbage.
that's for what console?
It wasn't for console, it was for PC, but the corresponding console was PlayStation 1.
Ah, okay.
Terrible. Then there was not a half bad game. This was the Pod Racer game. There's a
Yes.
Star Wars Pod Racer game. Not half bad. I thought it was okay at the time. It doesn't really hold up. I played the other day. Just to get a sense of what it looks like now.
Yeah, let me guess, Mario Kart is better, right?
Oh my god. No, it was, yeah, they tried to do a kind of Mario Kart-ish kind of thing, so you could play with Sebulba and you could play with Anakin and the other guys. But it's a game that worked at its time, but it wasn't, and that's it. We could jump into things. I just wanted to get that off the chest. And
Yeah,
then,
so we forgetting Clone Wars the movie, okay.
Sorry. Have either of you played SWTOR, the MMO of the Old
that's,
Republic?
no. I don't play Europe.
You don't.
No.
You haven't.
No.
I have.
Okay.
It goes on what my thesis for how Star Wars works. Rough idea, given to someone else, and they run with it.
Right.
What I love about SWTOR is that it's set far enough that you get to see, you get because of all the different characters you get to play as, and I love how we get the world. I mean, the character I play as is a Sith, and I get to rise through the ranks of Korriban. I actually get to kill Master at one point, so I can because at one point I get to.
What I heard,
a more powerful Sith Lord
Yeah.
is curious about me because he thinks I've been skipping through my training. So he says, "I'll take you on, but you have to go kill your master." And I get to pick that, so I get to become his master. And he sends me on errands across the galaxy,
Right.
and I get to do all kinds of cool stuff like that. And there's also the machinations involved. And what I like is that they flesh out the universe of Star Wars so well. Even
Yeah.
though this is set so long, we get to see huts, we get to see all these different planets, we get to explore, literally explore all these different worlds, and
Yeah.
the game rewards you for exploring them. And which is what a good MMO should do. And I love the voice acting, the working.
I heard the big critique. I never played it, but I heard the big critique of it is that they don't do it that many updates in it. So it's more like a general, just a developer's problem, not a game problem per se, which is sad. A good game does need that kind of developer fan base, love back and forth.
Yeah.
For it to flourish. That's why I heard the new Star Wars Battlefront.
Which I haven't played, and I don't think I'll be playing at all in a hurry.
It looked beautiful, but two things. One, the money. It's just gouging you for no good reason. And a lot of people just simply saying, look, we're not going to pay money for this. And B, it's Battlefield all over again in all the worst ways. So just because it has Star Wars skin on top of it, it doesn't really improve on Star Wars and improve on the Battlefield experience as much as it should.
Yeah.
There's a guy who did a mod for it. Like a modded realistic lighting and thing. It is some of the best effects I've ever seen. Holy shit, this thing looks amazing.
Wow.
But the guy he run it with two GTX 980s, graphics card. I only own one. Right? It's a good graphics card, but you can't run it that good. I mean, but this thing was, now if that was what they sold to me, I'd buy that first day. I'd be like, yeah, who cares about the so and so? That looked real damn good. So hopefully if EA stop being idiots and actually cater to the fans and build some stuff and make it work, I'll buy this game. But I'm not going to buy it right now.
If you want catering to the fans, that's SWTOR. Because SWTOR is the fans' game. I cannot stress enough how much it just encourages you to immerse yourself in the world of
I knew there was
Star
a Star Wars MMO before that was kind of bad.
Galaxies,
right. That sucked.
I haven't heard about that game in ages.
Yeah,
oh my god, Galaxies.
I forgot why.
I heard about that. In the run-up, there was one a Let's Player who, in the run-up to the game was about to be cancelled. Into the run-up, he did a Let's Play through it and got to do some stuff. And it looked kind of cheap for its time, and I suppose it had problems or whatever. But I don't know. It's something that bugs me. There's a little more character diversity than you get in SWTOR.
Right.
SWTOR, if you're a free-to-play player like me, you get to be a Zabrak, a human, or a cyborg.
Right.
If you're paying money, though, you get to be a Twi'lek, or you get to be what's that other species? You get to be a Cathari, which are these cat-like aliens. In Galaxies, you could play as a Mon Calamari, Admiral Akbar's species, which was cool. I would have loved to be a Mon Calamari Sith Lord. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now, obviously, before the next movies, there was another lull where Clone Wars steps in. And of course,
gotta mention Clone Wars. Come on,
we gotta mention it. It's an essential part of the franchise.
But when Jan Tartakovsky did his version, that was essential.
But it's just the story itself was just so weird now because they were developing the series.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, George Lucas came up to the creators one day. He just left his home up in the hills up in Skywalker Ranch. I don't know if they're on hills or whatever.
Yeah.
And told them, all right, we need to do a movie for this. We need to put it out, and then we're gonna launch a series right after. Yeah. I think that's how it went.
And I don't understand that.
Because really the movie itself, it feels like it's really a first episode.
Movie. It's a pilot. It's a pilot arc. It's not a movie.
It's a part 1 to 3 more or less put together.
I watched it recently. It's got some of the problems of the first season with not a good script.
Yeah.
And some weird humor and
that's how they introduce certain characters. Like they introduced Padme about 20 minutes into the end of the movie. Come on.
Padme's
very little of it. I remember seeing this at the time and I was like,
for me that is a
complete waste of time.
Oh, you saw it on big screen?
Yeah.
I feel sorry for you.
When I saw the trailer for it, I was like, all right, I kind of like the 3D. Now the 3D stuff, I hate that kind of animation, frankly.
Yeah, the animation sucks.
It's too janky.
I wouldn't say that.
A little too janky, a little too wonky. It doesn't work for me personally.
A little bit angular, but
a little too angular. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I just hated how the characters moved. I need smooth animation. Sorry. And so I was like, all right. But I'm gonna take in this, and I made the effort to go see it. I wasn't a big fan, like excited over it. I was
Yeah.
just going to take it in. I was expecting it to be alright. It's going to be kind of normal, not too great. But you know, once I'm in theaters, I'm going to get an experience. And that was just like, what am I watching? What did I pay
Yeah,
for?
and trailer. Oh yeah, and the trailer for it was kind of weird because I don't remember the dialogue from it, but I know that they played Duel of the Fates during one trailer.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just gave this impression that okay, I have no clue what the story is about, but this is going to be big. It's going to be epic. It's still gonna feel
Except it wasn't.
the whole vibe of what Star Wars did with the before. And like I actually watched it for the first time a few days ago, and I'm like, yeah, this is just a TV
I watched
show.
it
Why
for
am
the
I
first
watching
time a couple
this?
days ago.
Yeah,
It was a pilot. I cannot imagine seeing that in theaters.
Yeah.
But the series itself, while the first season does struggle a bit with
gets
weird writing, it certainly
It
seems.
does,
And,
yeah, that seems good.
and actually, I respect the creators because they clearly have a love of the EU because they actually make a lot of EU stuff canon.
Right.
Ara Singh, who's this kind of weird extra in Phantom Menace, who fans wrote all the stuff for. They made canon in this movie. They gave her name and her backstory. They made that canon. Master Quinlan Voss,
Right.
who was a nameless character who appears in a brief scene in Phantom Menace, but then is mentioned offhand in Revenge of the Sith, who fans, of course, created a whole arc for in the comics and novels and stuff. They made canon.
Yeah.
They made... there's a weird costume change where... one of the council members, the Zabrak with the horns,
Right.
Jedi council members, they changed actors in between the first two movies and Revenge of the Sith, and so he looks different. And they established in the comics and stuff that it's two different masters.
Okay.
They made that canon too,
Right.
and they also made another thing canon. Because the same thing happened with another council member, and they made that canon as well. They made a lot of EU stuff canon, and I respect them for that.
Right.
I love them doing that because that shows an attention and a love for the fan base.
Right.
So you can imagine my devastation when they because Disney announced they bought Star Wars, and I admit my reaction was not instantly one of joy. But when I slowed down and realized this were the people who made Pirates of the Caribbean and were producing the MCU, I kind of
we're gonna get into that. But
I relaxed a bit, and I actually realized, okay, this is from Earth.
But they brought out Star Wars Rebels, right?
Yeah,
They were
and I watched, and I was actually one of the people who caught the pilot because they didn't try to put the pilot in theaters, which I'm good for. They put it on TV, and unfortunately, it was very lackluster. Ezra, at least for that pilot, Ezra is Aladdin. It's so Aladdin. It's got the bad dialogue and this weird.
No, Star Wars Rebels started off normal, but I was like, this is not half bad, and I gave it a chance. And then I think Ahsoka was the character's name. Yeah, when she comes in, I was like, oh wait, she was Darth Vader's apprentice. Cool. That's really good drama.
I mean,
she chose up.
She was annoying as hell in the movie.
Right, but I love that though. Like, if you're doing a big turn where you have a character who's a kiddie, kind of an idiot, and then she has to go through that trauma happens to her because that was her master that becomes this monster.
Right.
But the weird
so that is a great character turn where you have this person who's totally innocent that goes from that, and they have to go through that type of emotion.
But the weird thing is, in the series as well, they actually gave her a proper arc. She starts off as annoying, but then as the seasons progress, we get to see her grow, develop, battle her own demons, which is partially, in my opinion, due to giving her Anakin as a master. I mean, I'm sorry, as a standpoint, why on earth would you give Anakin this Padawan? Right. Okay, for me that makes no sense. I mean, Anakin is a loose cannon.
Right, no, but
Qui-Gon was a loose cannon.
Right,
I don't know why they gave Obi-Wan to him either. He was Qui-Gon was one of Dooku's apprentices, and the other one went off and created the clone. Yeah. No, the other one went off and created the clone army.
Right. Well, you could argue that they have to learn certain things.
Two things.
If they have an apprentice.
Yeah, right, that's the thing. But you could get into the idea of two things where it's just the issue of wartime. And you have to make these rash decisions, which explains.
It's a running motif of the series, actually. Like the one time when Kit Fisto and a former apprentice of his, whose apprenticeship was actually abruptly ended because of the war, meet up to take on Grievous, and the apprentice gets killed because he's too rash. Right. And then one episode where Anakin's squadron gets assigned to this reckless Jedi, Basilisk Jedi Master Pong Krell, who starts using them as if they're expendable, and he wields two lightsabers because he's got 4 arms, 2 double lightsabers, which is really awesome to look at.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
And then turns out he's actually fallen to the dark side. He's planning on giving the planet they've just captured, Dooku, as an offering to make himself an apprentice. There's a running motif of the Jedi slowly falling to the dark side.
Right. Cool. Wartime. Okay.
And wartime stuff, which is really cool. And it does flesh out a lot of little plot things from the movies. Like we get to see Jedi who were in Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones, but weren't in Revenge of the Sith. We actually get to see how they die. Right. Like even Kiel. Who was the dwarf guy with the really big ears? Yeah. He dies in one episode trying to break out of a separatist prison. I remember. Right. and Adi Gallia, whose character was replaced. She's one of the ones I told you about who was made canon. We get to see Killed by Savage Opress.
Right.
Edith Cothby is an episode. That's what I love about the series. So I was a bit put off when Disney announced when it was announced that Disney bought Star Wars,
Right.
and I was getting used to the idea. 2 announcements. 1. Clone Wars is cancelled. I know you've got a 6th season in development with a lot of interesting sounding arcs, but Clone Wars is cancelled now. And then the other one, which cheesed me off even more, the EU, EU, all the books stuff, not canon anymore.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. That was fun.
And you know what? There are still fans, because it's another one of those things in the Star Wars fandom that splits people 2 ways. Okay, because there are those of us who are upset about it, but we're kind of getting on, and then there's some fans who, I think much of the older generation you're talking about, who are rather vicious about it. They're happy vicious. Like I happened to just comment in a video. A few days ago, something about the original series setting up something that the EU kind of went into a bit more, and then some idiot lashes out at me and says, well, the EU's gone now, get used to it. You should be, it was all glorified fanfics anyway, we're good riddance. And all this just hurts me, and then I immediately went and watched 7, so...
but that's just the internet. Okay, so I knew why they had... so we're now going to just bleed into...
Force Awakens.
No. Unfortunately, we
have to get into the darker side of the Force, which is Darth Mouse himself.
Darth who?
Darth Mouse. Darth Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
Right. So here's
Again,
the
I'm
thing.
in playing devil's advocate because I'm a bit of a Disney.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna compare this Force Awakens film to something that's very similar that happened twice. I could notice it basically like clockwork, which is you had a running of the franchise into the ground, and then a reboot that comes back that's not great, but it's not as bad as running the franchise into the ground. The first of which was Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Batman Begins. The Batman before that is Batman and Robin, was just a complete disaster for many people. For me as well.
And that is not Schumacher's fault. I'm going to say that right now.
Well,
no, it isn't. He's apologized.
Well, fine.
And he's also said that a lot of his ideas, a lot of the kind of rough concept art, was getting ripped out of his hands to go shipped off to toy markets.
I get that. Yeah, no.
The studio wasn't listening to him at all.
Right.
He was pretty much the studio's puppet and ended up becoming their whipping boy when fans lashed him. So it's a bit like the Lucas thing.
Right.
Yeah. In my opinion.
Anyway.
For instance, he's apologized several times.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, but we have now, so Nolan took up Batman, but again, Batman Begins is an okay film. I don't love Batman Begins, but I just love it for the fact that I just remember being that guy. Well, it's not Batman and Robin. It's not Schumacher.
It's a new take on it.
They made it grounded enough and world building enough that I enjoyed it. I didn't love the movie. I just like it's like, whoa, we have Ra's al Ghul in a movie. Awesome. I'm that guy.
Sorry.
The second example is something that J.J. Abrams himself was part of.
Star
Trek 2009, the reboot. Again.
Nemesis.
Thank you.
Good Lord.
Now for me, here's the thing. I am not part of that type of part. Now here's what I've noticed. I've noticed that fans, the type of fans that are the most pathological are the wannabe hardcore fans. Which is those guys who didn't come in, they came in right before the new set of fans with this film. So they act as if they're a bunch of old school fans. Right? So I have friends who tell me to my face how good Star Trek Nemesis is because of how dark and serious. I'm like, you watch this movie? And now here's the thing. I don't pretend I'm some old school fan, but I've realized amongst my friendship, at least with Star Trek, that I'm much older than them when it comes to doing the material. Right? I showed myself, I was like, wait, I'm by far more familiar with the material than these people. And they act as if they're these big hardcore fans, and they like to, again, it's a very toxic part of fan culture of lording it over the new guys. Hey, if you like this, you're an idiot. Not only are you an idiot, but your mother needs to die in a fire. Because
you don't know any better.
You are the problem.
And you are the problem and this kind of thing. And I was like, guys, you can't watch me with a straight face and tell me that you don't like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie, which is fine if you don't like it. But don't tell me that you like Nemesis. Come on.
Nemesis is bad.
Nemesis is terrible.
Terrible.
Right? No, wait. Every TNG film, with the exception of 8, this is First Contact, are bad films. Every one of them. Generations is incredibly bad. Right? It's incoherently a bad film. I defend
First Contact's amazing.
okay.
What about Insurrection? That was boring.
Insurrection was just a waste of time.
That was boring.
Although again, much like how you don't blame Shu Parker, I don't blame Frakes.
Yeah, Jonathan Frakes.
Right? I don't blame Frakes. Frakes was good. Frakes is a good. He directed First Contact.
Yeah, but he also directed the Thunderbirds movie, and that was garbage.
Well,
By the way, no, I've seen the movie. It's garbage.
Absolutely,
The Thunderbirds movie is garbage. Apparently, I think also directed an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know.
But Frakes did Roswell. Remember that show?
No.
I remember Roswell. Yeah.
Good show. Good sci-fi show. He's a good sci-fi director. I think he's a good competent. I don't think he's
I have
brilliant.
yet to see a movie of his aside from First Contact that I
First Contact, right? Insurrection was bad, and he blamed the script. Anyway, then they brought 10. And 10 was one piece of mess. Again,
Tom Hardy and Ron Perlman in the same movie, and it's awesome.
Just,
how?
I don't know. The script was such a mess. And that is when, you see how I was like, when I came out of that film, I was like, oh, I totally understand where Star Wars fans coming from. This is a mess. And that was like the first time, I think it's like the first time ever, the second time ever, I've ever been like angry coming out of a film. I think, yeah, it's like the only two examples of me being pissed off coming out of the film. The first one is that film. And the second example was Spider-Man 3, right? I remember just being so pissed off.
And that's another example of a franchise run into the ground.
Yeah.
Except the new version.
Except the reboot kind of suck. Don't hate the reboot completely, but it's like, they kind of just wasted.
Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was bad.
Yeah, it's kind of.
The first Amazing Spider-Man for me is meh. It's not the kind of super.
It's meta bad.
Appeals to me.
I agree.
It's just meh.
Because the only thing I remember about that film was the awesome Stanley cameo. That's all I love about that. When he had the fighting and he had
he was the janitor and stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
He was there with the headphones.
And
they're fighting in the back. That was cool. Yeah.
So with Star Trek now, you did a reboot that was, again, now we're not going to say something about this might be blasphemy to some people, but it might make perfect sense to a bunch of other people. And I'm going to just say this straight off. J.J. Abrams is a master of the mediocre.
Dum dum dum.
That's the thing. Here's that's what J.J. Abrams. What he can do very well is that he can't make a steak, but he can make the hell out of a Big Mac.
Yeah.
That's what it is. No,
I recently watched Star Trek Into Darkness. I mean, I watched the first movie in theaters. I was a bit disappointed. That's when I liked Star Trek, by the way. But then I watched Into Darkness recently, and while I like it, I mean, it's a pretty cool. It's a pretty cool kind of action movie. But the Star Trek stuff doesn't fit. It's like
here's the problem with that film. Well, the big problem is that if you're a big fan of Rota Khan, you realize, wait, they just rip off Rota Khan.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah,
everybody hated that, and it was like totally unnecessary putting Khan in and blah blah blah. Anyway, point is that
Peter Weller was also in that movie.
Yeah, I liked him.
Peter Weller was great.
Admiral RoboCop Dick Cheney.
Peter Weller is awesome.
Yeah, he was good in that. No, but the thing with the character is, the thing with Star Trek is that they designed that exactly what it needed to be from a money making standpoint.
Fresh.
Freshen it up. Again, not the worst script, not the best script, but not the worst script either. It's a script we've seen before in Star Trek, where you go with the whole alternate reality thing.
Yeah.
We've seen it before. Ton of plot holes. If you're familiar with the Star Trek universe, ton of plot holes. So, like you're watching things, and again, if you turn your brain off and you put yourself in a kind of more magical and a Star Wars fan mindset, if you think about it, in terms of not thinking about mechanics and how things work, it's a great movie. But if you're a hardcore Star Trek fan, you would hate it, because I'll give you a simple example. Spock sitting down and watching his planet deplone, and I was like, wait, where is Spock exactly? In my head, is he on a moon? How come that have planet snow and then the other planet is desert? Where is he watching it to see it play out live like that?
Oh,
he has to be very close.
That's a good point.
Simple things like that.
And part of the thing is, Abrams has always been a Star Wars guy, which is why when he creates Star Trek, it
looks Star Wars.
Yeah, it has a Star Wars.
And also why he needs to operate on the same laws Star Wars does of don't think about it too hard.
Right. And we don't know where planets are. They keep mentioning Klingon, and it's wait, they Klingon so and so, but they mention Vulcan, and it's like, wait, in my head I know that Vulcan and Klingon ain't close to each other.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not even close.
The Klingon homeworld's in the Beta Quadrant.
It's way no.
I've got the complete Star Wars encyclopedia.
He has the encyclopedia.
The Klingon and Romulan space is in the Beta Quadrant.
No.
Vulcan and Earth are in the Alpha Quadrant. No. I'm not talking because Gamma Quadrant is where Deep Space Nine stuff happens.
Right.
Delta is where the Voyager stuff happens.
Yeah.
Beta is where they spend most of Next Generation exploring.
Kind of, yeah.
And Klingon and Romulan space is kind of on the border with the Alpha Quadrant.
Right, it's on the edge. That's what it is.
So but they're still far apart from each other.
Very far, but not even close.
We're fanboys.
Yeah, it's not even close. It's like, whoa, where this is exactly. Why they keep referencing this? Why? All right, if you turn your brain off and you realize it's just Space Adventure the movie, then you enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
Yeah, but I guess let's probably mention those names just so it would sound familiar. Like, all right, I don't need to know where Klingon is, but I heard Klingon before. I don't need to know where Vulcan is, but I heard Vulcan before because
Right.
Star Trek. Ooh,
exactly.
right. So
Star
you're
Trek
going.
words. Which I think was the
Star Trek
biggest-
words, yeah.
Which I think was the biggest problem with Wrath of, with sorry, not Wrath of
Into darkness.
Into
Not to be
Darkness.
confused.
The problem with that one was that you got a lot of really cool looking sci-fi action, but really the only reason it's Star Trek is because of Star Trek words.
Right.
Mind you, I want to see, Ricardo, I want to hear what you have to say about Into Darkness after we watched Beyond. After Beyond, I want to. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea.
but
I expect it to be worse, but whatever.
All right, but getting back to
Fast
the
on the
Disney.
Trekkie.
Yeah, too Trek, too furious.
Yeah, let's get back to the Disney thing.
No, right. So Disney, basically, it's J.J. Abrams rebooted the franchise in the best possible way from a money-making standpoint. Again, movies need to make money as fast as they can.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to make it within your first weekend, essentially.
Which it has.
Which it did.
It's broken. It's
Yeah,
actually
it-
broken weekend box office records.
Well,
Yeah.
talking about Star Trek, it did very well, but Force Awakens as well.
Force Awakens.
And the thing is, when I saw Force Awakens and I heard JJ was going to be it, I was like, in my head, I was like, yeah, this is going to be exactly like Star Trek 2009, and that's what it was.
I think.
And I would agree with that too.
I am. Yeah.
I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan, but I more resonate with Star Wars. But like when I watched Force Awakens as well too, I felt the same way. No, it felt really like what the 2009 Star Trek was.
Right.
And I'm familiar with what Ricardo was arguing about with as a diehard fan and how they would look at this new take on the Star Trek lore. And I felt that same way when I watched Force Awakens. Like, yeah, now I understand from how he felt or how other people felt when they saw the new Star Trek movie. 'Cause it feels a lot like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so in a nutshell, Force Awakens starts off 30 years after the events of the last film, which was, the true last film, which was
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, Episode 6. So Luke Skywalker is missing, and there's like this search to look for him, because apparently he's the last Jedi. So, yes, we have this new bad guy. His name is Kylo Ren. I forgot the actor's name. Forgive me. And he has his own plan and all that kind of stuff. He has his new Death Star. It's called the Star Killer, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, the Star.
don't
It's called the
care.
Star Killer.
I know,
And may I just say
the term Starkiller was, I think, the original name for what Luke was supposed
Oh, for what
Yeah,
he gets
yeah,
out,
yeah,
right?
Luke
And may I just
Skywalker.
say how I actually felt. Another thing that rubbed me up the wrong way about this movie, how in Return of the Jedi, the whole point of the Jabba the Hutt sequence is Luke establishing the Jedi have returned. We are now back in control. You can't just get away with anything you want in the galaxy anymore. And immediately this movie opens with Luke having disappeared.
Well, no, okay. Again, they could have made this smarter, because what would have been cool is if Luke said, "All right, all of this Jedi Sith stuff. I don't want any more Jedi or Sith." Like, they could have done that.
No.
Now they keep hinting. Now apparently what they keep hinting at is, well, for whatever reason,
He tried rebuilding the
right,
Order,
and then
and then
Ren went rogue, and basically it was this huge disaster, and he was again.
And Luke
if
retired
we-
because he blamed himself.
Right.
remember
Get all of
that.
that. I would like them to flesh that out a little more. If you get a
Yes.
little memory sequence, something. Not sure.
Yeah.
Because I would really hate if we get a prequel to this and they don't tell, and they tell it in a shitty way.
What would we even call that? A betweenquel?
Yeah, whatever.
A betweenquel? The prequel to the sequel trilogy? Someone made a joke about that in a comic once.
Yeah.
The sequel to the prequel
Well,
trilogy.
yeah.
Anyway,
No, but
guys,
Yes.
Anyway.
getting back to what I was about, right? So,
Yeah.
because we just get sidetracked with EU stuff and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? So
Hey.
so right, so
Grew up
we
on that
introduce
stuff.
the new characters. We have Finn, we have Rey, who is like the lead now. This female scavenger on this desert planet, which
Which is totally
which,
not
which is
Tatooine.
totally not Tatooine, right?
Called Jakku.
Yeah, Jakku. That's the name of it.
Just set it on Tatooine.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Abrams,
don't know why it couldn't
you
be
want to.
Tatooine. Why couldn't it be Tatooine?
You know you want to, Abrams. Just set it there and be honest.
But I'll get to my point of view on that, right? So, all right. So yes, there's information concerning where Luke may be, and it's not delivered. It's actually placed inside the memory bank of a new droid called the BB-8. Very awesome character, by the way, for a robot. Very, very awesome. Stand out.
Wally?
Yeah, don't call it Wally. Don't call it-
He's got
I'll call it Bally then.
Bally. Yeah, I like that name, Bally, right?
Bally.
And fighter. Sorry, another type. He's actually not a resistant. Not a member of the resistance, is he?
Who's that?
Poe.
Poe. No, he has a resistance.
Oh, he has the
Yeah.
resistance, right?
Yeah.
So we have a new character named Poe, very charismatic. You'll love him instantly when you see him.
Yes.
Pay, they
and
don't.
so through some circumstances, Finn meets up with Poe. They escape. They get separated. So now BB-8 is with discovers Rey, and Finn runs into somehow end up running into Rey. Sorry, Finn runs into Rey, and shenanigans take place. The Empire's after them and stuff, and basically it's just them.
They're
really,
the First Order now.
right? The First Order, which is like the last remnants of the Galactic Empire.
The
which
Imperial
was,
Remnant.
Another thing, but that was interesting because now the Republic is against them.
Yeah.
That's unclear. Because I thought that was interesting.
Which is
but
odd.
That is so odd. Like, what happened there?
Exactly,
The Republic
exactly.
and the Resistance, they talk about them like they're separate entities.
Right, but they did
and-
together. But now the Republic against the Empire, the First Order. So
Yeah,
what happened with that? If they do some good fleshing out and a good edit, this felt like a 3-hour movie that lost 45 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
it felt like 45 minutes was cut out of this film because a lot of connective tissue was missing there.
Why call it the Resistance anyway? What are they resisting?
That's what I'm saying.
And may I point out how pathetic it is that Resistance is the name that they use in all the Star Wars knockoffs for the Imperial wannabes,
Right.
and they actually use it in the official Star Wars sequel. All the Star Wars knockoffs use the name Resistance because they can't use Rebellion.
Right.
Because they'd be too much like Star Wars, so they use Resistance and the official sequel does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, anyway.
And you've seen it in the trailers before.
Yeah.
They run into Han Solo and Chewbacca and of course Princess Leia.
Wacky hijinks and
Yeah.
And we introduced some few new characters, some old characters and stuff. So now it's this whole new adventure to stop Kylo Ren and his evil plans, and of course to find where Luke is. So I enjoyed the film for what it was, but for me, I just felt that I understood. Yes, you're starting all over again. You want to pay tribute to the old films, especially Episode 4. But there's just lots of moments it just felt all too familiar and just really blatantly at times. Like, yes, we have a cantina scene now.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a new Death Star now. Yes, we have
New Rebellion.
a new rebellion
There's
now.
nothing to rebel against.
And we have a desert planet now, and we have a new droid now. You know, it's stuff that you've seen before, and it feels all too familiar. Now, Ricardo, what he said about Disney being, I could say maybe Disney had a part to play with it. Maybe it's just because
I think
we wanted to please the fans, so we could move on.
I blame Abrams more than Disney.
No, they wanted to make a safe movie.
Right, a safe movie. That's it, a
important.
safe movie.
A very
Right.
safe
I
movie.
think maybe
So
the
no
combination.
risk,
I,
no risk was taken.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to put risk more on one person than the other. I think it's a combination of Disney wanting to make a safe movie and Abrams wanting to not make the prequels. I think it's a
No,
combination
you're
of
right.
the two.
You're right. It's but that's all part of the calculation.
Yeah.
It's that's what
So
it is.
I'm hoping that because obviously they want to make a new movie every year,
Yeah.
which means they're going to have to
Every
give-
2 years.
Which means
Every year.
Every year.
No, listen. Disney again.
No, forget this every year, right?
here's the
It's that
thing.
new MCU more or
There's
less.
another problem with the Disney machine. They plan to make basically Star Wars every year forever, as long as it will make
For
money.
the foreseeable future, but
No.
in my opinion,
As I suspect that the theory is that there will be Star Wars movies until I die. That is the kind of vision we're looking at.
that's why they're alternating because what we'll have. That's why because next year the one we're getting is Rogue One, which is not related to the main story.
Yeah, but
and
why
then
would
the next year
why would
we're-
you think that's sustainable though? That is totally unsustainable.
The only way they can sustain it is if they allow much more freedom than this movie's hinted they
That
do.
is the problem.
And I'm hoping that maybe as the series goes on, we'll get to see people like David Twohy and Joss Whedon
Right.
and other people like that being allowed to think, okay, we need a Star Wars movie for 2 years from now. You get to work. We
Right.
just here's some money. Get to work.
That is my problem.
If they use that attitude,
they're not doing that.
if they do that, I mean, because they got Abrams, and then for next year they got Ryan Johnson.
Right.
So
Good director.
I mean, I need to see his stuff. I need to see his
Alright.
stuff.
No, he's a good director.
But-
he did
and,
He did
Brick-
Looper. He did
Brick
Brick.
and
Brick,
Looper.
yeah,
Brick
Brickell,
is
right?
the
That
movie.
was his
And
debut
although
film.
I don't know, for 9 they've got the Jurassic World director.
Trevor.
Something.
Terrible.
Something. And I don't
Terrible.
know about that.
Right. Anyway, Matthew.
So
We're all cool here.
what I liked about Star Wars, the movie, getting back to what I was trying to say, guys,
Yeah, go ahead.
Jesus. It was a good throwback to the old films, and I liked that. I appreciated that. I just felt that they could have taken some creative risks with the narrative, with the stories. With the story. Cool, you're bringing certain characters back, but I would say for two certain characters, two favorite characters, I find you would just kind of shoehorn near the end a little too
Yeah.
late and just out of place, in my opinion. at moments it kind of felt like, all right, you're just there just to pander to the old school fans. That's fine. And it's all about all this nostalgia and like, oh, they're here again. It's all beautiful and all that stuff. Cool, but it kind of takes you away from the story a little bit. And well, one thing I do like how it moves at a fast pace. That's Abrams again.
That's a problem for me.
Yeah, but
stop jump too fast.
Yeah.
Well, some was too fast, some was too slow. Like castle scene, the not cantina scene took way too long.
Yeah.
Right, like the first say half hour to 45 minutes.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
Really fun, and then it just kind of stops and lulls, and then it's like, oh, all right, now we pick back up. Yeah, but they were pacing issues. I felt like they really could have been longer. Like, I think they were really trying to aim for that 135-minute mark because you wanted to feel that's like the old film.
And it still ended up being like 2 hours.
Yeah, it was over 2 hours. It was long.
Yeah.
You don't want it to go a little too far, but I guess that
220.
Yeah, if it went a little more, if they had more time, they could have just developed the story a lot more.
It's just a lot of connected to see what's missing.
Yeah, especially character motivations. Just see them develop over the film, especially with Finn and Ray. I mean, they were great.
They were great
actors, great performances.
And I thought, actually, to tell you the truth, I actually liked every of the new actors more than the old actors. Yeah. I like them. I didn't. Carrie Fisher and Harrison.
Can
Ford
I just
they were just there for these kind of cute moments.
Can I say how weird it is that both Harrison Ford's belated installment to iconic franchises are about him as an oldie trying to pass on the torch from an illegitimate child. Well, not illegitimate, but a child.
Yeah, basically.
Both, and we get to see which one he likes better.
Right.
Because we get to see the Han Solo character and the Indiana Jones character, and we get to see which one Harrison Ford actually wants to come back and play again.
Again, there's another. You see Indiana Jones 4. Don't get.
Let me not get into Indiana Jones 4. The villain as well too.
Weak.
He was weak. He was weak. But the thing is, it was kind of interesting. It was kind of
Claude, let the hate flow.
All right, it was kind of interesting, guys.
You will die.
That you saw him as a brat. You saw him as being a little kind of like losing his shit every once in a while. That was interesting.
Yeah,
and just like you're seeing the beginnings of what could or might be another Darth Vader, but at the same time, it's just like, all right, he's just really doing this because somebody else more or less just telling him what to do. But it's kind of like, all right, why are you doing this? Why are you really taking this lead for? Or are you ready for this? Are you responsible for this? Or do you need more time to really understand what you're doing, you know? Mm-hmm. And yes, it was entertaining. Yes, it was fun, a lot of action and stuff. But the story just needed this story just needed a little bit more work. It didn't need to rush so much. I find like with the cameos, especially with, the guys from the raid, totally squandered. And I just like overall, I just find that it was just too much about. All right, let's pay tribute. Let's pay in tribute. Pay tribute. Instead of all right, this is a totally new story. This is the new thing. This is where we could go now. These are the possibilities here.
Enough,
but I do agree. I'll get to your close a bit. I do agree with Ricardo where it felt safe. Like.
Yeah.
All right, let's just do this because we don't want to make the old fans mad, and we don't want to make. We kind of want to make the people who kind of like the new prequels because it was so fast paced and so visually spectacular. And yes, there are lots of spectacular visuals in this one.
Yeah.
So we want to please both fans and stuff, and we just want to kind of apologize for episode 1 and 2. So like, here guys, here you are. This is what all the hype was about, and for me personally.
And
it didn't live up to all of it.
Yeah. And the sad part is it's working.
Yes, because they made a very good, from a money-making standpoint.
Yeah, they made a shit ton of money.
Perfect movie.
The sad point,
and not just
audiences, but critics. Audiences and critics are all
because the thing is, again, the cultural, you have to understand, you have 3 types of cultural capital here. 3 types of capital, I should say. You have your real world capital, money, right? They did that perfectly. Then they have on the surface cultural capital. This is people who are fans of films, but they're not super Star Wars fans in the connective tissue sense. Then you have people like, well, I wouldn't put myself there, but I actually put myself in the general cultural capital sense because I'm not, I will keep saying it, I am not that big of a Star Wars fan. I'm not that interested in the universe.
Which you wouldn't think till hear you talk about it.
No, listen, I'm part of the circle. Like, you have friends and, you watch the material, but compared to, say, like, Dune or Stargate or Mass Effect or something like that.
Stargate's awesome.
Yeah, I love Stargate.
Oh, Stargate's amazing.
I could rattle your head off and I wrote fan fictions. Here's a simple rule of thumb of how I'm not a hardcore fan. I've never written a Star Wars fan fiction. Right? I've spilled a lot of ink on Stargate and Star Trek and Mass Effect, but I've never done that that's how I know that I'm not a Star Wars fan. That's the only rule of thumb.
Okay.
Whatever. Point is, it's in a sense perfect for guys like me, in a sense, where I kind of understand the
But
material.
you don't like it.
No, wait, I didn't say that. I'll say I just thought it wasted a lot of good potential. But it's not like I didn't like it. I liked it. I just didn't love it, and I wanted to love it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Well, we're
Right.
seeing here as well.
We
too.
all did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's the important point.
Yeah, it was
ultimately-
way too high for it. That's
Yeah.
why I kind of went with
I know,
low
I totally,
expectations.
and it's only because of J.J. Abrams and the Star Trek, and I knew, we're going to just get this formula again. And this is what I say, Disney has created the purgatory of mediocrity. It's a purgatory that we cannot escape. We can't go worse. The franchise can't die.
No.
At the same time, it doesn't seem that it could get any better. We're stuck. We're stuck with a certain quality. We're going to...
For me, I think the problem with Force Awakens for me has two problems. Abrams and waste. When I say Abrams, what I mean is Abrams is a big Star Wars fan, which when we first heard it, we thought that was good news.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, actually watching the movie, we learned that him being a big Star Wars fan is a little
But this is the problem with Disney, because again, with the edit, it felt like a 3-hour film that really lost half hour. That's what it felt like. 45 minutes cut out of the film. That's what it felt like.
Okay, maybe there were some serious pacing.
Yeah, there's serious pacing.
For me, it was
problems I had.
but it was going very well until it got up to that fortress place.
Right.
But no, I'm talking. Is anyone else on the internet? And I know there's a minority talking about this, but they're being shut up by the majority of critics and fans who are all yelling how this is awesome. Is anyone else noticing how disturbingly similar the plot beats in this movie are to New Hope?
Yeah,
Yes.
This is
beat for beat, yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
Identical.
Yeah, it's a cantina scene.
Let's just look at this.
Yes,
plot
it does
point.
a scene, yeah.
We start off with a rebel fortress. Sure, it's stationary, not moving, being attacked by the Imperial type bad guys.
Yep.
Right.
The survivor puts critical information in a droid. The droid goes on a desert planet that is totally not Tatooine.
Yeah.
No.
Completely not Tatooine. He gets picked up by a sort of everyman type, hero's journey character,
Right.
who then meets up with a reluctant hero to reunite the critical information with the Empire. There's a masked bad guy running around.
Yeah.
There's a holographic big baddie as well.
Yep.
There's a plot going on to destroy a big planet-destroying device. And by the way, may I just say how pathetic that was?
No, the Star Killer.
Yeah,
the
the Star Killer.
It's-
Okay, cool. It shoots out 5 lasers.
No,
now.
they pasted poorly.
It's
Yeah.
no. It's Death Star squared. Look, they had the Death Star. No, ours is a cooler
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would agree.
Death
They did
Star.
piece it
No.
poor because
Yeah.
I
Because
completely
you-
forgot about. I
In my
didn't
head,
even know it was there.
in my head, I was like, all right, we know because we see the planet killer type
But then
things
it
in the
goes-
expanded universe. Is there a device like that, right?
Oh, it's something similar.
Right,
Something
it's
similar.
something like that. And they kind of it's like, oh well, how does it arm itself? Well, it eats stars. All right.
Okay, which kind of makes sense.
And I was like, okay, cool.
Redirecting star energy as a laser. That's kind
Right,
of
cool.
interesting.
Yeah, then they blast the plasma web.
But and then of course they have to destroy it by making a run on it, and they've got to shoot the exhaust port thing. And I can buy it in the first movie but the whole point of Return of the Jedi was that they had learned. That's why they had to stop before it was finished.
Yeah.
Because they'd worked around that design flaw.
Right.
That's the whole point of Return of the Jedi.
All right, but Claude, let me argue, right? So, in episode 4, remember the plans that they put into the R2 unit was about the Death Star. It was about the foundation of the Death Star, where the weakness was, how to destroy it. In this case, the information is, where is Luke Skywalker?
Right.
Where has he gone to? Oh, he's in this quadrant of the galaxy. Okay, it's not about, this is the Star Killer. This is how you destroy it. And I just find, like, for me, like, I saw glimpses of it, but it didn't register when I saw the first 2 trailers. But then they just sort of brought up, oh, we have this Death Star like machine now that shoots 5 lasers that destroys a planet each. And I'm like,
I don't know. That's just
okay, but isn't that, you just kind of throw it in just like that? And
I
it
know,
didn't
it's-
build up to it.
The Death Star is menacing. The
Right.
Death Star is built up as menacing. This thing, it just feels like we've got a cooler Death Star
Yeah,
that destroys
it's-
multiple
Oh, and
planets.
another,
It's bigger.
and another thing, the Death Star in the first one, it was the beam.
Yeah.
The beam went out. Boom! In less than 10 seconds. This one is
Fire and multiple planets.
1 minute later. No, sorry, 2 minutes later. Boom! Explosion.
It doesn't kill one planet, but it kills 4.
Oh, yay!
It's like a very Mark commercial.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so
so
you have a
Get
2 minute warning to
your-
get out of dodge before
Get
you're
your-
destroyed. You know?
Get your new Death Star. It shoots farther. It shoots multiple targets.
yeah, no, that's the thing. So
That's pathetic.
they
But yeah, go on.
okay, so they beat for beat, you're right. Almost
Oh,
identical.
And even the cantina
there's-
scene, by the way. Yeah.
There's a cantina scene.
Yeah.
There's another beat, but I will get to that in the
Yeah.
spoiler section
Yeah.
of the review because that is a very similar plot beat.
Right. Anyway, no, but this is technically spoiler moments, right?
I was gonna say that, yeah.
we've done it to that domain. So
So we can get into that.
right, so the issue is that we we have to make the big mark. And this is where Disney now starting to see the problem with Disney and what people used to be complaining about all the time, which is Disney is like a steroid. You start off good. Your franchise, if your franchise is dying, it's great for Disney to pick it up and let it flourish. However, when it's time to do something really creative and clever with it, Disney's going to just step in and say, yeah, no, we're not going to take on your creative eccentricities. We have a safe movie to make, and we have toys to sell.
I hope you're not talking about the
And we have an
MCU,
audience
because then we're
to
going to
cater
have a
to.
fight.
No, but that's the thing. That's exactly what happened in the MCU as well.
No.
Yes. There's the two examples I'm going to cite, because that's the one I'm going to cite. I'm going to cite Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron was squandered potential. It could have been much smarter, much better, more engaging story. It was a really janky edit and just unimaginative, in my opinion.
Yeah. And they tried to shoehorn a lot of elements into the film.
No, but for me, Age of Ultron was quite uninspired. That's Age of Ultron could have been so much better, so much deeper, so much darker. Nope. You know why? Because Disney needed to make a safe film, right? The movie made it money, you know. And it wasn't a bad movie by any stretch of imagination, but it was a safe movie. They could have done so much more with it. Here's another example.
Need to sell Hulkbuster toys, by the way.
Here's another example.
Pirates?
No, that was fine for what it is, because I mean, how smart you can get with pirates. That's my thing. How clever you
I
can
like
get.
the pirate sequels, but most people don't. Except
that-
I think the
Yeah,
fourth
because
one
it
is
just got
weak.
way too convoluted for its
No,
own
but again,
good.
well, Pirates.
I love heavy story.
Pirates is a franchise. Again, Pirates is a franchise perfect for guys like me who just not invested in that universe. I just went to enjoy the movie and I enjoyed it.
I love the universe. That's what I love about the pirates. Its own mythos. as well.
Right, but I never cared about the expanded universe and what happened to Jack. It's like just come.
Yeah, but I
watch-
never read that stuff. That's the
Right,
whole lame.
exactly. Yeah, just
But-
come in, you popcorn, shove popcorn in your face, you get out. That's why I like the third film the most, because it's just more action. It's like, whoa, it's a Charybdis. And-
Right.
And
Yeah.
Davy Jones,
Great actor. And
Right, but
Anyway.
what was it right?
But the thing is we now starting to see the glass ceiling of that creativity happen. Another example, Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Right? What happened with that? A lot of nasty behind the scenes shenanigans went down. If Edgar Wright was supposed to make a much different movie. Now, the movie we got is not bad.
yes.
Yeah, but if Edgar was on board, it would have been so much
We would
better.
have gotten a much better movie.
Yeah.
And you could tell.
Okay,
you have these
look,
great...
we got an A, but we could have got an A plus.
No.
No,
we got a B
We got an
plus.
A.
You got a B.
We got a B
Nope.
plus. We got
got
a
a
B plus.
It's not my favorite MCU movie by a long shot.
No.
My favorite is still Guardians, but
No, my personal favorite is Captain America.
and you know what's funny about those? Both of those are some of the more recent entries in the franchise. So it's
Right.
not like Disney's running out of steam with the MCU.
No. But that's the thing with Disney. Here's the thing. Again, if it wasn't for Disney, now we could argue about Iron Man, because Iron Man came out before Disney, took in Marvel. But
They bought it by that point, though.
right. But did Iron Man? No, but Iron Man was already kind of in creation before.
No,
Really?
Iron Man had been in development hell for years.
No,
At
no.
one point there was going to be a Tom Cruise.
But
Tom Cruise was going to
was
produce
it not
it.
starting it? Did it not start before it was?
It started
bought?
before the purchase, but
Okay.
no. But development hell, you can't do that, because development hell they kicked around actors,
No, but
scripts,
but
directors,
pre-production.
producers.
Pre-production.
Not pre-production.
Okay,
Oh no,
okay,
not pre-production.
okay.
Not until Disney got on board.
Okay.
And
All right, well then,
bought
but
Marvel
then-
lock, stock, and
right?
barrel.
So we took in everything, but at the time, because we didn't expect. Remember, every comic book movie up to that point was the best we had for me was Spider-Man.
Which is not saying something. It's not saying
Right,
a lot.
exactly.
Because I mean,
I know, but I like Spider-Man too.
Raimi. I like Raimi, but I've got to tell you, after watching Darkman and Army of Darkness, I look back on Spider-Man and I'm bitterly disappointed.
Right.
Because
I love Spider-Man 2. Really like that.
No.
No, Spider-Man 2 is
I
one of
really
the
like
best
Spider-Man.
superhero
No,
movies
for me,
ever.
No, I really rate Spider-Man 2. I rate Spider-Man
Yeah.
2.
It-
Spider-Man
it-
1,
it-
Spider-Man 1 gets a pass only because of 9/11.
Yeah.
9/11 happened to kind of mess up the film.
Yeah.
They were supposed to do a lot more, but whatever.
But no.
I really like Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2 is way too slow. It's way too long, and it feels like the subplots, instead of being properly fleshed out, it feels like they're taking turns being on screen. Like Dr. Octopus disappears for the whole second act
Yeah, because you had to waste time dealing with him.
because we have to exactly
Yeah.
and again, remember
Which
what
I
about
think-
the whole thing hinging on a romance you don't buy?
No,
No,
kind of.
I don't buy
kind
the
of.
Spider-Man Mary Jane.
No,
romance.
but anyway, I'm a fan of that film. But to me, it's the best up until that point. Iron Man, the first Iron Man was just so. It's the first time you get a sense of wait, this looks like a comic book movie.
Yeah.
And a well fleshed out comic book movie. And the first Iron Man I really like, even though the villain was kind of mediocre and forgettable.
But the actor behind it on the
No,
other hand was great, but the villain was
able to
yeah.
build this in a cave.
But
box of scraps.
In the end, it was kind of silly, but he made a big Iron Man suit, whatever. But the point is that opening, that first 2 acts was next to perfect for me,
Yeah.
as far as a comic book movie is concerned. And they started doing so okay, they did Iron Man, and then Iron Man 2 kind of sucked, but we didn't really care. And then I like the first Captain America movie.
Me too.
Oh yeah. Joe
and then
Johnston's a very mixed director for me.
Stuff was going good, but then you started in your head. I was like, they're gonna have to go up with this But
Avengers.
you're gonna hit a ceiling at some point. Avengers is exactly what it needed to be, right? I love
It's
Avengers.
a culmination.
Exactly, it's exactly what it needed to be. I love that, and it's like, okay, this is where Disney now like perfect in equilibrium with Disney, because you're not gonna get any better than this. That's exactly what happened. What you end up having is a darker film, which again is a kind of a miracle, which is Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which I love.
And
Love that movie as well.
Love it.
And Guardians. Guardians,
Right.
I actually... for me,
it's two
greatest
movies.
MCU movie for me is actually tied between Guardians and Avengers. Because for me, Guardians is a harken back to that age.
Right.
Actually, that era of sci-fi, which spun off of Star Wars, but it was all fun and 80s-ness and fun.
Yeah.
And I just love that stuff. I mean, it feels... For me, I love it both as an MCU film and as just a sci-fi movie. It's the one movie I could watch separately from all the others, just watching by myself.
For me,
whenever I
but for me, it's Winter Soldier first, Avengers second, then Guardians third. That's my
Guardians.
Hey, we're actually on the same boat.
Yeah,
that's my as well. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's my list. But anyway, the point is, you have this kind of good mix between energy and money fed into the material and creative freedom. So you had Winter Soldier and Guardians coming the same year, both were great. And then I was like, something going on. And then you started hearing these little weird rumors, something picking up. You said the little rumors about
Whedon was having trouble with Ultron.
Right, you started hearing little things, and it's like,
Edgar Wright in
what
the
is
studio having a fallback about Ant-Man.
And then when you heard, then I saw on Twitter, and people started to panic. It's like, wait, this guy who's playing Scotty in the current stuff. Sure. What's his name?
Simon Pegg.
Pegg, right. Pegg straight up say, yes, I back my friend Edgar Wright on this, and he just totally turned on Disney on that one. And I was like, oh, we now starting to see the producers getting in the way of the creators.
Although they've given, I think Kevin Feige.
Feige.
I think he's been given complete. I think he's been.
That might be a bad sign. You know? We're not sure going on there. I don't know because
we'll have to see how Doctor Strange turns out.
Yeah. That's the sign. That isn't the big check because Doctor Strange, because you have so much creative freedom that needs to happen to make that good. That is as big as a gamble as Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody was nervous about Guardians, but they knew it was going to be good, so they had faith in it, and it made it work.
There were plenty of people who thought Guardians was going to be a dud.
Yeah, a lot of people. A lot of people was like, whoa, this is going to be a problem.
I mean, personally for me, I thought Avengers worked as a team movie. Because personally, I think Avengers is the best superhero team movie.
Right.
Those X-Men movies do not know how to balance team aspect at all.
Right.
So I thought, okay, how are we going to do a team movie without giving everyone their own movie to flesh them out?
Right.
And Guardians did masterfully.
Right.
Which is why I love it so much.
Yeah. Anyway, but we have the case now where Age of Ultron came and went, and I was like, everything about it felt and smelled like corporate muddling. Corporation, somebody just getting the situation, say, look, we're not going to make this movie need to be a lot less this, and you see this horrible chopped up edit, a mess of a movie in my opinion.
To be fair, Whedon did fight them tooth and nail all the way.
Doesn't matter, but that's not the point. That's what I'm trying to say.
That cabin sequence, the whole cabin scene that fleshes out Hawkman's character, gives the movie a chance to breathe.
Great.
Disney wanted to cut it out.
Yeah.
Disney said that scene needs to go. It slows the movie down.
No,
Whedon
but that's the whole point. The point is that Disney actually have to fight people for this. And it's like, what is happening? Let the creators do what they have to do, please.
Exactly. Trust them with the source material.
Thank you.
Which seems to be what DC's planning on doing. I know that's a problem.
Don't get him started, please.
But it kind of looks like what they're saying they're doing. You know, allowing slightly more director-driven movies. Like Suicide Squad was David Ayer's passion project.
Right.
He approached the Warner Brothers executives, who were buddies. Apparently, he's in good with the Warner Brothers guys, and he approached them and said, "I've got this idea for a Suicide Squad movie." You know, and they said, "Well, okay, fine, we'll let you do it. You do it. You make it your way." And the movie to me looks like it's going to be pretty good, in my opinion.
I know, but again, so yeah, the thing is, they have no freedom though. So Age of Ultron, he had to fight tooth and nail for this. That was nonsense. Couldn't get the edit right, and you see it. The movie had so many. No, listen. Here's the thing. I knew, even watching it, I get the sense that even if Whedon got a lot of his freedom and got what he wanted to do, I still would have probably disagreed with what the choices were. But I could have seen it fleshed out very well. You saw a good movie there. But I can't in good... I liked it too. I had fun with it. But in good conscience, I couldn't say it could have been so much better. For me, Age of Ultron was the B student, the B minus student. The A student coming home with the B minus. That's what it was.
For me, I don't know. The MCU for me is because I always think of it in terms of legacy. Because the MCU has set a whole new standard for how superhero movies are made. Look, think of the Ang Lee Hulk. Right. Imagine waiting all these years for the Ang Lee Hulk and then comparing it to Incredible Hulk. Incredible Hulk is a fun movie.
It wasn't the best MCU, but it was serviceable.
For me, it was forgettable. My only issue with that film was just how forgettable everything was.
And I feel that I also think the reason the comic book movies are getting better is because there's a move away from these more auteur directors who don't actually... Bryan Singer only did X-Men. because he was interested in the racism aspect. He thought it was all
Well, it
goofy
was
comic book
the
stuff.
homophobia actually.
Yeah, that's what he was interested in.
Yeah.
That's all he was interested in.
Yeah.
Because he said in an interview, not an interview, it was one of the things, they approached him several times and he wasn't particularly interested.
Yeah.
And then he finally said, maybe there's this whole racism / homophobia thing.
Right.
Maybe I could go into this.
Right.
And then the same thing, Ang Lee for Hulk, same business.
Yeah.
And sure, we kind of had a little bit of that with Kenneth Branagh doing Thor, and I think
Right.
Thor's great.
Good choice, yeah.
But I think we're getting more kind of the fanboy filmmaking. Which
right.
which, as if you've watched a lot of fanboy-made films, is a blessing and a curse.
Right, no, but here's it. Right, so
'Cause the Ant-Man movie
I
got
fully
us.
agree with you, with the exception of the two choices that was Age of Ultron and Ant-Man, which is Joss Whedon and Edgar Wright. Those two people, I fully trust with the material. They, in my opinion, at this point, and look, fanboy talking now, they kind of can't do no wrong. Next, once you give them proper creative freedom and time, you're going to get a brilliant product. Not even a good product, a great product every time, right? It's good flow, good timing, meticulous editing, and Disney just started to hold back the material, and that is exactly how this Force Awakens film felt.
Yeah,
which is a lot of great ideas here, a lot of great shots, a lot of great material. Listen.
On a technical level, this is an amazing movie. It's well shot. Well
Listen,
scored,
that whole sequence where
that's
right after the crawl. Right after the crawl, and you saw they tilt down to Jakku.
Yeah.
And then you saw the Imperial ship just cover Jakku completely in black.
Yeah, that was a fantastic.
Okay, good start. Damn good start. They had so many great ideas. Captain Phasma, she didn't do anything.
We're getting to my other problem with the movie.
Yeah.
Waste,
yeah. Characters were there and then they would show up every once in a while and then go.
The guys from Raid.
From the Raid, yeah.
Club.
Yeah.
Okay.
The dudes from the Raid Redemption films. Love those two movies.
And may I just say, as a fan of the Star Wars dueling, when those Star Wars fans heard that we were getting martial arts experts in Star Wars, we thought, brilliant.
Yeah.
The prequels set a standard for how
that's what I was
happen.
expecting, yeah.
And so now they're going to try and break that standard. We're going to see we are going to see Star Wars with the best, kind of and like slightly more modern martial arts too. Because it's not just all the chain stuff; it's all this Indonesian stuff with the elbows and the hardness.
Yeah,
but we get these characters playing like bounty hunters or something. So trying to hunt Han Solo.
Because just before the movie came out, someone involved in making the reference book actually leaked a photo of him taking a picture of them as Kenji clips. So they weren't going to be, and I heard they weren't going to be Jedi. So I thought, okay, well maybe bounty hunters, but okay, maybe they'll be cool. No,
nothing.
Not even
but
that.
Give them something to do instead
because
of
at least
talking.
What I would have done with it is that I would have them be part of Captain Phasma crew. If they're not Jedi or Knights of Ren or anything like that, have them be part of
or Kylo Ren's entourage,
right?
Because he's not the Knights of Ren. We don't see any of them except Kylo.
I thought we would have seen either Knights of Ren, but you could have them be part of Captain Phasma's crew, where
an elite squadron.
But their purpose is to take on Jedi. Even though they never meet Jedi ever, they're being trained as if they don't have Force sensitivity, but they're being trained to take down Jedi.
May I just say?
And they only had one sequence kind of like that with this one stormtrooper, hey traitor, and he just pull out a thing and
he
then
pulls out the
that was a cool weapon, by the way. But I thought
if that had been done by one of the Raid guys,
thank you.
God,
that is what we should have gotten. If anybody watched Raid films, both Raid films.
I mean, I haven't seen them, but I as a martial arts fact, I have seen.
But you need to see.
I need to see them. They're on my first page of my watch list.
Definitely.
But I've seen a lot of videos of them.
Yeah, the first and second film, they took everything I love about martial arts, which is that fast. You have to think on your feet, kind of just high flow of action almost a live action stream of consciousness going on in reality where just stuff just happening but it's like, wait, it's actually happening though. These characters just thinking so fast on their feet. It's Jackie Chan. That why I love Jackie Chan films.
The other cool thing about this is we're also getting to see a brand of martial arts we haven't seen before.
Right.
Because what was it? Indonesia?
Yeah, it's Indonesia. Muay Thai.
No, it's not Muay Thai. Muay Thai is
it's Tony Jaa.
It's Tony Jaa, and when comes back. That was what Tony Jaa did.
One martial arts style I did.
This isn't.
It's not Miranda. It's MERAN something. I think it's Miranda.
And the annoying thing is that Furious 7 came out earlier this year with
one
of these Indonesian guys. Yes. Tony Jaa was awesome in that movie.
I
mean, it's a glorified cameo, but it was an awesome glorified cameo.
Alright, guys.
So we get three of these people in here.
Guys, we making a big misassumption there. Tony Jaa is Thai, so Muay Thai is Thai, but those guys in Kanji Club, those are Indonesians, but I can't remember the name of the style.
Kanji Club is a stupid name. Kanji Club.
No, dude, even when you mentioned Kanji Club, I was just like,
oh, the green
what? This anime or something? And then you mentioned this green. Like,
exactly.
Okay.
Someone I saw in an article about the fact they're called Kanji Club. Someone in the comments was a dance group or something with Kanji Club.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars has come up with really cool names for syndicates and organizations before. The Mandalorians, the Black Sun, who are all non-canon now. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe if it'd been a cool way to bring the Black Sun into the new movies, like with have these guys show up, or even Mandalorians. Imagine if they'd been Mandalorians.
Yeah, they could have done so much with this. And all you have to do is just give them some awesome weapons. Or I remember Grievous had these little side dudes who had these little
the manga guards.
Oh yeah,
right,
staff things.
Right,
yeah, that was cool.
Give them something to do. Dude, look, even.
They just did 2 shots where they just jump over a thing, and then one other guy jump over a thing.
And they got killed by any weirdest way possible. But I'll say this much though.
Yeah.
Even Tony Jaa, who was in Furious 7, which is still my guilty pleasure movie of the year. Dumb as it was still fun.
Another movie.
Even he got things to do. He fought. He fought Paul Walker twice, but
I mean, it would have been cooler.
It was badass.
But Vin Diesel was too busy fighting Jason Statham. So
Jason Statham was wasted.
No. He was less wasted than the right
these guys.
But the point is,
and then Phasma herself, Gwendoline Christie, love her from Game of Thrones. She also
great character.
But she in this, she just did one thing. Chewie punched her once. She got captured. She had to put in something to do something.
And then we don't see her again after.
No, all you have to do.
Simon Pegg is also in this movie.
Right, yeah, I remember.
He's the alien who runs the Jakku thing.
Yeah, I know. They had to
Daniel
do.
Craig is in this movie too.
Is that verified as a stormtrooper?
Yeah.
Is that verified?
No, it has been. He himself has confirmed it. In the scene where she used her force powers on that one stormtrooper.
Oh, that was him.
Daniel Craig.
Okay. I knew they had to do. I knew everybody's going back and forth about whether or not it's true. I don't know. Too clear. Okay.
Oh, and all right. Well, as you brought up that, another thing that really threw me off with the Star Trek movie in 2009 with the cameos. So yes, I knew Simon Pegg was involved in this one. I didn't know Daniel Craig was, but that reminded me of when we got what's his face, Tyler Perry out of the blue in Star Trek.
I didn't actually mind that. I didn't care about it.
So J.J. Abrams and cameos clearly.
Right, and they had a couple people. They had 2 people from Lost in it.
I think somewhere.
I know there's Ken Jeong. I forgot what show he's from.
No.
Warwick Davis is somewhere in the background in a scene.
No, I know the two little captain guys were in the Rebel group.
Right.
Those 2 guys from Lost. The Asian guy, I forget his name.
Ken Jeong, right? But I just can't remember.
Ken Jeong was his name? No, Ken Jeong is from.
Not Ken Jeong.
Ken Jeong is from Community, not that guy. He's an idiot. Although he's funny.
I just can't remember.
It's the Asian guy from Lost. He's a guy, a cool side character in Lost, and he was in that. And then they had another guy who was a pilot in Lost, and he was in Heroes as well.
Okay.
So they had the little cameos. But her character should have been the opposite of Poe Dameron. You see how Poe Dameron was this badass pilot? She should have been a badass pilot as well.
And by the way, may I just
give her something to do?
Poe Dameron, Oscar Isaac's character, I loved him. Every second he's on screen, I adored him. I want to see him.
Yeah, he's just so charismatic and so badass.
Basically, now I want to see Oscar Isaacs in his own sci-fi movie. Basically, now I want to see him in no. Check that. I want to see him in. I want to see. I haven't seen that yet. I want to see him in the Carson. Maybe I want to see a film adaptation of the Carson Napier books of Edgar Rice Burroughs, Pirates of Venus, cool stuff. Yeah, I want to see him in those as a hero. I want to see him as a hero now because even the bits in this movie where he's there are cool. Yeah, not to say that Rey and Finn aren't good characters.
Yes, they are.
Lawrence Kasdan returns with the script. Although to be fair, this movie has had a very weird script writing process.
Yeah.
Whereas with the originals, Lucas had a rough idea. He handed it to Kasdan. In this movie, the guy who wrote Toy Story 3 wrote the first draft.
Right.
And then Abrams and Kasdan were then given that script and they rewrote it. And you can see Kasdan. I mean, I watched Body Heat in the lead up to this review. So
great movie, by the way.
I love that movie. Just so I could get a sense of how much of the Star Wars dialogue was Kasdan, and now I can believe it's everything because he's such a great writer. His scripts, I mean, not quite Shane Black. For me, Shane Black is almost the definitive modern writer in Hollywood, in my opinion. But I don't know. Kasdan's scripts crackle. They're electrified. They're so good. And this movie has got a lot of good, back and forth dialogue, and it's got a little bit of that crackle, but not enough. And there's so
chop down Disney at it.
Yeah,
and it's so many bits of dialogue where it looks like Abrams himself. I mean, I don't object to Abrams.
Chop down Disney.
Mission Impossible 3, decent movie.
Yeah.
It was.
It's a bit
It was
shaky
No,
for my liking.
okay, so I kind of
It's
put, in terms of rank, I kind of put Abrams somewhere in between Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan.
Whoa.
That's where I kind of put him. Which is
Well, two big league directors
he's
right
not,
there.
He's not. No, but Zack Snyder is kind of the dumbest at the end. Shit does look, no, stuff does look good, but it's pretty stupid stuff. Abrams
Except for Watchmen.
Sucker Punch. Oh no, except
Yes,
Watchmen.
Sucker Punch
yes.
is balls.
Watchmen was brilliant.
Watchmen was just on the
Yeah.
edge.
And may I say, 10 times better than Star Trek. And it both came out in 2009.
Yes.
Argue with me about it, I don't care. I love Watchmen.
Watchmen was
Abrams
fantastic.
give it just the edge, just on the edge of material in terms of intelligence, and then Nolan is always give you a material above, what you should. Like
Yeah,
Inception.
he always goes really philosophical and stuff.
Interstellar, right? Interstellar was a mess, but it could have been good.
I love Interstellar.
If he got a bit, you should have
I
more.
need to crash watch Nolan. I need to at some point. I mean, I haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
Inception.
Originally, nothing of it. I'm going to watch Inception first and then eventually get to the
No,
stuff, but-
start off with
Alright, so it's first
with
movies-
Batman Begins, then
Nah,
Dark Knight,
nah,
then
nah, nah,
Inception.
no,
You have to
no,
do the
no.
Hollywood stuff.
Start with
Serious group, man.
Start with
No.
okay.
No,
you don't-
I'm
Okay. I'll argue. Start with Memento.
Yeah, you don't need to start with Doodlebug or anything like that. Just start with Memento.
Memento.
No,
That'll be fun.
I'm used to auteur movies anyway. I've
Good.
seen, I crash watched Del Toro and Cronenberg
Good.
and Carpenter, so
No.
I can start with Inception.
Right, no.
Right.
I recommend you start with Memento, boy.
Oh well, but anyway. So,
Anyway, but the point is that he's a person that he could be intelligent if he didn't have this big machine holding him back, right?
I don't know if I blame Disney all the way though.
No, we'll find out. No, but here's the thing. It's difficult to tell. But you get the sense that intelligent stuff could come from him, right? What I like from him. That I
Super
think
8?
No.
Mission
Sorry.
Impossible
Super 8
3?
was forgettable for me. It was
No,
way
the
hyper.
problem with Super 8 is that because he's trying to ape Spielberg so much, it doesn't work.
For me, I kind of like.
I'll go back to something like Alias, right? TV show.
I haven't seen any of his TV stuff.
Okay, old stuff.
I've seen all his movies.
I kind of like Felicity, even though it's not sci-fi. It's a, Kerry Russell show. It was kind of fun. The early season of Lost, when Lost was kind of good and people liked it.
When it was interesting and it wasn't
although it
convoluted.
Right. Abrams, you get the feeling. No, he wrote a book called. There's a fantastic book he co-wrote. I forget the other author. But he wrote a fantastic book called S, where it's about two guys. So in the book, it's two guys reading about a book, and they're sharing the book back and forth and talking about the book, and it's a mystery you have to solve. So you're reading the book, and then you're reading their notes about the book.
Yeah.
And
That is
it's quite clever actually.
Yeah,
It's quite clever actually. I totally recommend it. It's actually so.
That's for swag though. That's
you know, there's some good material coming from him, and he's a really smart guy in that way. However, you get the sense that he just catering to the lowest common denominator. Again, I call him the master of the mediocre because he can do that very well, and then level that to a point where everyone can enjoy it, including a guy like me. Mm-hmm. Wasted film, too much. So I'll say, even though I really liked it, Star Wars TFA does not stand for that was fucking awesome. But it's a film I liked, and it had a little too much fan service. I had some pacing problems, and the end of it.
Yes, the end.
And he's a person who. As a film, I'll say it
looks nice.
It does, but it does enough to start to reboot the franchise. It's fine.
For me, I was kind of expecting. I mean, I was disappointed. I mean, I don't hate the movie, but I'm afraid I like Revenge of the Sith a little better.
Okay.
I like Revenge of the Sith better. For me, the movie was disappointing because I came in hearing all the good buzz. There were a lot of people. I mean, I heard Abrams was in charge. And his response to the fans is actually quite good because there was a very early video where a bunch of fans said, "Dear J.J. Abrams, how you can make Star Wars good?" And they created the little video, and he responded to it. And he pretty much not only watched the video but responded saying, "Oh, I agree." And here's and said he would try and incorporate the suggestions. But I think the problem is he went too far in trying to recreate the original.
Right,
Like,
that is a little too much of the problem. Right, a little too much fan service.
Right.
Way too much.
It's
It's that fanboy filmmaking being either a blessing or a curse.
No, yeah, it really felt like
James Gunn.
but you're right. It's not being flippant by saying that this is like a really great Star Wars fan movie. That's not flippant. It's not an insult so much. Yeah, but it's not you saying that to insult the film as well.
It's kind of a compliment, more or less.
In a sense. And for me, the pacing, even though
I mean, as we've kind of learned in recent years, fanboy filmmaking it's very mixed.
Because on the one hand, if you're a big fan of something like Captain, I mean, I think the guy who made Ant-Man, the guy who they got to replace Edgar Wright, is actually a big fan of Ant-Man, and he's apparently almost every second he's on set, he's almost overjoyed he's working on an Ant-Man movie, and they're bringing him back to do the next one, Ant-Man and Wasp, which will be coming out in a few years, and so that's one thing. And then you got the John Carter guy, who's so in love with the material he's kind of blind to reality a little bit, and this movie, I think Abrams. Him and the fans, and the fact that Disney's not going to encourage him. If he says I want to make the movie like the originals, they're going to say, "Oh, okay, sure, make it more like the originals. I don't mind."
Right.
That is the problem. I think, because it's way too similar. Not just plot beats.
Too much fan service. No, but it had too much like passing on the torch moments, and you could tell it was just these lingering shots. Okay, we get it. Han Solo passing on the thing. R2-D2 passing it on to BB-8. Okay, we get it.
Right.
Like, it was a little too much of that. Too much fan service. And sequel baiting. I'm sorry. This was a sequel baitish movie. I did not like that.
It's not like there's even a question whether there's going to be a next one.
No, we knew that, but you're supposed to still make a solid film on its own, and it didn't feel like that.
Yeah, no.
It felt like, oh, well, it's about Luke, and then when we find Luke, your movie, that's part 2. And I was like, yeah, make a full movie.
May I just say I like the look of Mark Hamill in this movie?
Yeah, look awesome.
His looks cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like the look.
He has that sort of old, wise sort of.
And then the big twist part again. Super spoiler moment.
Super.
It doesn't matter. We just give a clue. It doesn't matter who shot first.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Who stabbed first? No, you're right about that. So the big thing is the death of Han Solo.
Which is completely not like the death of Obi-Wan in the original New Hope, the old mentor character who gets killed off. I thought they did that it was pretty predictable. Yes.
I didn't know it, yet. I didn't know it was going to happen. I knew.
But when the scene actually starts out, I mean, it starts out great, and he shouts, "Bah!"
Right.
And it starts out, and then as it starts to get more, I said, "Oh dear, this is happening."
Yeah.
Well.
This is happening.
And you know they did it perfectly. Where you see the Starkiller destroys the star, so the sun goes black, so everything goes black and everything becomes red.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, okay, you're going
to do this. Well, I'll say this much too. One of my friends who went with us, we all went to see this movie. Thursday night in IMAX. Well, the Thursday before this recording, the time of this recording, and he sort of sent me this text and he told me that he read online this little spoiler that someone doesn't make it. That he just said he or she doesn't make it.
Okay.
I said, okay, that's all I need. Don't tell me anything else. Please don't tell me anything else. I'll see for
myself. I heard
myself.
there was a rumor that someone died. I mean, I didn't know.
I knew I had to know. No, again, it wasn't even. This is our part, and this is how predictable and safe this movie was because, as I said, it's so much like a New Hope.
Yeah.
And my attitude was, they're gonna just repeat this beat for beat, just like how Star Trek 2009 was. My attitude was, somebody's gonna die in this movie.
Yeah.
I knew who it was gonna be, and I was like, in my head, it only had to be one person. I was like, they could only kill one person in this.
Right, but the thing is though, is because they hinted at the fact that this new villain, Kylo Ren, is actually Han and Leia's son. It's like, and you saw how they repeated stuff. That's it.
Yeah, I was like, because that is something I knew since I was a kid. I was like, I knew they have twins and
they have to one of them go to the dark side. Yeah, that's right out of the EU. So the EU is not canon, but we're going to pirate from it.
Yep.
We're going to get all the best elements of the EU, but it's not canon anymore. I don't like that.
Yeah.
That comes off as wrong to me.
A little underhanded,
but the thing is, with the scene itself, like when I saw it, how it was set up, it was predictable. You knew it was gonna happen. But I was like, okay, should it happen? Could it? I mean, what if it doesn't happen and then nope.
And another thing is that they didn't do the best misdirection. So they spend a lot of time making it out as if Finn is this the hero. Right, he's the force sensitive hero because he all of a sudden gets his conscience while the really dark thing in the beginning happened.
All the excuses that this is his first time on the field.
I still think they should make him somewhat force sensitive. Sorry, because two things. One, they had him be guilty and having all this conscience stuff. Two, Kylo Ren was looking at him and saying, it's that, isn't it that stormtrooper FN blah blah blah. So he knew,
Three, he holds his own against another
That is another thing. That is another thing.
It is established.
Yeah, he held his own. He held his own against Ren for a while.
Non-Force users can use lightsabers. Grievous can. But the point is, they can't hold that well. The only reason Grievous is able to hold his own and not be force sensitive is the fact he's been upgraded by Dooku, basically.
And he's still like Grievous. Grievous is a good character and he's badass and whatnot. But he still suck ass compared to a real Jedi Master. You ever see him like in Clone Wars?
The series. It's fantastic.
The Tartakovsky Clone Wars. There's a scene where he's training with Tyrannus and he getting washed Like Tyrannus just calmly.
But no, the fact that Finn is able to hold his own against this guy is actually
good. That's why I thought he had a little bit of force sensitivity in him.
And okay, may I just say something?
I will hate if they don't have him as force sensitive. Now then they bring in the main character, Daisy Ridley's character.
Who's I like?
I like her character.
Yeah.
Great character.
She's great.
She's nice. She
like
have
her.
a dong home.
She's a little bit perky, but she's also a bit seasoned and
which is
great.
Exactly. And then they keep mentioning now. What they keep mentioning is who's her kid. Now
Sure.
I thought the way they put it is it's also Leia's and
Han's.
Han's child, but it's not mentioned. So what?
So we don't know.
So we don't know. But so what? It's Luke's child.
My sister's convinced of that.
Which would be stupid, and I was like, well, so who's Luke's mother? Who's the mother then?
Well, Mara Jade. Oops, not canon anymore.
Yeah.
And okay, and may I
But that's one question that they kind of leave hovering at the very last shot of the
obviously
Here's
movie.
what I think.
they want you to come back for the next one.
All right. No, the thing with it is that I would really like Finn to be force sensitive, but I don't know who will train him. So he should be force sensitive, kind of, but never getting training as a Jedi. I would like Leia.
Maybe. Okay.
You saw Leia.
And I'm annoyed by the
Like
whole
Leia?
Leia business.
Right.
They hinted at the end of the last one, dude. I have it, my sister has. Even the trailer, and
Right.
don't tell me they ignored it completely. Even
Right.
in the trailers, they had my sister has it stuff,
Right.
and she's not a Jedi. Not
Right.
even an adult. Not even a bit of dialogue saying she tried it but
Right.
just couldn't connect with her.
No.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
Just rubbish.
But I would like he held his own a little bit. He gets beaten. He was a good character. I thought he was funny. I'll say ultimately this film has some good.
yeah,
a lot of-
I don't hate it.
A lot of meh,
It's better than Phantom
but
Menace. and
no
Attack of
bad.
Titans.
There is no bad in this movie. You know.
It's better than.
There's no
it's
bad in this movie. There's a lot of wasted, but that's not
Yeah,
bad.
but that's
I'm
terrible stuff.
talking about.
But the
I'm talking
problem
about
is,
things that is not in the
it
film.
feels stale, unfortunately.
Right,
It feels like
and-
there's a lot of what isn't
Too much retreading,
retreading
yeah.
what isn't retreading New Hope
Yeah.
is wasted.
Yeah.
And I have another. This is a bit of a fan thing, a bit of a fan problem I have, but I hate the way Force powers work in this movie.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of announced beforehand that J.J. Abrams was going to be more inspired by the Rain Child from Looper, which I haven't seen, by the way. I need to see that movie, Looper.
Okay.
Especially since
Yeah.
Rian Johnson is being
Right,
he's actually
sure.
directing 8.
Right.
So I'm interested.
Looper
But
is I don't care for Looper. I'll tell you why. But when you go see it, you'll talk about it.
don't like the way Force powers work in this movie, but especially since especially since with all the rumors about the raid guys, I thought they were going to do something cool. But no, the way Jedi and Force people work in this movie, I don't like at all. Because I mean, especially since obviously this is again Abrams catering to the fans, not responding but catering, because they all said, oh, the prequels are too staged. So this time we're gonna have duels, but they're gonna have them sweat, and we're gonna see them grit more.
There's a little problem.
Yeah.
No, we established that good Force users
But that's the thing.
make
Okay,
it look
so
effortless.
here's the
which is
thing. So
annoying.
I do defend like everybody saying, well, neither Finn nor Rey should have held their own at all against Ren, because they established early Ren as this super badass. He stopped a damn phase blast in the middle of the air.
Yeah.
Just pretty awesome.
Although,
Right. But you have to have some way for
but
the
on the
heroes to
other
rise
hand-
back,
Right,
right?
so what they did was they spent the entire film establishing how powerful Chewie's blast is. The entire film.
Right.
You see Chewie's blaster hit someone and the person pitch away.
I think it's like the first time you ever saw it in any of the movies.
Right.
Like you never saw him.
They had
his
Han
blaster really do
Solo.
that.
They had Han Solo borrowed for a second. Hey, let me borrow this, and he fired it, and they blew up 2 guys.
And he was-
This is powerful.
Yeah.
And then they see him shoot another person. Boom! Look how powerful. And then Chewie hits Ren in the gut with this slam weapon. So you could understand Ren being genuinely injured,
Right.
and him bleeding out and really struggling against.
and
the
he's
two.
limping. And
Yeah, he's really damaged. So I kind of get that.
And the movie, I disagree with you that the movie tries to set up Ren as being a badass, because the movie has him that he's not very good.
No, they
He's got-
started him with him badass. It's him trying to set up himself as a badass towards other people. So
And
most
that's
people,
the problem. And
right?
that's,
Most
that's
people,
not a problem. I think it's almost interesting.
Oh, another
he's
person-
this Vader. He's literally a Vader wannabe.
oh, Vader wanna be fanboy, and what they did with it is him.
A bit like what's his name from The Incredibles? The villain from
Syndrome.
The Incredibles, Syndrome.
Yeah.
A little bit like that.
Right. No, but the point is that he has temper tantrums.
Yeah.
I thought they wasted this actor, Domhnall Gleeson.
Have you seen him in something else better?
Yeah, Ex Machina.
Please recommend me.
Ex
something.
Machina.
Okay, fine. I'll
Ex
watch
Machina.
that because I did not. Because
Ex
I
Machina.
would not think he's a good actor from watching this movie.
Exactly. It's terrible.
Listen, the guy who played who?
He played the kind of Grand Moff Tarkin ripoff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forget the character's name. Oh crap.
Lord. This movie.
it's a-
May I
it's
say
a
something
wrong.
else? No good villains.
Well, it was
Sorry, I don't have any good. Snokes, Andy Serkis,
Wasted.
wasted. Captain
Wasted,
Phantasm, wasted.
Wasted.
Kylo Ren, I don't give.
Yeah.
The Grand Moff Tarkin guy,
Yeah,
is the
rip-off.
whole thing needed. No, I don't
Yeah.
care. There's no good villains
Yeah.
in this movie.
It was weak. Yeah.
There was no memorable villains, I would say. They
Even
didn't
the
really have that
prequels-
presence,
Well,
really.
Think of it this way, people. Let's look at the tradition of Star Wars villains. We got the Emperor, we
Yeah,
got
the
Vader,
prequel-
we
the
got
prequels are
Darth
more.
Maul, we got
Yeah.
General Grievous, we got Count Dooku, and then
Yeah.
we got Kylo Ren. But just
No, right. So with Ren,
Well, Kylo Ren has a cool name.
right,
so
the whole
whatever.
point of Ren was he's supposed to be this kind of brat, and he's supposed to he has a lot of potential, but he's still on the light side. He's a very conflicted character. That works. That works.
a
I
little
think
bit.
it works
I
somewhat.
think it could.
It works for this film, as in
A
we
little
don't
bit.
know what's going to happen to him yet. No, but they say he's kind of like halfway Luke when in the end of Empire, which is he going to fight, he's not ready, and something goes wrong, and he's even though he's like the only Jedi on the block kind of thing, he still kind of gets his ass handed to him.
Yeah,
And things go bad because of of his code. From their standpoint, is his weakness to the light side.
Right,
Right.
and
Right?
you can argue as well
He
too.
killed his dad.
Right, you can argue as well too that yes, this is 30 years after the last Star Wars movie, so
Nobody-
you're not gonna get some
Everything
new
is a legend.
Darth Vader just out of the blue.
Yeah.
If this Kylo Ren is going to be the new Darth Vader,
but
you have
even-
to see
even-
him
but
become
even-
and
I'm
evolve.
sorry.
No, but even the First
Darth
Order-
Maul was so awesome. Just
No, but
right
even
off
the First
bat.
Order. No, but even the First Order.
Are lame.
Right, even the First Order is a wannabe empire.
Which
That's a good point.
I thought that was interesting.
Right.
If the movie didn't keep trying to present them as viable villains.
Thank you. That was the biggest problem. One of the
That's
biggest
my
problems.
problem.
One of the big problems is that the First Order was a little too established. If they were a lot more gritty and down home instead
Exactly,
of like big, they built a whole big planet base. Like where they get all that time to do?
Yeah.
And that's a problem with.
For me, I would have liked this movie. Basically, the First Order are the last of the Empire. But I want to
Right.
see in this movie get destroyed. And
That-
then
right.
Kylo Ren and
Yes.
his master retreat
This-
to rebuild.
Thank you.
While
That
they
is
go
what
off
it's
meet
supposed to-
Luke. But no, the First Order is viable villains, especially since Abrams, because Abrams cites influence on Nazi Germany, and
Right.
of course it's less subtle. Because the first movie they were inspired by Nazi Germany,
Right.
the original trilogy. But no, in this movie
Yeah,
it's
but-
even
but,
less
yeah.
subtle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Like in the
annoying.
original, the first film, Episode 4,
They're called
you really
stormtroopers.
got the stormtrooper Nazi comparison just by the way they marched in order.
Yeah.
Right.
Lockstep.
But this one is more like, all right, we have to have this grand epic speech. We have to have the red
Heil
like
the
flags and
Sith.
stuff behind them. We have to have them turn in time
Lockstep,
and goose step and all that kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
like yes, Nazi,
It's
we
just-
get it, we get it,
We
we
get
it.
it,
Come on.
Abrams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what subtlety means.
Yeah,
Move
that's a
on.
problem.
Yeah.
Now, ultimately, again, because
Not
this,
that I hate Abrams.
this film,
Don't get me wrong to think that I think Abrams is the next.
no,
one.
No.
the thing is, this film had to be the way it was. Unfortunately, much like the Star Trek film, it had to be designed in such a way to get everybody.
So your theory is that the next one's going to be.
I hope it's. I hope. Here's what I hope.
When we say next one, we're talking Rogue One. Or
No. We're talking
8?
about the episode 8.
Okay.
Here's my issue. I really don't want it to be the Into Darkness. Where here's what Into Darkness did. Into Darkness went and just ripped off Rata-Khan in the laziest, worst way.
I think this movie ripped off its source material lazier
Right.
than Into Darkness did.
Right, but here's the problem. If not, this movie gets away because it has to reboot the franchise. You give it a
I don't think
pass.
for me it doesn't.
I give it a pass. I give it a pass.
I give it. I think it's watchable. It's perfectly watchable. I could.
Right,
buy
but
I
it.
think for what it is,
But
I
but
honestly
it's
think it's
designed.
very
But it's
good
designed.
movie.
It's designed as a film. Has to be in terms of a money-making standpoint. It had to be like this.
right.
If they decide to go and make over Empire, that's
Unacceptable.
unacceptable. That would be unacceptable.
That will be-
that would be a total disaster.
Because
and
it's the thing
with the franchise, you have such room to explore. You have
and
such
so much, and they didn't do that.
you can explore. I mean,
Like in the-
you have. I mean, I'm not saying we don't need to just retread the original series. We've got a lot of. I mean, sure, you're not going to use some of the EU stuff. Maybe copyright, you can't use it,
No.
but you can use some of the stuff. You can
No,
explore.
and they own all of it.
Right.
There's
Don't they own all of it?
I don't know if they.
Like you
I
could
don't,
just-
I don't know what they own, what they don't,
Okay.
and what's tied up with what authors or what
Right.
publishing. They can't really. Disney wants to release the original trilogy unedited on DVD.
Right.
Unfortunately, they because they know that fans want that, and they know that fans are not happy with the Lucas edits. However, the problem is that the rights are, I think, still with Fox or something like that. So
that's
Fox
the- again,
and Fox
right.
won't let
Right.
them
So you
do
see
it.
all these little shenanigans in law and whatnot. I don't know. I'm gonna give my rating. My rating is
Yeah, give the rating.
My rating is a movie town, which is roughly a 7 out of 10.
So not an IMAX.
Not an
And
IMAX.
I would agree.
Right.
Not an IMAX.
Right.
Not
And
an
here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. This is the nightmare scenario. The nightmare scenario is that we're gonna get movies like this forever.
I
It's just
hope
gonna be
not.
7 out of 10s all the time. Mediocrity.
For me-
mediocrity.
Oh, man.
mediocrity. That is purgatory. I'm sorry. We're trapped.
Yeah.
We are trapped.
I honestly think so.
What's your rating?
My rating is unfortunately okay. Going by your rating system, I would say this is catch on TV or buy the DVD.
Ouch.
Going by my own rating, this is a 6 out of 10. This is above.
no,
This
that's
is
okay.
above average. But
Right.
this is not. Would I have chosen to see this in theaters? No. Would I have chosen to be among the first people to be in line? No.
Right.
I personally would have preferred to see this, stream this on my computer. I would not have wanted.
Wow.
No, that's how much
Okay.
I was disappointed
Okay.
by it. I mean, I wanted to like it so much.
Right. Overall, I like the film for what it was.
Yes.
It was entertaining. It was fun.
Yeah.
My expectations were low from the get-go, and thank God they were low, because if it were high, I would have had this at probably one of the most disappointing movies of the year.
Right.
I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say it is the best movie of the year.
No.
It still belongs to Mad Max Fury Road. Yes, I said it.
Nope.
Mad
Yes.
Max Fury Road.
Yes. Nope.
Shut up. It's
Yes.
the best movie
Shut
of
up.
2015.
Nope.
You know why?
And I will
Mad
get to
Max
that.
Fury
I will
Road.
get to that.
I have a lot of
I
things
will
about
get to that in the next episode.
Yeah.
But for now, I will give this at a. We're gonna do a best
end
of
of the year,
kind of
best of
stuff,
the year.
end of the
Oh,
year
really?
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will give this at a 4. I will give this at a 4 out of 5.
All right.
Oh.
A light 4 out of 5. If you're not a fan of Star Wars, but you somehow enjoyed the 2009 Star Trek for what it did for just revitalizing the franchise, and you'll have fun with this. It did revitalize the franchise. It reminded me, and I guess millions of other people who saw the film, why they loved the franchise in the first place.
Yeah.
However, though, I just felt that this is episode 7. We don't have to do 1 anymore. We don't have to do 2 anymore. I mean 2 in terms of how this film ended. It ended in the way like how 2 ended, in the sense that you have to wait 2 more years now until this is what's gonna happen next. And I feel it's like the studios more or less want to replicate how audiences felt back in 1980 when Empire Strikes Back ended the way it did. It's like oh shit, we have to wait 3 more years for this. But I felt that for me, I felt that it could have had a much better ending, at least a much sense of closure, instead of okay, now as we finally get into what the story is really
I
about.
wanted more closure.
Nope. Directed by J.J. Abrams.
I wanted more closure.
Yeah, I wanted more. And if the idea was that they wanted the audience to leave wanting more, then yes, it succeed. But I just felt they could have just done it with a much better payoff. And like I said before, story pacing was a little off. I just find that they just could have taken a lot of risk with the story instead of just paying these visual tributes to stuff that we've seen years ago. You know what I mean? Just take some risks. And maybe it's Disney's fault, maybe it's Abrams' fault. Who knows? I personally don't really want to see a Star Wars film every year, but if this is what we're gonna get, I am scared. If this is gonna be the new Marvel Cinematic Universe, okay, but I'm still worried. But
it's that leveling off problem that I'm studying.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
You just get stuck in this rut of mediocrity. It'll never be bad,
I take MCU movies any day over some of the superhero movies of the past. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I've never had I've never had an MCU movie that made me feel the same way Steel or Supergirl made me feel.
So Steel and Supergirl is like
Steel
though.
Superman 4.
No.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's the lowest level of lowest circle of.
And I'm saying, I prefer something that's at least fun, maybe a little bit forgettable, but fun over something that bad.
All right, so
yeah.
Matthew.
So it's been long. We talked a lot of stuff. Well, they talked a lot more stuff than I did.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
hey, no, it's fine. It's something that we need to talk about. It's not just you walk out of it. Yeah, it was fun. Or it was great. We need to sit down and talk about films. We need to talk about.
You don't like us, Disney?
stuff.
Come on, take us on. We're ready.
Yeah, and it's good.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah, and it's good that we managed to do that. And I'm hoping that once you guys have listened to this, whether it's the first part or the second part or whatever part, to leave a comment or two, just share your thoughts on what do you think about Disney's involvement in the Star Wars franchise. Was it a good thing, or is it this deal with the devil?
Right.
Did you see the film? What do you think about the film? Did you think it sucked, or did you think it was good? Do you think it's the best film of the year because you saw it on some article on the net? Or do you genuinely think it's a great movie? What do you think about the previous films? Do they hold up or are they better compared to this one here? Even right down to the prequels, even 1, 2, and 3. Is 3 better than episode 7 as my friend Claude here says?
Yes.
And just share your thoughts, and that's it.
So Matthew, good sir. Man of the dark light side, I should say.
Yes, I'm of the light. I'm a Jedi now.
Where can
that's why I'm so patient when you guys are just or just trading words about Disney and that. I'm just like in my zen.
Yeah, where can we contact you, sir?
Alright, you can contact me in a galaxy far, far away on Twitter. Just look for Legally Black MJB, MJB in capital letters. Also on Facebook, you just type my name, Machibili. I know there's like about a few of them out there, but I am the only one that holds the balance of the force. It's on me. If you'd like to see more reviews, more written reviews and podcasts that we've done before, just look for a Legally Black official fan page on Facebook, or just type in legallyblack.wordpress.com. You'll find all the stuff that I've done before, including this podcast here that we've recorded. So Ricardo, where can we find you?
You could find me at rmeddy, that is at RMEDDY on Twitter, and Ricardo Medina on Facebook if you want to see the dark side of the Force, which is basically me just taking off my shirt.
Yeah, you don't want to see that.
That is the darkest side.
Even the Sith turning to you and saying, "Dude, that's just too evil."
Yeah, too dark. No, you can find me on Ricardo Medina on Facebook, and that's pretty much that. I am one of the Ricardo Medinas, probably the darkest apprentice of all. And Claude, where can we find you on the internet?
Can we find you?
Can we find you at all or contact you?
No,
but we can.
Or are you gonna go missing in some quadrant in some galaxy?
I have given up on my new Jedi Order and have fled to the dark reaches of space. I prefer not to share the digital fingerprint
on the outer rim.
Exactly. I'm hiding out in the outer rim.
Yeah, he's like John Connor right now. He's just running away from Skynet, you know.
Exactly. If you wish to contact me, you can leave a comment in this video and I will respond to it. If you want to you can also contact me at claude@lilford.net, which is my email address. I'll answer to all the thousands of you who answered after my last appearance as well.
Yeah. All right. So just to round things up, well, great podcast.
Yeah.
First time we've ever done one so long and so ridiculously long.
Yeah.
I really like the banter between you guys.
No, we had this time too.
Yeah. We all had
me just talking about.
Yeah, we all had a lot to say about the franchise, even though I don't know everything about disease involvement and stuff. So I learned some stuff. We all learned some stuff.
Yeah.
It means a lot to us.
Yeah, it does. It does. That's how important Star Wars is to all of us.
Even though I keep saying it, I like the use of terms that you keep saying it, but it's probably not true. I keep saying that I'm not that big of a Star Wars fan. But
well, neither am I
I'd
actually.
love to hear you go on about Star Trek now.
No, dude.
Yeah.
That is getting me started.
Yeah, like I'm not the biggest
I'll tell you
Star Trek fan.
I'll tell you
Star
why
Wars fan
I'm
either.
not as encyclopedic as before, but I'll explain why. I used to be very ridiculously encyclopedic, like data and law level.
Yeah.
That level of
but
borderline.
I really want to hear your thoughts on the Star Trek Beyond trailer.
Yeah, but for me, like I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan either, but I do respect it. I do admire it. I do understand its relevance in history.
Culturally, it is very big. It's a really, really great franchise.
I mean, Star Wars is my ultimate favorite franchise, and basically my favorite cross-medium franchise, my favorite fictional world. It inspired me in so many ways. It made me the fan of the type of fiction I am today. I love it to bits. Was disappointed by this movie.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I can think of with this movie is that there's two things I can think of. There's a quote by an internet review I actually watched, Bennett the Sage, and he says, "When the bar is set low enough to trip over, anyone who minds well enough to step over it will seem like a genius." And I think that's what happened.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
That's an excellent line. That totally hit the nail on the head of what is going on here.
Because
as I said, we know that, but again, the bar is meant for everybody to kind of.
Exactly. The bar is Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. The ones that step over are Revenge of the Sith. This movie.
Yeah. So that's pretty much our episode. Yeah, this is our episode of BSB280. This is episode 10.
Yeah, episode 10.
Next week.
Alright, so next week we're gonna do our final episode for the year. Yeah. Which is where we're gonna just talk about our best stuff.
Yeah, and hopefully try to minimize the worst of the year. But there's a lot of crap.
A lot of good. And a lot of,
but this year was the great year of a lot of overrated.
Yeah,
this was a good year for good returning franchises.
Yeah. Yes. I agree.
New Mission Impossible. Bond, from what you guys are saying, is not so much.
No.
This movie, not so much. No. Mad Max, even if you don't like it, you have to admit it's decent. It's a pretty good movie, even if you don't think it's as good as everyone says it is.
I'll talk about
for us, it's just for what it did.
I love it as a return.
What it did.
Exactly. No, it have a lot of things about it that I love, but at the same time, it's like this is not as great as what they're making it to be, and I'm gonna say why.
A few things are.
No, but the way people keep yelling, "Whoa, this is so," and I was like, "Well, I watch the same movie I watch." Sorry.
I mean, I love it.
Alright, but I understand what you mean. And for me, I would put Star Wars. Because I'm really wrestling with the whole top 20 thing. Right. So I could put Star Wars on my list, but not as a 10.
Star Wars might be in the list, but what I have
I'll put it.
Here's what I have. I demarcate my list in three categories. I have big blockbuster stuff. I have medium-sized films that's small but not too small and still technically not independent, and then independent films. That I look for small documentaries, that kind of stuff that were just really well done and brilliant.
Right.
And I have that list, and that adds up to roughly 30 films for the year. And
so you're gonna do a top 30, right?
Not sure, because I might just give you an amalgamation of all three, or just give you like my personal favorite top 10. So I'll probably just give you that. Yeah. But I might just, if we extend in the podcast, I might just give you the full 30, and I'll tell you what kind of categories how I split it up.
Right. I still want to do a top 20 because I mean there was just so much good stuff, but so much stuff that I haven't seen yet.
Last years.
Yeah, but stuff.
It's a shame that I just didn't get a chance to see some movies that I really want to see.
Yeah. I know that.
Guys, this was a fantastic episode.
Yeah. It was.
Danke schön very much.
Yeah, Claude, thank you for coming through.
Yes, Matthew.
Yeah, Ricardo, thanks for teaching me a lot about the dark side of Disney.
Yeah, I listen to this.
I'm a Disney guru here, so I don't know where all this is coming from.
Yeah.
Don't. Sorry.
I mean, when I was young, it was all about Aladdin. That was the funny thing. This one last thing. Like every year, you were always waiting for like the next animated film from Disney, and now it's just like, well, no, now we're just gonna see what new franchise we're gonna take over. Wow, how times have changed.
They've made an Indiana Jones movie already. If Harrison Ford wasn't being stubborn about it.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but
I was joking.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for listening and spending time. We rambled, but it was focused rambling. This was
It was.
Even though it's topping 4 hours.
Wow.
So we have to cut this up.
So this is a Peter Jackson director's cut.
Yes. Guys, thank you very much.
And good morning, good evening, good night, whenever you listen to this.
Yeah.
Oh, and please like and share this. Share your thoughts. And may the force be with you, always.
May the force be with us all.
May the shorts be with you. No one gets that? Mel Brooks? Whatever.
Dude, Spaceballs.
Yeah. I haven't seen it.
What, Claude?
What? Okay, we will end there. Alright. We're going to pull out our lightsabers and we're going to beat Claude for not even watching or even considering watching Spaceballs. How could you?
I will at some point.
Later.
Alright, later guys.
Yeah.
Oh, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays and all of that jazz. Later.
Merry Christmas. I will not be PC about this. Merry Christmas.
Later.